saying I could take you for a ride. I had a premonition that we fell into a rhythm where the music don't stop for life. Glitter in the sky, glitter in my eyes, shining just the way you like. If you're feeling like you need a little bit of company, you met me at the perfect time. You want me, I want you, baby, my sugar boo. If you want,
I can give you this roast pork bun, or I can double it and give it to the next person.
You can double it.
I can give you 2 roast pork buns, or I can double it and give it to the next person.
I just ate.
I can give you 4 buns, so I can double it and give it to the next person.
Double it.
I can give you 8 roast pork buns, so I can double it and give it to the next person. I can give you this roast.
ゆらゆらりハラハラり色とりどり乱れ咲き花の街思い出すこの空から
If I can't take a shower, can I at least wash my hair, please?
Sorry, no. Bathing of any kind is prohibited during toilets. I'm gonna go put Maria down for a nap.
I'm loving this. Free childcare, barely having to chew your food. I'm down to my pre-baby weight.
Sorry, cold air is forbidden. She turned off the AC.
Yeah, isn't it great? This heat is working wonders for my joints.
You don't touch another woman's AC in Florida. I'm taking a shower.
I knew you'd be tempted. Also, shh. Screaming isn't allowed during toilets.
Jessica, you are acting crazy.
It's way past your nap time. Why don't you go lie down and I'll go make us some tea. I added a pinch of swallowwort. It'll help that temper. Honey?
We gotta run her.
If I can't take a shower, can I at least wash my hair, please?
Sorry, no. Bathing of any kind is prohibited during toilets.
So you guys want to see how to make a server angry? Pull out a fan. Okay. So you guys want to see how to make a server angry? Pull out a fan.
I'm pretty good at rizzing girls. A demonstration would be nice. We're walking down the street. I look over to you. You put your hands to your mouth and you do one of these. I take off my scarf. Without a word, I wrap it around you. Cheeks flushed. Then I suddenly see there's a bicycle coming towards us. Instead of pulling your arm or your shoulder, my hand reaches for your waist, pulls you in. Under my breath, I said, "Yo, get up." I think I'm gonna be alone forever. I'm pretty good at rizzing girls. A demonstration would be nice. We're walking down the street. I look over to you. You put your hands to your mouth and you do one of these. I take off my scarf. Without a word, I wrap it around you. Cheeks flushed. Then I suddenly see there's a bicycle coming towards us.
This zookeeper loves teasing the hippos. He often sneaks up on them with toys and surprises them by biting their tails. At first, the hippos are just surprised, but they quickly grow annoyed at the mischievous keeper. Even the baby hippo isn't spared. He pretends to steal its ears, making it believe that they're missing until it ends up crying in frustration. The older hippos aren't safe either. Sometimes he even causes them to leap into the water with his antics. Yet despite all the teasing, the hippos never hurt him. They know that behind all the pranks is a caring hand that has looked after them since they were young. This zookeeper loves
You do know what Dad says about you, that you don't know how to have fun, and that if you're too serious, you won't be able to make a good sword. What? I didn't hit a nerve, did I? Perhaps I was only joking.
That's enough. Just go away.
Take it easy. You are so rude.
Hey!
I'm keeping it until you hang out with me.
Hey, what are you doing? How dare you touch the lady?
Don't touch me, stop this! It was all my fault. I interrupted him while he was working.
No, my lady, it's entirely Guy's fault for letting you interfere. Right, Guy?
Yeah, you're right, Tatsumi. Sorry for my behavior.
Are you? Because you don't have the eyes of someone who's sorry.
They're a problem.
What's going on?
Oh, Father.
Master, you need to hear about Guy.
No, don't worry about it. We were goofing off and took it too far. You do know what Dad...
I got my hands on a time capsule that's been buried since 1984, and it's set to open in 100 years, which means 2084, but I'm curious, and so I'm gonna open it right now. So it's in a 1970s Pringles can, which is pretty interesting, and when you shake it up, it sounds like something pretty heavy is inside, so I was excited to open it up. Upon opening it though, I realized there were multiple things in here, with the first being this booklet that says 26 things to remember from 1984, dedicated to whoever ends up finding this, which was me, and it was cute because it went through the 26 letters of the alphabet, writing different things that existed during that time. After this though, I reached in further and I found a yo-yo from 1984 that says Jesus loves you, and then upon reaching in further, I found a quarter from the 1970s and some sort of rock. After this, I pulled out a calendar from October and November of 1984 to remember the date, and after this, I pulled out the largest thing in the time capsule, which I didn't expect to see, and it was a World Tennis magazine from 1984 worth $1.75, which I guess was supposed to serve as a sign of the time. And it had me thinking, what would we put in a time capsule in 2025? So I think I'm gonna make one and then I'll update you on what I put in there. I got my hand.
Cup.
Just let her say it.
I'm doing my best.
Cup. Cup. What's that?
Chair.
Give me some of that.
Flower.
Rock.
Ew, Bo.
Don't mind if I do.
I'm going to the store. You want to take a ride with me?
No. Polly is helping me learn some new words.
No, Bunny. Birds don't talk and they don't teach.
Polly understands.
Pretty quiet, aren't you there, Professor? All right, come on, let me out now, Grandma.
Where are you going?
Home.
Why don't you fly it?
Can't fly. I thought it over and I'm back. Besides, I don't know where she lives.
Well, who lives?
Marie.
Oh, dear. I'm sorry, dear. They've moved away to Los Angeles.
All right, well, then let's get back in the cab.
No, it's clear across the country.
Why does your house have wheels?
Earl and I used to travel all of the time, you know. But things change.
You miss Earl like I miss Marie.
So long, Jersey! Cup.
Violet, just let her say it.
I'm doing my best.
Cup. Cup. What's that?
Chair.
Give me some of that.
Flower.
Rock.
Ew, Bo.
Don't mind if I do.
I'm going to the store. You want to take...
What do you think is the most hated graphics card ever made? Oh, that is a tough one. There have been a lot of sketchy graphics card launches in the past. It has to be the 1053 gigabyte edition. That thing was criminal. Oh man, it wasn't as bad as you think it was. It was just a little bit overpriced. Okay, fine. What about the 4060 and 4060 Ti? Those have to be the worst cards on the market. Whoa, that's a little harsh. The 4060 is a great card for 1080p. It's even got DLSS. But they cost so much for the performance you get. So that makes the card bad? Yeah, of course that makes the card bad. But the card still does great at 1080p, price tag aside. Okay, what's your point? The card itself isn't a bad card, the pricing's the bad part. Oh, I see what you're saying now. There's no such thing as a bad graphics card, just bad pricing. I think the 4060 would be a great card if it was just a little bit cheaper. Honestly, that's a well thought out and balanced take. I'm sure the comments will love that. What do you think is the most hated
There's no better rivalry than the one between two people in class who share the same name. Like the instant you hear someone has the same name as you, it's just like...
And now time for attendance class. We got Michael S.
Here.
And oop, there's another one. Michael C. Present.
If you try this simple trick, your arms will also look 10 times stronger. You've probably seen those viral videos where a boy shows off the prominent veins in his arms, which looks super cool and attractive. For this trick, start by gently pressing the vein in your biceps for about 10 seconds. Then, while keeping the pressure, raise your arm and slowly lower it. If you try this simple trick, your arms will also look 10 times stronger. You've probably seen those viral videos where a boy shows...
Hello? How can't you suck 200 pounds of fat out of yourself? It's not natural.
Come on, Lois, I feel great dropping that kind of weight all at once. You remember how good you felt after you had Chris? I see you. Plastic surgery is great.
It doesn't matter. Your chest is flabby. You are who you are.
I think I know what you're getting at. Knock, knock.
Hey, pal, you can't just walk in here without... Holy crap, it's Peter.
Totally different person. Oh, this is crazy. You walk in here with your chiseled jaw and you... Oh, my. Peter, did you get a new buttocks?
I had to. My old one had a crack in it.
Oh, you really let this family down. We're not kids that a person's not as good as someone else because of the way they look.
Oh! Hello?
Hey,
Hey! Wait! Wait! Please don't take her! She's the love of my life!
Alright, get out! Get out! Get out! Get out!
Wait! Help! Stop! Hey! Please!
Already threw her out, bro!
Not her, you idiots! My car! No!
What? What? Where? How does that even work? Doesn't make sense. What? What?
Do you know the alphabet song has changed? It's because the LMNO, they switched that.
But now the internet is divided after a new version of the classic song was revealed. Something some kids have always struggled with. The new version's ending is different too.
I heard it. It sounds ridiculous.
It's
Somebody sing it.
Firestorm.
The LMNOP is a problem. This is what I'm saying.
LMNOP is a problem.
They took away.
What's the fucking song?
They took away LMNOP, and it feels illegal.
We went to Good Shepherd.
Hey, are they gonna sing the fucking song? What kind of damn news article is this?
A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S T U V W X Y Z. Now I never will forget how to say the alphabet. Which version do you?
That's awful. Do you know the alphabet song has changed? It's because the LMNO, they switched that.
But now
there's a bird that supposedly rips out its own feathers when it sees a human. But why would it do that? Is it trying to give you a gift? Well, that's the biggest lie. Meet the shoebill. This bird stands nearly 5 feet tall and looks like a dinosaur's cousin. But the sad part is, according to the internet, its IQ is in the negative. It's often called the world's most stupid bird. They can stand in one spot for hours and their decision-making skills are terrible. If you put food right in front of them, they might spend hours just thinking about whether to eat it or not. But the sound they make, it sounds like someone firing a machine gun. There's a bird that's supposedly
over 150 hours down to one button. It is release day for my Steam Game Pass, the simple driving game where you try to pass as many slow drivers as possible without crashing. It's time. I clicked the release app button, clicked release right now, and typed release my app to confirm. Watched the spinny thing for what felt like ages, and just like that, I have a game for sale on Steam. I would greatly appreciate if you checked out Pass. It's only 99 cents. Thank you and have a great day. Over 150 hours down to one button. It is release day for my Steam.
Donuts never actually had holes in the middle until an angry sailor reformed them, because donuts originally started as round fried dough balls, but the outside cooked fast while the center stayed raw and gooey. And in 1847, when the 16-year-old sailor named Hanson Gregory got fed up with biting into soggy middles, he punched a hole through the center out of frustration. The new hole in the middle actually allowed heat to circulate upwards, which perfectly and evenly cooked the donut. The idea spread fast when bakers realized they could sell the same donut with a chunk.
This is the Allen's hummingbird chick's first feeding. Olive is so gentle.
For the first time in history, the black sea devil was spotted swimming near the surface of the ocean, which is crazy because they normally dwell 4 miles deep, where the sun don't shine. That's why they have a light bulb on their head. And down where they dwell, fish are attracted to light. So that thing is basically a built-in bait, and fish swim up to it and see this homicidal flashlight, mouth looking like a doctor's office. Even though those needle-like teeth are not meant for chewing, they're just meant to hold the fish in place while they swallow it whole. But regardless, something's going on in the ocean, because this ain't normal. For the first time in history,
I found a bird nest in the basket on my front door.
Here you go. Would you like a drink? Yes, please. See, guys, that's what we deal with around here. Sometimes people are super disrespectful. You're not gonna be getting food again. That's what sometimes we deal around over here, guys. Behind the scenes, I always try to cut it out to not have no drama, but you guys saw first point of view what goes down over here. That's what we deal with sometimes, guys. Sometimes people try to flip over the tables. Sometimes people try to fight. So there's a lot that goes behind the scenes. Maybe sometimes I'll show you guys. Here you go. Would you like a drink? Yes, please. See, guys, that's what we deal with around here. Sometimes people are super disrespectful. You're not...
Since when do you have a girl?
You can meet her and her son at some point.
What do you mean, her son?
Don't be mad.
You're not allowed to date somebody that's old enough to have a child?
She's only 19.
Now, you are not allowed to date that girl. And if I kept you with her, you're gonna be working at the church full time.
But I'm assistant manager at Smokies.
Do I look like I care?
Well, it's my decision, not yours.
If you disobey me, you'll regret it for the rest of your life.
I'm not a child anymore.
Yes, you are. I saw that girl and her son in the crowd today.
What girl? Papa new baby mom.
You are not supposed to see that girl. I forbid it.
You can't control me anymore.
Excuse me?
You are in no position to be raising somebody else's child, and I'm still raising you.
I'm out.
Sit down!
No. I'm my own man.
If you walk out that door, you will not be allowed back. Lord, I really need you to protect my son. Since when do you have a girl?
You can meet her and her son at some point.
What do you mean, her son?
Don't be mad.
You're not allowed to date somebody that's old enough to have a child?
She's only 19.
Now, you are not allowed to date that girl. And if I kept you with her, you're gonna be working at the church full time.
But I'm assistant manager at Smokies.
Do I look like I care?
Well, it's my decision, not yours.
If you disobey me, you'll regret it for the rest of your life.
I'm not a child anymore.
Yes, you are. I saw that girl and her son in the crowd today.
What girl? Papa new baby mom.
You are not supposed to see that girl. I forbid it.
You can't control me anymore.
Excuse me?
You are in no position to be raising somebody else's child, and I'm still raising you.
I'm out.
Sit down!
No. I'm my own man.
If you walk out that door, you will not be allowed.
So, this woman accidentally raised a panther after mistaking it for a kitten, and you won't believe how far it went. It started when a wildlife expert named Victoria came across what she thought was an abandoned kitten on the side of the road. It was tiny, fragile, and alone, so she took it in and named it Luna. But as the weeks went by, something felt off. Luna wasn't just growing fast, she was growing bigger than Victoria's Rottweiler. Turns out, Luna wasn't a cat at all. She was a panther cub that had been rejected by her mother at a traveling zoo. By the time Victoria realized, she had already raised Luna for over a year, and the two had formed a powerful bond. So instead of rehoming her, Victoria decided to keep Luna and raise her alongside her dog. She started...
Yeah, buddy. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Yeah, just... You're okay. You're okay. Just go free. Yeah, buddy. Come here.
This guy found out really fast that he messed with the wrong man. While this dude was trying to buy something and chatting with the cashier, the guy in the white tank top got in between them, interrupting the transaction.
Hold on, bro. Give me some space here, man.
Yeah, bro, you smoking a black in his face, bro. You need to move aside.
Say on God.
You need to move aside, bro. You're smoking a black in his face, bro. Please stop smoking a black in his face, bro. Bro, please move.
But even after both of them asked him to step away, he got right back to the window, put his hand on the other dude's face, and tried to threaten him, which, well, backfired immediately.
I don't need that. That's him. That's him. Ooh, bro. I'll smack you. Say what?
This guy found out really fast that he messed with the wrong man.
Oh, you're so cute, pup. Let me see you smile.
About it and how about it.
Not Not to be dramatic, but I would fucking die. I would die for you. I would die. I would literally die.
Don't open my gate. I told you, Frank, don't come over here no more. We not friends no more, man. You shouldn't have did what you did, man. Gone. I ain't even gonna look at you, man. I can't stand to look at you, man. Keep him in front of my gate. Keep him in front of my gate. Hey, let me go too. Let me hold on. Yeah, he's a man right there. What the dog doing?
How the fuck?
Hey, Dwight.
Oh! Damn it, Jim! You cannot throw snowballs in here!
It's not a snowball, because it's only a dusting.
You apologize to me right now. No. Then I challenge you to a snowball fight.
One day, the girl suddenly discovered that her parrot's upper beak had inexplicably fallen off. The vet told her it couldn't be reattached and warned that the break must stay infection-free. She gave the parrot anti-inflammatory medicine and ground its food into a fine powder, mixing it with water into a soft paste. Placing it in her palm, she taught the bird to lick the food up. Under her care, the parrot stayed bright and cheerful, and the wound slowly healed. It even relearned how to feed itself and remained just as playful, chewing on strings for fun. On day 25, the scab finally came off. By day 38, the girl trimmed the lower beak, which had become slightly deformed under extra pressure. On day 41, she brought home a new parrot companion, and the injured bird quickly accepted its new friend. By day 69, the parrot was thriving. Everything had healed except its upper beak, which showed no sign of regrowth. And on day 589, the girl confirmed that the upper beak would never grow back. But that didn't slow her down. Her parrot continued to live happily, though it could never crack sunflower seeds again. One day, the girl suddenly
What did you bring me? Dollar. I thought this was on the ground.
After this woke reporter repeatedly called America racist, this young man stepped in and explained himself in the best way possible.
That black people have always had a certain amount of moral currency that we have been using. And let me be the first to tell you, that's used up. White America has been watching us act like fools for a long enough time where any sympathy they may have had to our plight is completely gone. You're approaching a country that, forget hating black people and not hating black people, they just don't care. You can be talking about affirmative action, they can be like, I don't care. It literally is of no importance to me. I don't care about slavery, I don't care about segregation, I don't care about you, I don't care how many of you all go to jail, I don't care at all, because I'm broke. You can't be the proud, noble fighter when every single time someone sees a person that looks like you on television, they're acting like a damn fool. How would they know? How would they know you're not a damn fool?
After this woke reporter repeatedly called America racist, this young man stepped in and explained himself in the best way possible.
That black people have always...
You a doctor?
Careful, not a doctor. I'm a brain surgeon. Big difference. What do you guys do?
I'm an accountant.
Oh, that's good. It's not exactly brain surgery, is it?
Lionel, here's your drink. Lionel's a brain surgeon, you know. Yeah, he mentioned it. Oh, Jeff, they keep you late at the Space Centre.
As always.
So, Jeff, how do you earn a crust?
I'm a scientist. I work mainly with rockets. What do you do?
I'm a brain surgeon.
Brain surgery? Not exactly rocket science, is it?
You a doctor?
Careful, not a doctor. I'm a brain surgeon. Big difference. What do you guys do?
I'm an accountant.
Oh, that's good. It's not exactly brain surgery, is it?
Lionel, here's your
Before telling the whole story, I'll briefly explain what to expect from this work. Imagine a boy whose only skill is in M-Works and who has no social interaction outside of Discord. Suddenly, he wakes up in another world. But in this case, he wakes up already married to the Queen of Demons, who ends up losing her powers and her kingdom pretty quickly. In this world, beyond magic and sword fighting, you'll be able to create anything from your thoughts. That's right, you just need a magic stone and the right knowledge. With that in hand, you'll have the chance to reclaim the
30 years ago, countless monsters emerged from the gate, plunging the world into chaos. A guy is standing at the edge of a bridge saying, "Screw the gate and the hunters, they can all rot." He says they can go to hell for all he cares.
This filthy, miserable world, what did he do to deserve this? A guy tells him it is dangerous, so he should please come down when he looks at him. He tells him who is he to tell him what to do. Can't he even die if he wants to? The guy tells him to calm down, and come down so that they can talk. The guy tells him to let go of him, as how could he possibly calm down in this state? He tells them they have no idea how much he has suffered. None of them understand. 3 hours earlier, the guy asks he is fired out of nowhere. At the bitching guild, he is standing inside of an office when he says doesn't he know how dedicated he has been to this guild. The guy asks what has he accomplished for the guild, as he pretty much just been a pack mule. The guy tells him he hired him just because he thought he was diligent, but it's been 7 years and he is still a D-rank hunter. He is the guild leader, Kim Kyung-T. Kim tells him now he is limping around like an invalid, so what is he supposed to do with that? He asks if he thinks this place is some welfare center. The guy was about to say something when Kim tells him to look as he will calculate his severance right now. He should just quit already and get out of here. The guy tells him he will find a way to heal his leg so there is still work he can do. Just then another guy stands in front of him asking doesn't he understand plain language. The boss told him to get lost. He is Lee Young-jin when the guy asks him how can he speak to his senior like that. Lee Young-jin says acting like this in front of a senior is so pathetic. He tells him to take his severance and go buy himself some snacks and drinks calling him D-rank hunter, Lee Tae-jun. Lee Tae-jun grits his teeth in anger when he grabs Lee Young-jin by his collar. He tells him he got injured saving his life. He tells him who was it that nearly got poisoned for charging in recklessly in the dungeon calling him an ungrateful punk. Lee Young-jin bursts out laughing asking when did he ever ask him to save him. He tells him if he is a pack mule then he should stay in his lane. Why is he acting out asking if he doesn't know his place? Lee Young-jin then asks how can a user like him even has an S-rank skill. Lee Tae-jun becomes surprised when Lee Young-jin asks what's his skill called again. He then laughs saying explosive growth. He says honestly the skill must be grows really well in height but looks like his growth plates are sealed shut though. Lee Tae-jun gets angry at him when he rushes towards Lee Young-jin to punch him. Lee Young-jin blocks his punch near easily when he tells Tae-jun it's time for him to learn his place. Lee Young-jin then punches Tae-jun pretty hard on his stomach when he gasps. Lee Tung-jin says just because he started a few years before him he act like he is all that. He says he has had it with him for a while now so this is perfect when he starts beating him up brutally. He says let's see how tough he is today as here is the crime of being a D-rank. Everyone looks at them when Lee Young-jin says the crime of a D-rank standing up to a C-rank and the crime for talking back to the boss and just the crime of being Lee Tae-jun. Lee Tae-jun is heavily beaten when he falls to the ground. Kim Kyung then calls Lee Tae-jun telling him thanks for busting his ass for these past 7 years but let's not see each other again. After that Lee Tae-jun heads to a convenience store when he buys booze and snacks for himself. The vendor tells him to come again when he leaves. After that he drinks the booze saying this booze tastes good. He then looks at the money thinking 7 years of back-breaking work and what does he get in return? This measly bit of cash. He then climbs up the bridge saying he might as well end it all. Nothing left to hold on to in this world. A screen appears in front of him telling him to step back as his life is in danger. He looks at it saying seriously now it cares about his life. He gets angry at it asking if it knows how much he has suffered for these past years. He punches the screen saying it's all because of the useless skills it gave him. He says it gave him a skill that doesn't raise his stats. How is he supposed to live with that? The system tells him it's initiating strike because of baseless violent actions by the owners. Seeing this Tae-jun bursts out laughing telling it to go ahead and strike. He says a status window like that can't even explain skills properly so he doesn't need it either. He throws the bottle towards the window telling it to disappear already. He then starts crying saying no matter how hard he tries nothing ever changes. He says if only it would properly explain everything about the skill from the beginning. He shouts saying from the start it's been a nightmare. He wouldn't have had to go through this miserable life. Just then the system tells him the user's complaints have been successfully received. He says this filthy damn world. What did he do to deserve this? The security tells him to come down as it's dangerous. Tae-jun asks who are they to tell him what to do as if he can't even die on his own terms. The guy tells him to calm down so they can talk. Tae-jun tells them to let go of him as if they were in his shoes they could be so calm. He says do they understand how much he has suffered? Just then his foot slips when he falls down from the bridge. He thinks that this is how he is going to die. He thinks well it's for the best in this miserable world anyway. Living like this has no meaning. Just the system tells him it's temporarily transferring him to the administrator server. A flash of light appears behind him when he thinks what's going on. What is happening all of a sudden when the status window completes updating? Tae-jun wakes up as he is sitting on a bench. He says his head is hurting. He wonders what kind of nonsense did he got up the last night drinking alone like an idiot. He tells himself he swears if he ever drinks again then he is a dog. He then remembers if he didn't fall last night. He looks around saying something about a status window update as it felt like something weird was happening to him. He then starts laughing saying a status window update saying what a ridiculously load of crap. He says anyway he's officially jobless right now so what the hell is he supposed to do to make a living? He says if he should just go pick up some labor as finding hunter work is going to be tough for a while. Just then a girl appears in front of him when she greets him asking if he is satisfied with the latest version of the status window. He gets surprised when he gets scared asking who is she. She tells him it is nice to meet him as she is Miri from the status window management department. He asks status window management department asking if that is actually a thing. He then asks if what happened last night wasn't a dream. She agrees telling him last night they looked into Tae-jun Lee's inquiry about explosive growth. After investigating they discovered that his status window was outdated and wasn't functioning properly. He gets surprised asking if that was the reason. She tells him for security reasons unfortunately she can't disclose any more details but in any case from now on it should work properly so his growth. Tae-jun gets angry when he says it was all a waste. He says if she is saying that all his hard work was for nothing. She gets scared when he tells her after training like a dog for 7 years now she is telling him it didn't work because the status window was outdated. He asks if she has a death wish or something. He grabs her asking how is she going to compensate him for all those years of suffering. She gets scared telling him to please calm down. She tells him she has returned all the stats he should have received and she has even healed all his injuries. He becomes surprised asking she healed him. He then says now that he think about it he feels like he's in a perfect shape asking how did she do that. She tells him she can't explain everything right now but anyway for explosive growth to activate he will need a special trigger. She tells him she would like to make a proposal for him. Inside of a city a portal appears when everyone shouts saying it is a gate. They all run for their lives saying call the suppression team right now. A monster appears from inside of the portal. Tae-jun looks at the beast when he asks if she is kidding him. She wants him to handle that. He looks at her asking if she is telling him to go die. How is he supposed to take that thing down? She disagrees telling him she believes he can handle this. She tells him to trust her and give it a shot because she's sure that he will be fine. Tae-jun stays silent while she cheers for him. Tae-jun looks at the beast thinking venom spore, a monster that takes at least a B-rank hunter to take it down. Even a skilled suppression team might struggle against it. Tae-jun asks she is saying that if he takes that thing down then explosive growth will activate. She agrees telling him it's sure to work. He thinks if he should trust this or not. Just stepping up out of nowhere to fight that thing which is insane besides it doesn't even look like it's in good condition. He wonders if he can really trust this. He then thinks anyway his life is already a chain of hellish realities. Running away won't change a thing so what is he hesitating for? He agrees saying his life's already a mess so what's the worst that could happen? He says let's do this when he rushes towards the beast. The guards tells him to stop as it's dangerous but he rushes towards the beast. The beast throws something at Tae-jun when he blocks it with his hands and then kicks the beast. His single kick kills the beast when a screen appears in front of him telling him he completed the quest, a small step forward. The system says undaunted experience activated and explosive growth is now active. Tae-jun says 1 hit for a junior spore and what's all this other stuff? His stats are significantly enhanced when he looks at his information. Mary asks how does it feel to use explosive growth for the first time when he says this is totally overpowered. She tells him not to celebrate just yet as the true power of explosive growth starts now. She tells him to keep it up and take down every last monster when he rushes towards the beast and starts fighting them. He thinks it gives many stats for each monster as this is a jackpot skill. He defeats the little monsters when he faces the main beast. He jumps towards the beast thinking at this growth rate in a week he will be beyond B rank, or maybe even stronger than an A rank hunter. At the place Lee Young-jin walks when he says the suppression team is already here. He says after all that they missed it out on the action. Just then one of his guys asks if it isn't Tae-jun Lee. Lee Young-jin asks what's that loser is doing here. He looks at him saying it really is Tae-jun but what's with him as if he ate something weird. They walk towards him saying if that idiot even aware of where he is telling him, why don't he get lost? Li Youngjin tells him he still can't take a hint, as he told him he will never make it. Taejun looks at him, and he thinks what's this, as if they are here for the hunt too. He then looks at his stats when he grins. Li Youngjin tells him with leg in that condition, what is he doing all the way out here? Just then a soldier walks towards Taejun thanking him. The officer tells him that without him it would have been really dangerous thanking him to help him. Taejun thinks what's this? The heavens are practically handing this to him on a platter. Maybe he should use this chance to improve his image when Taejun tells him it was nothing as he did his duty as a hunter, that's all. Both of them looks at him when the soldier tells him he was really amazing honestly. Handling that many venom spores alone she couldn't have imagined. Just then Youngjin interrupts her asking what did she just said. Did she said that Taejun handled all of that alone? She agrees when she looks at him coldly asking if there is an issue. All of them get surprised when Youngjin says that can't be. Taejun tells them to not to get in the way of public officials here. They should go as he will explain everything to them in a bit. After that they all went to a deserted place when Youngjin asks if he handled all of them on his own. Youngjin tells him he is a D rank as if he really thought that's possible. Taejun stays silent when Youngjin shouts at him to answer him. Just then a quest appears telling Taejun a group of disrespectful juniors have appeared, so teach them a lesson. Taejun thinks a quest and the reward is an A rank skill. He thinks he will get a reward for smacking these punks. Does that mean he will get a skill on top of that? This is like hitting two birds with one stone. Suddenly he falls down on his knees telling them he is sorry in advance, but from here on do they mind if he gives them all a beating? They all get surprised asking what when Taejun tells them he knows it's sudden, and they are probably confused, but since he is new to this he isn't sugarcoating things. He tells them he will ask once more if they mind if he gives them a lesson. A guy walks towards him asking what's he talking about as if he lost his mind in the heat. He asks him if he is messing with them right now as he should quit spouting nonsense. The guy tells him to just answer the question as in this world people who commit crimes should be punished. He grabs Taejun's head when he asks him if he is serious. The guy struggles when he tells him he is going to punish him. Take it like he deserves it. The guy says what the hell when Taejun smacks him on his neck as he falls on his knees. Everyone gets surprised saying what just happened. One of them says did he see right when the other says why did he collapse on his own. Taejun tells them all to come one by one for bullying their senior. He tells them let's see if they can handle one flick on the forehead. They all get angry at him saying hasn't he had enough. Just then Taejun flicks a guy when he falls back. After that Taejun keeps on flicking everyone. Li Youngjin gets surprised when he asks him what is he doing as if this is some kind of a joke. He asks his men if they really are going down from an attack like that. Taejun calls Li Youngjin telling him this isn't a joke. He asks if he thinks this is funny. Li Youngjin asks what when Taejun tells him he might let the others go, but there's no way he is letting him off the hook. He tells him a flick on the forehead isn't enough for him, so he better be ready for this. Li Youngjin gets angry at him telling him he's dead meat when he unleashes his power. He says judging by the looks of it he must have unlocked some type of physical ability. He tells him not to get cocky just because of that because he is the one who's done for. Jamie asks what an ice missile asking since when did he learn such a skill like that. Just then Taejun completes the quest when he gains a new skill. He says perfect timing as he just picked up a new skill himself, so it's a perfect time to test this. He creates a fireball. He gained a fireball of A rank which is stronger than a regular fireball. Unaffected applies a healing reduction effect on the target. Taejun asks how's his fireball when Youngjin in surprise asks if this is a fireball. Taejun tells him he just learned it so he isn't sure if he can control its power yet telling him to be careful as he might actually end up dead if he isn't. Taejun attacks Li Youngjin using his fireball when he says it's hot as it hits him creating a large explosion. After that Li Youngjin is lying on the ground with his hair all burned up when he asks what just happened. He asks if he really survived when Taejun tells him it looks like he really had to pee but even if he is desperate he shouldn't go on the floor. He tells him now he has come to his senses so no more picking up on guild members and be nice from now on. Li Youngjin agrees when he apologizes to him telling him he will never bully again. Taejun tells him about that flick there is still one left when he flicks him on his forehead. Taejun is lying on the bed in his room when Miri says thanks to the power. Taejun was able to take sweet revenge on those who bully but maybe he used too much of his power. She tells him to wake up as it's time to head to the dungeon. Taejun passed out from exhaustion as he hasn't moved for 3 days since then. Just then Taejun tells her if she can shut up. He tells her he feels like he is dying from the pain so can't she just be quiet. She tells him he is awake when he tells her he pushed his mana to the limits and this is what he gets. He tells her he was reckless and went overboard. He got too excited from suddenly gaining strength as for now he needs to focus on raising his mana. She tells him but he had such amazing growth. Does he really needs to do that? He tells her actually it's because of his extraordinary growth that he needs to raise only his mana. She asks why is that when he tells her the extraordinary growth raised up all his stats except for mana. If he keeps hunting like this then he will end up passing out again. He says that fireball skill uses twice as much mana so he really have no choice but to raise it. She says she see but is there a way to raise just his mana? The system tells him his recovery time left is 8 hours. She tells him not to worry as she has the perfect place for that. At the Tower of Training, Miri asks Taejun what's with this tower. He tells her it's called the Tower of Training. There is no better place to quickly raise mana than this. He says it's a famous dungeon even beginners seek out to. She tells him if it's such a well-known dungeon then why are they the only ones here? He tells her just a few years ago this place was a hotspot so if it could have gone out of business. An old guy walks up to them looking at them when both of them looks at him calling him granny. The guy looks at them asking if they are back. Just then both of them get surprised thinking what is with this old man who looks like he is on his last breath. Taejun tells him he is here to take on the Tower of Training quest. The man asks fast food telling them he doesn't eat that stuff. Taejun tells him he isn't talking about fast food but he's talking about quests. The old man asks a quest telling him a challenger is here to face the trials of this tower. He tells Taejun to follow him as he will guide him through this tower. Miri says this is making her nervous when he agrees telling her not to worry because he came prepared. After that the old man tells him he needs to explain about this tower. Taejun tells him the tower is divided into 10 stages and once they clear all the stages then the quest will be completed. He says the first stage is defeating 10 goblins. The old man agrees telling him that's correct. Just then Miri tells Taejun he seems to know a lot about this tower. He tells her no one knows this tower's strategies as well as he does. Although he couldn't go on actual dungeon expeditions he watched YouTube daily to study all of them. All the dungeon knowledge and strategies are right here in his head. He says this beginner's dungeon is going to be a piece of cake for him. She says just as expected he is amazing. Taejun is a heavy theory type when the old man asks what did he just said. Taejun tells him nothing as he was just talking to himself. After that the old man tells him they are here as let's start the first trial right away. He then hits his staff on the ground telling the monsters to come forth. Taejun says let's do this when Miri tells him for him killing goblins should be like a breeze. Just then some ogres and goblins appears from the forest when both Taejun and Miri get surprised wondering if this is bulking season. Taejun asks the old man what is going on here as the goblins look like ogres. The old man tells him he feels like kimchi stew. Taejun gets angry at him thinking this old man is just a senile old man. The ogres rushes towards him when Miri asks what should they do as the monsters are rushing at them. He tells her he can see that when he unleashes his power saying goblins ogres. He can bring them all at once as he will crush every single one of them. He attacks them using his firepower asking how do they all like that. Miri tells him there are still more monsters left so he should be careful. Just then an ogre attacks Taejun when he skids back saying an ogre is still an ogre after all. He rushes towards the ogre saying let's see what he has got as he kicks him. The ogre falls down when the system tells him stage 1 of the Tower of Training has been completed. The old man tells him that is impressive as he cleared the first stage this quickly. The old man then says it looks like the first stage was a bit too easy. Taejun tells him it was much harder than he expected. The old man tells him let's move on to the next stage right away while Taejun thinks he feels like attacking this old man. From then onwards the dungeon appeared differently from what he had expected. The monsters were several times stronger than usual and appeared in overwhelming numbers. That level is also mental with the difficulty level that was mentally and physically exhausting and he now understands why no one comes here anymore. He thinks beginner's dungeon. His foot as it is impossible to clear this place because this place is hell. He tells the old man to spare him while Miri calls for him. At the tower's final stage, the final boss appears in front of him which is the Hellhound, Cerberus. An S-rank monster with a level of 30. Taejun looks at it in shock thinking the final boss he knew was just supposed to be a mean dog but this is way too different. He then sits down saying let's just give up on the reward as he couldn't beat that thing even if he died and came back to life. He says he's out of mana, so how is he supposed to do that? Just then a hidden quest appears telling him to treat the senile NPC. The system tells him a senile NPC is causing havoc in the Tower of Training. Cure the NPC to restore order within the dungeon. Taejun thinks, why didn't he realize that until now? This dungeon is built on that old man's mana. That old man can't control his own mana right now, so that's why the monsters are much stronger than usual. He thinks if he can return that old geezer to normal, then he can clear this dungeon. Mary asks him if he came up with something. He tells her he got an idea, but he isn't sure if it will work. He says he will just have to give it a shot. He thinks he heard before that powerful mages, if they can't control their mana, can lose their minds due to the excessive mana, and now he can just barely make out something faintly. Just then Taejun appears behind the old man when Mary asks him what is he doing. Taejun puts his hand on the old man's head as he massages it, telling him he is in nirvana. Taejun massages his head, thinking at a glance that's probably just looks like a message, but he is redirecting the scattered mana back into the old man's head. He asks him if he has any discomfort while thinking somehow he will fix this. If he can just restore these broken mana flows, then he can win. Just then Mary tells Taejun it's dangerous when the beast rushes towards Taejun to attack him. Taejun keeps on massaging, thinking he should please snap out of it. Suddenly a huge explosion occurs when the old man says his old body has caused him so much trouble as he really went through a lot. The old man's body transforms completely when both Mary and Taejun get surprised. Taejun asks who is he when the old man says such clarity and refreshment. It's truly been a long time. The old man attacks the beast, defeating him in an instant. He then looks at Taejun, telling him he's his benefactor, so if there's anything he wants, then he should just say the word. The system then tells Taejun the quest has been completed and a hidden reward will be given to him shortly. The old man starts working out as both Taejun and Mary looks at him in surprise. The old man tells them building physical strength is training to handle high-intensity mana. This is precisely the secret of how he became an archmage. He poses telling them to behold these muscles. Can't he feel the incredible mana radiating from them? He tells him to come over and feel them if he would like when Taejun tells him he is good, asking if isn't that kind of power is unnecessary. Mary says she supposed when the old man says by the way he hasn't heard what he wants. He tells him anything at all as he should just say it. Taejun tells him he is a little short on mana, so he was hoping that he could increase his mana capacity. The old man tells him that's an easy request, nothing difficult, when he uses his mana body technique and punches Taejun. Taejun gets surprised when his mana increases by 300 points. Taejun coughs, asking what was that as he nearly died. The old man tells him from what he sees, his problem doesn't seem to be the lack of mana. Taejun asks what does he means by that when the old man tells him the issue lies with his fireball. He is using an excessive amount of mana for that skill. He tells Taejun, fireball is usually a basic skill, but his fireball is way beyond that. It's consuming too much mana, but he shouldn't worry. He tells June that he will help him completely recreate his fireball. The next day inside of a building, a girl calls June to come over here. She is Lysiana, grade A, Hunter, Myth Guild. Mary asks who is that woman, asking if he knows her. He tells her she is an old friend of his from Hunter's Den, the Awakening Training Center. Mary asks him if he really has a female friend when he gets angry, asking if he's that miserable in her eyes as if she wants to die. She asks, but why did he call her here? He tells her to test the new fireball technique he learned from the buffed old man Myth. The Myth Guild, which Cian is part of, has the largest training facility in the country. The previous fireball was strong enough to level a building, so the new one will be even more dangerous. He says so they need a safer area this time. She tells him he has more connections than she thought when Cian asks what did he say. He tells her nothing at all when she says it's been so long, so how has he been doing? He tells her he is just doing his usual hunter duties. She asks really when she looks at him closely. He asks why as if there is something on his face. She disagrees, telling him it seems like he has changed since before. She tells him before he always needed her help, but now he seems more confident. He asks really when she says it's strange. Someone else asked to use the training ground today too. He asks someone else besides him when she agrees, telling him he will be surely excited to see who it is. She opens the door, telling him they arrived ahead of him when suddenly he gets surprised. A guy is sitting inside on top of the beast he killed when he looks at him and calls his name. He is Choi Jin-hyuk, grade A hunter, bitchin guild. Both of them looks at each other when Cian asks what's with the tension, as it's been a year since they last saw each other. She tells them as they know their guild's training ground is a virtual place made with the user's mana. The training monster's power depends on how much mana is used. She uses her mana when she says a cute kittle monster has appeared. She asks how is it, asking if it's easy, while Taejun thinks that that's supposed to be cute. She tells them if that explanation is enough, telling them she will go grab some drinks. She leaves when both of them stay silent. Taejun says they can create the monster they want with mana when suddenly an ogre appears in front of him. He says it worked when he warms up his body and attacks the beast, killing it in an instant. He says an ogre wouldn't even count as a warm-up when Choi asks, so it was him. Taejun asks what when Choi tells him not to play innocent with him. He is the one who messed up the guild juniors like that while calling him a jerk. Choi says at first he doesn't want to believe it, but now that he looks at it, it's true. He asks Taejun if he has awakened some new power or something, but what is he doing now that he is so strong? He is beating up family members who used to eat from the same pot. Taejun looks at him thinking he was one of the few friends he could rely on back at Hunter's Den, but as he joined the bitchin guild and rose through the ranks, then he started changing. To him, he is no longer a friend when he tells him he did it, so what's he going to do about it? Choi asks what when Taejun tells him he roughed those punks up a bit as they were the ones who messed with him first. He then asks Choi while he was getting beaten to a pulp what did he do besides watching. He should have jumped in and beaten them down with Young Jin. Choi grabs his by his collar, telling him he has some nerve. Just then Taejun tells him he is strangling him, so it's hard to breathe. He tells him this is self-defense, as he feels his life is at risk. After some time, Cian walks in apologizing for keeping them waiting when she gets surprised to see both of them fighting with each other. She asks what are they both doing when Taejun tells him to time out. Choi tells him there is no time out when he attacks him again. Taejun dodges his attack as he kicks him pretty hard. Choi skids back when he tells Taejun he has really become stronger, so he will face him seriously. Taejun tells him he should have done that from the start. Choi thinks when did he got so good at taunting when he uses his ability bitchin' spear technique first form, Thunder Spear. Cian tells him he's crazy for pulling out the Thunder Spear here. Taejun tells him he knew that he would use that technique, so then he will go all out too. Both of them get surprised, asking if that's a skill. Taejun then uses his skill, Fireball, which he learned from the Archmage through Alkaroid. They think that's just like an energy blast when Choi gets surprised. Choi thinks what is this magical power? This is something that he can't possibly block. As the attack was about to hit him, suddenly someone appears in front of Choi as they slices Taejun's attack, blocking it in an instant. Everyone gets surprised when Taejun asks who is he. He is the vice president, Cha Soo-hyun, AS rank hunter, Myth Guild. Cha Soo-hyun says that's not an ordinary fireball. He says to use such a dangerous skill on a teammate, he could have caused a serious accident. Taejun tells him he was just a bit off with the power since it was his first time. Choi thinks unexpected circumstances, but it turned out well as now Taejun is in trouble. Cha Soo-hyun calls Taejun asking if he would consider joining their guild. Taejun gets surprised when Choi thinks what, there's no way. He thinks the de facto of the Myth Guild and one of the few S rankers in the country. Cha Soo-hyun is offering a scout proposal to lead Taejun. Cha Soo-hyun tells Taejun he has never experienced fireball with that much power before. A solid hunter like him pushes basic skills to their limits. It will surely be a great asset to their guild. He then asks once more as if he would like to join their guild. Taejun stays silent, thinking to receive a proposal from the Myth Guild out of the blue. Cian gets happy, thinking as expected they recognize Taejun's true worth. The Myth Guild is one of the 4 major guilds in Korea: Hanguk, Myth, Longhwa and Chonginjin. He thinks if he joins then it would surely benefit him greatly. He then says as he has heard a hunter should consistently train to overcome their limits. Cha Soo-hyun asks training when Taejun agrees, telling him he promised to duel with a colleague today, all just to test his limits. Choi asks when did he promise to duel to him when Taejun says during his fight with Choi Jin-hyuk he realized that Hinter Choi is a massive mountain that he can't overcome, so therefore he can't join. He still have mountains to climb. Choi says why the hell, as if he is crazy talking like that. Hearing this, Cha Soo-hyun bursts out laughing when he says of course. There is nothing more essential for a hunter than training. He tells him he likes his spirit. Mary says he has quite a taste when Cha Soo-hyun asks what's his name and rank. Taejun tells him he is D rank while introducing himself. Cha Soo-hyun tells him a talent like him being a D rank is a waste, so he will exert a little effort for him. That day he received a letter of recommendation from Vice President Cha Soo-hyun. He said that he hopes he will participate in the B rank hunter evaluation a month from now. At first he was hesitant about whether he should attend, but when a hunter's rank goes up, so does the level of dungeons they are able to take on. For him that wasn't a bad deal at all, and so he headed to the test site to become a B rank hunter. 1 month later, at the hunter testing site, Taejun says so this is the B rank hunter site as the air feels different. Mary says to think that they would give her a recommendation right away. That Cha Soo-hyun person really must have liked him. Taejun says well, talent recognizes talent. Where else is she going to find someone like him? Mary asks why didn't he join the Myth Guild, they are offering him much support. He tells her money. Hunters affiliated with a guild have to share a portion of their earnings from expeditions and raids. The rewards are minimal, and there is not much freedom with the schedule. They work them like a dog and then toss them away aside under the pretext of an injury, so how could he ever join a guild? He says he wants more money, that's all. Just then a girl greets him asking if he is taking a part in the test too. He turns back looking at her when she is Yusarin, a C rank hunter, Chongjin Guild. He shakes her hand asking if she knows him. She agrees, telling him the rumors have spread. They are absolutely determined to bring him into their guild. She says she heard that there's a promising talent that the vice president of the Myth Guild is eagerly watching over. He asks if that's so while thinking that guy is blabbering unnecessarily. A guy walks towards them saying he came to see what the fuss is all about, and he finds nothing but a mediocre man. He says just goes to show nothing good ever comes from a hyped up banquet. He is Hang Jian, C rank hunter from Warring Guild. He introduces himself to them saying he is destined to be the greatest hunter in their era. Both of them looks at him silently wondering if this guy is crazy. Just then the host tells everyone thanks for participating. He tells them they will now begin the 32nd B rank hunter evaluation test. The host says first let her introduce the hunter who will be acting as their mentor for this test, A rank hunter, Choi Jin-hyuk from the Bitchin Guild. Jun gets surprised when Choi greets everyone saying before the test begins he will briefly explain the procedure to everyone. The test will take place in a dungeon they have prepared. Each of the 8 participants will be grouped in teams of 2 to tackle the dungeon together. The dungeon has entrances labeled as A, B, C, and D. The first 2 teams to reach the merge point will proceed to the boss's room with him to take on a boss. Even if they retire from the dungeon they shouldn't worry as they have a safety personnel stationed throughout. He tells them the test will also have a streaming score system in place, so please keep in mind. He tells everyone to let's begin the test. He tells them when their name is called please come forward and collect their streaming gear while heading to the gate. He says first up is Team A, Yusarin and Kang Jian. Team B, Yang Dongjun and Honorum. Team C, Cho Songi and Jun Hyung, and finally Team D, Lee Taejun and Kim Junhyun. He tells each team to please enter their designated gate. Taejun asks Junhyun he is here too when Junhyun giggles telling him he will look forward to working with him. He is him Junhyun, a C rank hunter of the Bitchin Guild. Choi looks at him thinking this jerk is using him for his own benefits, as it's not going to be easy as he thinks. He thinks entering the test as he will make him regret it. Him Jinhyun asks Choi he wants him to participate in the B rank assessment. At the Bitchin Guild, Choi asks if he's even listened properly. He tells him all he needs to do is to participate in the assessment and disrupt that Taejun guy. He tells him the B route is designed to be harder than the standard route, so if he interferes then Taejun shouldn't be able to pass so easily. He then tells him Junhyun that his mother is really sick lately, which surprises him Junhyun. Choi tells him to take this chance to make some money for her surgery. He tells him if he handles this well then he will make sure he is well compensated. He tells him to just trust him and follow along. Him Junhyun thinks he managed to enter the D route with Taejun when they encounters monsters. The monster jumps towards them when Taejun kills them with a single blow in an instant. Jun gets surprised thinking what is this? He asks why is it so weak? He says it's only giving him a tiny bit of experience. Junhyun becomes surprised wondering when did he got so strong. He looks at him thinking when did he become so powerful as just a few weeks ago they weren't that different. Back in the guild both of them were always in a weak position, but even in that position Taejun never lost hope. Taejun asks him absorbing the opponent's attack telling him he has got an incredible skill. He tells him a hunter with a skill like his will definitely shine one day so he should keep fighting. Junhyun thinks he was a good senior who gave him hope even when he had none, and now he is supposed to make Taejun fall with his own hands. He grits his teeth wondering what a trashy thing to do, but what choice does he have? How else is he supposed to pay for his mother's surgery, so he has to do this for his own family. He takes out a bottle from his pocket telling Taejun that he knows this is tough but at least take this with him. Taejun asks him what's this when Junhyun tells him it's a buff potion. He always drinks a few on expeditions as they are a big help so he should try it too. Taejun thanks him telling him he will take it as he opens the bottle and drinks it. Junhyun becomes surprised thinking he successfully gave Taejun the paralysis poison. With this Taejun will be exhausted in no time. Suddenly Taejun feels something wrong with his body when Junhyun wonders if it's working already. Taejun struggles saying his stomach is breaking inside him. He asks Junhyun if there's no bathroom here. Junhyun tells him there's no bathroom here when Taejun says he should have gone earlier. He then says he has no choice but to clear this dungeon quickly. Junhyun agrees while thinking if the poison isn't working. Taejun struggles asking Miri if this dungeon has a bathroom but Miri disagrees. His ability to withstand all types of poisons activates itself when he wonders if he has poison immunity. Both of them then goes and after killing the monsters when Taejun looks deep into the cave saying it looks like it's a dead end. He says they will have to turn back. He then asks what's with this dungeon's layout as it feels like he is just going in circles. Junhyun thinks this isn't that deep and he won't die if he pushed him down here. He thinks this might be his only chance to disrupt his assessment when he calls Taejun telling him he's really sorry while rushing towards him to push him. Just as he was about to push him, Taejun dodges him. Junhyun gets surprised when he falls into the pit as he screams. Just as he was about to go down Taejun grabs him asking why is he suddenly trying to die. Junhyun tells him he's garbage and a piece of trash so he should just die here. Taejun asks what's he saying all of a sudden when Junhyun tells him actually he was trying to make him fail this assessment. He tells him he was putting him in great danger for his own good so let him go die because a jerk like him deserves to die. Taejun tells him to say that later while thinking this is bad timing because this time it's serious. Taejun thinks if he should just go nearby as it isn't like anyone is watching his live stream anyway. He then checks his stream when he gets surprised to see 10 viewers. He wonders why are there 10 people watching his stream as there's no way. He can't let them see him like this when he struggles to hold him. Just then the cliff breaks down when both of them falls into the pit. Both of them falls down when Junhyun asks him where is he. They look in front of them when thousands of snakes appears in front of them surprising them both. The viewer says Team B is in trouble as they look extremely exhausted. They wonder if they will be able to make it through. Just then one of the member of Team B leaves as she gets scared. The other asks where is she going. One of them says Hunter Hongginam is unable to endure the monsters alone, and with Hong Iwi's withdrawal Team B has been eliminated. They say Team C seems to be struggling to work together as a team as they are close to elimination. The only team left is Team A wondering if they will be able to pass this assessment. Yusaran greets everyone on camera saying it's nice to meet them all as today she will be taking down the 1,000-year-old white snake. She tells the viewers to stay tuned because here they go. She turns back when she looks at Kang Jian beating the snakes himself. She asks what is he doing when he tells her that the assessment is the perfect chance to impress the boss and he won't let this chance to slip away. She says he wants to be in the spotlight himself as it's not going to happen. She then uses her ability, Frost Wind telling him she would not be a side character. She tells him she is the protagonist of this test. The viewers looks at them saying Team A is advancing with unstoppable force as they are living up to expectations. This is the potential of the 4 great guilds. After that Team A reaches the boss's room first. As they arrive at the entrance Choi is standing there when he congratulates both of them for exceeding the trial. He then says from now onwards he will take them to the boss's room. Yusaran tells him Hunter Lee Taejun hasn't arrived yet. Choi asks if she means Team D. He tells her there's no broadcast signal from Team D right now so they most likely been eliminated. He tells her he won't amount to much when she says what a shame as she was curious to see the hunter, VIP Soo-hyun recommended. Choi tells them to please follow him to the boss's room when both of them agrees. Choi thinks it looks like Junhyun has succeeded while wondering how disappointed Vice President Soo-hyun would be if he finds out about this. As they move into the boss's rooms, the 3 of them get surprised to see all of the snakes lying dead on the ground with a skeleton sitting in front of them. They say what is this and what on earth just happened. Kim Junhyun's unique hunter skill, Absorption. Absorption is a skill that absorbs the opponent's magical attacks and return them to the attacker. The greater the amount absorbed, the more powerful it becomes. The amount that can be absorbed is determined by the user's capabilities. When the absorption skill meets the Archmage's A Fireball, then a new skill is born. Its name is Lee Taejun x Kim Junhyun Collaborative, Hell Train. The viewers appreciates them when Taejun asks Junhyun if he can still eat more. Junhyun struggles, telling him he can as he is okay when Taejun tells him to head straight to the boss's room like this. Junhyun agrees. On the other hand, Yusaran asks Choi what is this. Choi thinks if all of this is going according to plan then the boss of this dungeon is the Immuti, but how did this happen? Not only the Immuti is dead, but what about that lich? There is no way someone must have tampered with the dungeon. Just then the three of them get surprised when the lich awakens. Yusaran says that's a lich, how did it get here? The lich stands up when Choi tells everyone to step back. Just then the lich unleashes its power as it controls the Immuti, ordering it to attack them when Choi dodges. Kang Jian and Yusaran looks at Choi when they say they cannot just sit still. Yusaran then uses her ability, Ice Arrow, and Kang Jian uses his ability, Rising Dragon's Fist. They both attack the Immuti when suddenly both of their attacks get deflected back towards them, making them both injured. Choi calls both of them when he rushes towards the lich, saying it's that guy who's controlling the Immuti. He says if he doesn't take him down first then it's a problem when suddenly the Immuti grabs Choi and starts strangling him. Choi thinks that was careless of him as he charged in recklessly out of excitement. The snake slithers when Choi thinks to die so easily like this. He thinks at the very least he should have said something before dying when suddenly Taejun and Junhyun appears into the dungeon. They both says happily that they successfully escaped from the pit as both of them attacks the snake. Choi becomes surprised thinking what is that as looks at Taejun wondering if that's him. Taejun tells Junhyun they did it as they have reached the boss's room. Junhyun tells him it's all thanks to him. Choi thinks what happened as he's glad to be alive, but that isn't the important thing right now. He calls Taejun and Junhyun telling them to get away from the Immuti immediately. Both of them get surprised when the Immuti attacks them. Both of them dodges its attack when Taejun asks what's going on here. He looks at the lich and Immuti saying this test is way too extreme for a B rank evaluation. Choi agrees telling him it seems like someone has interfered with this evaluation, so there must be someone who shouldn't pass this evaluation. He says perhaps it's someone capable of keeping other guilds in check, or maybe they are connected to another guild. Taejun says he gets the general idea while thinking it's complicated. He then says anyway they have to take that guy down. Choi tells him he really didn't want it to work together with him, while Taejun tells him he feels the same way. Choi tells him it can't be bad as this is a temporary alliance. Both of them rushes towards the lich when Taejun asks Junhyun if he can still eat more fireballs. Junhyun shakes his head telling him he is a bit maxed out now. Just then the snake throws something towards them when Choi blocks it telling Taejun to be careful. Taejun tells him he sees it too when he uses his fireball capacity at 20% and uses it towards the Immuti. He attacks the Immuti while Choi attacks it too saying he will kill him. Choi uses his skill, Divine Spear Technique, second form. He attacks the Immuti as they both kills the Immuti. The lich becomes surprised. The other says now is the time as the lich is defenseless right now. Kang Jian says that's his turn to shine as a man never misses an opportunity. He rushes towards the lich when he punches the lich. Taejun tells Junhyun if they attack it using a combo then they can't lose. He tells him he is asking one last favor to him as he makes his fireball again. Both of them uses their collaborative attack, Hell Train once again attacking the lich. A huge explosion occurs when Choi thinks if they defeat it. Suddenly all of them get surprised thinking the attack isn't working at all as the lich stands there. The lich says something while slamming its staff on the ground. It attacks all of them making them all injured. Taejun thinks there's no way. He thinks no matter how much of a lich it is, it shouldn't be immune to damage, so if there's something they are missing. He thinks they are lacking sufficient information about the lich when Mary asks him he didn't forget about her. Taejun calls her when she asks if he knows how hard she struggled to download the map, asking if they shall fight with a map hack key from now on. She launches the navigation as a map appears in front of Taejun. Taejun asks what is she suddenly talking about, map hacks as if she's kidding him. The system tells him reconstructing the dungeon map based on the information when a map appears in front of him. He asks what is this as if it is parsley navigation. She tells him that with parsley navigation, he can know various dungeons information from enemy skill paths to hidden routes and item rewards. He can learn a lot about the dungeon, moreover she has also installed other apps this time telling him to actively utilize them in combat. He thinks this is beyond map hacking as it's at the helper level. He can't believe such ridiculous functions exist. He thinks Choi said that the original boss of this dungeon is a B rank, Immuti, so what's that guy? He thinks where on earth did such monstrous creature came from. The lich laughs menacingly saying he's so happy. The system tells him parsley translator is activate when Taejun understands it thinking what the hell is that as it's so scary. Taejun asks Miri what on earth is going on when she asks if it is a bug. The lich says to gather such fresh humans like this. He's truly grateful to the contractor when she tells him it seems like the translator is malfunctioning. He thinks it's a bit strange but the translation seems to be working properly but he just said contractor. Could it be that someone forcibly summoned the monster? Taejun then asks Choi if he can move. Choi tells him fortunately as he managed to avoid a fatal wound. Taejun tells him he doesn't know if he will believe him but he thinks he has found its weakness. Choi asks how did he do that when Taejun tells him he doesn't have time to explain it all now but just trust him for now and cooperate. Choi silently looks at him when he agrees telling him then what should they do first. Taejun tells him firstly let them all make it angry. Taejun then calls that lich a skeleton asking what is he doing and why isn't he attacking. The lich says it looks like he is eager to die so he will slaughter them all when he attacks them. All of them get surprised when Taejun tells him they all get behind him. All of them dodges its attack saying they survive while Taejun thinks just as Miri said he can predict all of its attack ranges. He thinks with this he can really do as he planned when he tells the lich he missed it. He mocks the lich showing it a funny face when the lich attacks them again. Taejun tells Kang Jian to take 3 steps to the right and Junhyun to take 5 steps back. Both of them dodges its attack saying they really dodged it as that is amazing. The lich tells him he really dodges well so let's see if he can dodge this one too. The lich prepares an attack as it unleashes its power. All of them get surprised asking Taejun how are they supposed to dodge this one. Taejun becomes surprised thinking a wide area attack that targets every part of the dungeon and the only way to avoid this is. The lich uses its skill, Death Requiem telling them they are so stupid as if they keep dodging then it's easy to just use a spell that they can't avoid. Just then all of them rushes towards the lich when Taejun tells everyone its attack is on skill cooldown. All of them jumps at him together when the lich says he definitely wouldn't be able to survive it and what the hell is going on. The lich's skill, Death Requiem is a very wide area attack skill and its power increases the further it goes to the edges. However the power decreases as they move closer to the center. With its power dropping to 10% at the innermost point Taejun using this information through parsley navigation was able to dive in deep and minimize damage. Taejun calls Yusaran now's her chance when she agrees telling him to leave it to her. She uses her skill, Frostwind as they freezes the lich. The lich tells him he will commend them for blocking his attacks but what do they do now as their attack won't do him any harm at all. Taejun thinks it's hard to keep him from moving like this. He runs back while telling the others to please take care of the back. The lich asks where is he going when suddenly it becomes surprised. Taejun then runs thinking the lich summoned by contract takes the contractor's sacrifice as host and until that host is destroyed, the lich is virtually immortal. He then looks at a chest saying there it's that skeleton's main body. He thinks if they break that then they can cancel the summoning. The lich asks how does he knows this as he will never forgive him. It breaks through the attack as it rushes towards Taejun. Taejun becomes surprised when suddenly Choi and the others ask him where is he going as they all attacks the lich together telling him it can't without their permission. The lich screams when Choi tells Taejun they got him so he should go finish him off. Taejun thanks him when the lich tells him he can't. Taejun then punches the wall using his strength when a chest appears in front of him. Taejun thinks he found it when he gets a hold of it. Choi holds down the lich thinking the weakness of that guy that Taejun mentioned is it hidden over there. Suddenly the lich unleashes its power saying that cannot happen. The lich thinks how did he find out? No one besides him and the contractor should know. He looks at Taejun wondering, that human what the hell is he? Just then the lich rushes towards Taejun, but he tells him if he comes over then he will throw the box away. His parsley translator gets activated again when the lich asks how does he understand the ancient language. Taejun tells him from now on listen to carefully what he said. If he cooperates with him, then he can save his life. The lich laughs telling him after all it's being summoned by contract so without the contractor's command it can't obey anyone's words. Lee Taejun tells him if the contract is cancelled then that's the end of it. The lich tells him that can't be possible as maybe for an ancient sorcerer but for someone as ordinary as him. Just then Taejun asks him if he looks like an ordinary human being. The lich thinks not only has he figured out all his magic but he has also discovered the location of the sacred relic. He wonders could it be that this human can really cancel the contract. The lich tells him for now he will trust his words as if there's something he wants then he will grant his any wish. Taejun thinks his stomach hurts as he is feeling unwell. Taejun tells him to firstly release all the skeletons summoned outside, telling him it was the work of a certain someone before entering here, so it was already summoned before this. The Parsley navigation detected an anomaly, so if he gets caught lying then it will be his head. The Lich agrees when Taejun tells him he is glad that they can communicate. The Lich asks what does he want as if he has any wishes. Taejun tells him well then for now just bring him everything he has. Taejun asks him he must have something like items or accessories as if there's something he can give him. The Lich tells him even if he says that he doesn't have anything useful. Taejun tells him he can see it with his own eyes when the Lich asks if it could be that he is talking about his staff. He tells him that absolutely can happen as if he mentioned this stuff. Taejun tells him then he will break the chest when suddenly the Lich gives him the staff telling him there it is. Taejun says he totally loves it when the Lich asks if he is going to release the contract now. It tells him if he releases the contract then he will do anything for him. Taejun tells him he doesn't even know how to release the contract when the Lich asks what. Taejun tells him how can he release a contract when he doesn't even know summoning magic. He tells the Lich to say something that makes sense when the Lich gets angry at him telling him he dares to insult him. The Lich unleashes its power when Taejun tells him he told him that if he came closer then he will break it as he slams the chest onto the ground. The Lich screams saying he can't just go like this as he is a great being reborn. Taejun says this guy is going out in style even on his way out when Mary agrees. Taejun says by the way this is the contractor's offering as from the looks of it. It must have been very important to summon that guy with a finger. Mary asks who could have summoned that or perhaps targeting them when Taejun he says who cares. He says if he can get such a sweet item then he is all in. She thinks he is really a materialistic person when she looks back telling Taejun to look as there are other items too. He gets surprised asking other items when he looks at the gems saying he doesn't know what they are but if they came from that Lich then it must be expensive. Just then the others members comes running inside the dungeon asking if he is okay. Taejun tells them he is fine when Yusaran asks if he really defeated it. Choi asks he against the Lich when Taejun agrees telling him he defeated it and it's now gone without a trace. Kang Jian tells him he hates to admit that but that's impressive. He tells him that he will recognize him as a strong hunter next. The other tells him he is amazing when Choi calls Taejun saying he apologizes to him for poisoning him and for throwing him into the pit. It was all done by him telling Junhyun to do it. He tells him he doesn't know how they ended up like this as he guessed he didn't like the fact that he worked so hard despite having no talent so he is really sorry. Taejun tells him seriously as if he is going to do it then he should do it properly. He tells him that he didn't even notice that until now. He asks if he really thought he would fall for something like that as he has always had a bad head. Choi asks what does he mean when Taejun tells him to forget it. He says as a celebration for becoming a B-rank hunter, let's go have a meal next time. Choi asks him to say what he wants to eat as he will treat him. Choi then asks Taejun by the way just in case if he likes Lee Seon. Taejun becomes surprised asking what's up with him as he doesn't mean that he likes her. Choi gets embarrassed telling him it's not like that as he should shut up. Junhyun tells both of them to look over there as a gate opened. They all say they can finally go back when Junhyun says he wants to hurry back and eat lots of delicious food. Taejun tells everyone to let's go back while thinking now that the tension has eased his stomach hurts. Just as they walk out of the gate all of them get surprised when someone asks everyone has returned safely. They congratulate all of them on their promotion to B-rank hunter when Taejun thinks Seo Yun of the Clear Sky Guild and Matte Pyong of the Warring Guild. What brings the top hunters in the country here? Seo Yun says as they all know that someone interfered and manipulated this evaluation. From the emoji transformed into an undead in the presence of the Lich. She says the monsters that were never supposed to appear showed up amassed. They concluded that this incident was definitely the work of a certain force that was keeping the Clear Sky Guild and Warring Guild in check and that culprit is Hunter. Lee Taejun telling everyone it's him. Hearing this Taejun gets confused. Yosaran asks what does she mean while Kang Jian tells her he is their comrade who fought alongside them. There's no way he could do that. She says a comrade who fought together from what she saw. It seems like Hunter Taejun did it all by himself. She tells them they witnessed all of them fighting the Lich live and from dodging the Lich's attack under Hunter Taejun's orders to discovering hidden locations. She says though they couldn't see what was there, it's clear that the Lich's weakness was concealed somewhere. She says isn't it strange for a D-rank hunter like Lee Taejun to know such crucial information? Both of them get surprised when Yusaran and Kang Jian says now that she mentions it that does seem possible. Seo Yun asks Lee Taejun that he knew that in advance that the Lich would appear. Taejun thinks he didn't know at all when she asks what is he hesitating for. Matte says if he doesn't answer quickly then he will slice him down right here. Taejun thinks what as if they are really thinking of killing him. He then says well let's calm down. There has to be a way to clarify this. He thinks the Lich, the sacrifice and a contractor when suddenly he becomes surprised as he figures something out. He tells everyone to wait a moment as if they all will listen to him. He tells everyone actually his dream has always been to become a necromancer. Seo Yun asks what is he suddenly talking about all of a sudden when he tells them he has researched it since he was a child. All the characteristics and skill patterns of the undead and what weaknesses they might have. That's why he was able to figure out that the Lich's weakness was hidden somewhere. She tells him he wants her to believe such nonsense right now. He tells them if she doesn't believe him then would she like to see this when everyone gets surprised as Taejun shows them a finger telling them this is the finger found in a sarcophagus. He tells them this can only mean that someone made a contract with the Lich. He tells them the Lich wasn't a monster that naturally occurred thinking as Choi said the original boss of this dungeon was a B-rank, Immuti. Someone deliberately contracted with the Lich to manipulate this examination so it must have been released into this dungeon. He tells them to remember one thing that the Lich can never disobey the command of its contractor, and the other hunters who were attacked by the Lich can never be the culprits in this incident. Seo Yun thinks that is all correct as if the one who manipulated this examination is Hunter Taejun then there's no need to protect his comrades. Matte asks then who could be the culprit be as if it could be someone from the Dark Magic Guild. Lee Taejun tells him the truth is that the culprit is within here. He then shouts telling everyone to please check the hands of those around them. All of them starts checking each other's hands when suddenly a guy grits his teeth when he runs away. Taejun tells everyone that person is the owner of the finger when Miri tells him that's amazing but how did he know there was a culprit? He becomes surprised saying in detective mangas they usually catch culprits like this when she gets surprised. Both Seo Yun and Matte unleashes their power calling the hunter, Seo Yona as they wouldn't let him escape. He becomes surprised when Matte asks how dare he attack his apprentice as he won't forgive him. Matte uses his skill, Divine Art of the Riding Dragon when suddenly he gets surprised. He looks at the guy wondering if he took his own life. Matte suddenly tells everyone what are they all doing as they should quickly send his corpse to the Alliance headquarters. Find out where he came from and what he was doing when everyone agrees. Seo Yun thinks that someone would use dark magic and target both the Clear Sky and Warring Guilds. She says whoever it is she will definitely find out. She then apologizes to Taejun telling him she is sorry for misunderstanding him. She tells him she will surely repay him for this incident when suddenly Taejun falls onto the ground. Everyone gets surprised when Taejun thinks his mana ran out. After some time he slowly opens his eyes thinking where is he? Seon looks at him saying it seems like he is finally coming back to his senses when he looks at both of them. He then gets up asking both of them why are they here. She tells him she came because she was worried since her friend collapsed. Choi tells him he came to see if he was dead or alive. Seon tells him how much did he push himself to faint like this as the doctor almost had a huge problem. Besides he made a huge impact in this B-rank examination. Taejun becomes surprised when she tells him to look as it's all over the internet. He checks the phone saying what is this? Choi says seriously anyone would think he took down the Lich alone but if he wasn't there then Taejun wouldn't have accomplished anything. Seon tells him what is he saying as the video show Taejun carrying it all. He becomes surprised asking how much did he contribute there when Taejun thinks it's been a while since the three of them have talked like this. Just then an announcement has made that Taejun is awake. Everyone gets surprised when Seo Yun walks inside the room. Taejun asks her how did she get there when she tells him if he didn't know that this hospital is run by her. Taejun becomes surprised when she tells him when he suddenly collapsed they took him to the hospital run by their guild so here he can rest assured. She tells him besides she owes him a debt. He asks the debt when she tells him he saved her guild precious hunter Yosaran. Taejun thinks precious when Seo Yun tells him she thought she would never see the face of Hunter Yeo Se-rin again, and just thinking about it tears her heart apart. She then tells him to tell her what he wants, as she will repay anything that he desires. Taejun says even if she say that, nothing comes to his mind immediately. She laughs, telling him there's no need to decide right now, as there is plenty of time. She tells him she will be waiting in her office on the top floor until he recovers as she leaves. She then turns, telling him to come by any time once he has thought of something. As she leaves, Sienna jumps up on him, hugging him tightly. She tells him he is so amazing. When did he grow up so much as it feels like yesterday he was always getting lost in dungeons, and now he has come so far. Taejun tells her to stop that while Choi sighs, telling him he is a lucky guy. Sienna then asks if he has decided what he will ask for. Taejun tells her he hasn't really thought of anything. He says since it's Vice Guild Master, Seo Yun while they are talking about, and she is among the top wizard hunters, then maybe he will ask her for a magic-related item. She looks at him, telling him right now recovery is important so he can think about it later. She then takes out a potion, telling him to drink this and recover quickly when he thanks her. She then tells him she and Choi have plans, so they will be heading out now when he tells her to take care. Mary then appears, telling Taejun he must have a lot to think about. A beauty like that offering to grant his wish. Just imagining it makes her heart race. Taejun asks what is she even babbling about, thinking what should he ask for. He thinks money would be nice when suddenly he disagrees, saying asking an S-rank hunter for money would be a poor choice, so he will get something priceless. He then thinks firstly he needs to figure out what he needs the most. He says come to think of it, where did those items he got earlier go? Mary tells him she thinks they were automatically stored in the Parsley Market vault. Taejun asks what's that when she giggles, saying he's finally asking about it. She starts advertising, saying Parsley Market is a massive second-hand trading platform with over 100 million concurrent users. Users from various dimensions are there, and they can find a wide range of items at very reasonable prices here. Mary explains everything when Taejun asks her if she's advertising. He thinks people from other dimensions also use this. He then thinks now that he thinks of it, he is the only one on Earth who has access to this latest status interface. He can buy artifacts from other dimensions, and he is the only one who can sell Earth items on Parsley Market, which means he can monopolize the market. He then says he can hear the money rolling and telling her he will connect right now and gather up all the amazing items. He slams the button when he connects to the Parsley Market. The system welcomes him when he finds himself in some kind of a town. He looks around as he sees different vendors selling different items. He says isn't that just like some generic mobile game when Mary tells him something familiar is nice. She tells him since they are already here, so why not take a look around. Taejun then asks the vendor if he can check the prices. The vendor shows him a dragon scale shield, telling him to go ahead and take a look. The system tells him about the information about the shield when Taejun asks Mary, how much is 18,000 Parsley coins? Mary tells him she forgot to explain the currency, as 18,000 Parsley coins would be around 240,000 magic stones. Hearing this, Taejun gets surprised, thinking that's well over $1 billion. He asks if there's anything cheaper when Mary tells him for reference 18,000 Parsley coins is around the average market price here. He says there's nothing he can afford to buy, thinking how much would the items he got earlier be worth here. He then takes out the staff, telling the vendor he's a newbie here, so could he tell him the going rate for this item. The vendor checks the staff when he tells Taejun unfortunately this is an unsellable item. Taejun gets surprised, telling him it seems pretty decent, so what's the issue? The vendor tells him his staff has a curse on it unless they are a powerful enough mage. Lifting the curse would be difficult. Taejun says so it's completely unusable when he shows him the gem, asking what about this one as he got it from the same monster. The guy checks the gem, telling him 10 Parsley coins maybe when Taejun thinks it's practically trash. He thinks he was imagining a golden future when Mary tells him small amounts build up over time so he can take it slow. Just then a guy calls Taejun asking if he has a moment for a trade. The guy tells him he would like to take a closer look at that crystal item. Taejun tells him that's just junk when the guy tells him to accept the trade request as it's fine. The guy then checks the gem, telling him he was right, as if he enhances it then it will actually be quite useful. He then tells Taejun that he will cover the enhancement cost. Taejun tells him that would be great, thanking him when the guy tells him there is the condition. He tells him if he fails even for once then he will cover all enhancement costs, but if he succeeds without failing then he will cover all the expenses. Taejun asks what when the guy starts laughing menacingly. Mary then whispers in Taejun's ear, telling him this person looks like a scammer so they should ignore him. Taejun then thinks tricking naive newbies with absurd enhancement costs is a classic scammer move, but no one but a fool would fall for this. Taejun then asks him he can stop the enhancement whenever he wants. The guy laughs, telling him exactly as he can stop anytime he feels like it. Taejun agrees to his deal, telling him let's start now when Mary becomes surprised, asking what is he doing as if he is trying to go broke. He tells her not to worry as he is going in with a winning strategy. She asks a winning strategy, asking what kind when he tells her he has his ways so he should just sit back and watch. Taejun then tells her he will show her what it means to break this so-called luck game. His skill, Extraordinary Growth, rank S activates itself when the enhancement success rate greatly increases. The game rules are simple. Taejun can keep enhancing until he decides to stop. If he successfully completes an enhancement, then all costs so far will be covered by the other party. All costs up to now have to be bound by the other party, but however if he fails even once then he will have to pay all the cost. The higher the success, the greater the risk of failure in this game, so who will emerge as the final winner. The guy tells him here are 100 Parsley coins and the enhancement materials, asking if he is going to do the enhancement here. The guy asks if he needs him to show him the perfect spot. Taejun asks what kind of perfect spot for the first enhancement. He says he will go for it like a man, no fuss when he starts doing the process. The enhancement gets successful when the crystal enhances into an obsidian crystal. The guy tells him he thought the success rate was only 80%, so he guessed he has got more guts than he expected. The guy tells him he isn't just doing a single enhancement, and running, telling him to be a real man. Taejun smirks, telling him he is going straight to 9, telling him he can chicken out if he is scared. The guy asks +9 all at once as if he is sure about that. Taejun asks if he is scared when the guy thinks what an idiot. The chances of succeeding all the way to 9 at once is less than 0.001%. He asks Taejun if he is trying to show off, then he will take that bet. Taejun agrees when he enhances the material again. Mary gets surprised, asking him if he is seriously doing this. The guy starts laughing menacingly, saying this madman is really going forward. The guy tells him he is done for as all the enhancement costs are on him, when suddenly Taejun smirks, telling him it's a success. Taejun manages to enhance the obsidian crystal to +9. The guy gets surprised, asking what is this, and how did he do it, while thinking how is this possible. He thinks if he really succeeds to 9 without a single failure. He wonders what on earth is this guy, as if he's a game admin. The guy then grits his teeth, saying he can't let him leave just like this, so if he can just get him to try the enhancement once more. The guy then congratulates Taejun, telling him he's only one enhancement away from max. He tells him he has come this far so might as well go all the way. Taejun asks for fully enhancing it when he looks at the crystal, thinking actually thanks to the extraordinary growth buff he had a 100% chance to enhance up to 9. However, the chance for the final enhancement even with the buff is only 10%, so if he pushes that now and fail then he might really end up losing everything. Taejun tells him he's more than satisfied with his stats now, but what kind of overpowered item this is that the chance for max is so low. He thinks he cannot resist the curiosity when he asks the guy to make a deal. The guy asks the deal when Taejun tells him to go to the perfect spot. At the enhancement spot, Pyrian Peak people are praying. They reaches there when Taejun takes a deep breath, saying he can feel it, the lament and sorrow of all these items. Mary asks Taejun if doing it here increases his chance. Taejun tells her not at all when she gets surprised, thinking why are they here then. Taejun tells her he came here because luck has a flow. She asks Flo when he agrees, saying whether it's a 10% chance or 1% chance, it will succeed eventually, but the problem is knowing exactly when that timing is. If they read that flow and timing then they can overcome the odds even with low chances. She tells him that sounds convincing enough, she guessed, but what does that have to do with coming here? He tells her if she can't hear it that the wailing of countless items. He tells her here he can sense it, and he can feel exactly when he should proceed or when he shouldn't. The chaos and screams of so many people determines the flow and timing of luck, and right now the flow of luck is with him. He then says last attempt when he pushes the enhance button. The guy thinks this crazy fool is really attempting the full enhancement, so there is no way he will succeed. He thinks the probability of succeeding from 0 to +10 without a single failure is 0. All of them looks at the enhancement surprisingly when Taejun finally succeeds. The obsidian crystal of passing porter has become +10 with a twilight glow. Everyone says this is the first time they have seen a fully enhanced item. That's national power level material. The guy gets angry at Taejun, calling him a con artist, telling him he used some illegal programs, asking if this is even possible. Taejun asks what is he talking about. He asks who is the real scammer here, him or him. Taejun asks if it wasn't him trying to extort a newbie while pretending to help when the guy gets surprised. The guy tells him to stay right there, as he's reporting him so he will never lag in again. Taejun blocks him as they both leaves. The guy shouts at him telling him to give him back his resources. Taejun gets back to Earth when he laughs saying he got a nice item for free which is so sweet. Mary tells him that was risky, and what would he done if he failed? How can he pay back all those coins? Taejun asks what is she saying as he would just run for it if he failed. He then laughs saying who's a scammer now, naive or just dumb. Mary thinks that this guy could be a demon. He then tells her he got some great intel from this parsley market when he takes out the staff. He says he might just be able to use this staff after all. At the Clear Sky Guild, inside Seo Yunhwa's office, top floor of the hospital. Taejun knocks on the door when she tells him to come in. Taejun opens the door when he greets her. She looks at him asking if he is feeling better now. He agrees telling her he isn't fully recovered yet but as she can see he is able to move. She tells him coming here must mean he has decided on what he wants. She thinks Taejun undoubtedly is the undisputed first place in the last assessment. If her intuition is correct then he will grow to become one of the top hunters in Korea. Just then Taejun walks towards her and he grabs her hand telling her he wants her. At the lift, Seo Yunhwa says he is saying that what he wants is her skill. She asks if he always talks like this. He tells her if he said something wrong when she disagrees telling him it's just a misunderstanding on her part so he shouldn't worry about it while she gets angry. Taejun thinks if he said something that could be misunderstood. At the third basement level, she says anyway his wish is to lift the curse from his item. She tells him that's a lot simpler than she expected asking if he could show her the item. Taejun gives her the staff telling her here it is. She tells him this is the item he mentioned that he got it back when he was a D-rank hunter. Taejun agrees when she unleashes her power saying let's see what kind of curse is on it. She says if it's with her skill then it shouldn't take too long when she uses her skill, Spell Dispel. Taejun thinks that's one of Seo Yunhwa's S-rank skills. Spell Dispel is a type of dispel skill which analyses and nullifies the structure and formula of the target skill. A curse is just a complicated spell trap so no matter how complex the curse is, it's powerless against Spell Dispel and what he wants is exactly that skills of hers. Taejun takes out the perfect mimics obsidian crystal, plus 10. When the crystal is activated it scans and stores the target skill when he thinks he would be satisfied with just lifting the curse on one item so he will lift the curse and take the skill too. He then thinks let's get ready to copy it nicely. As Seo Yunhwa was lifting the curse suddenly something appears from thin air as it attacks her. Everyone gets surprised when Taejun asks what is that. A monster suddenly appeared when Taejun rushes towards Seo Yunhwa calling her name. He thinks he doesn't know where he came from but he needs to learn the skill when he attacks the monster as it dissipates. Just then the monster appears again when Taejun thinks his physical attacks aren't working. He then uses his skill, Fireball, when he attacks the monster. Taejun then asks Seo Yunhwa as if she's alright. She tells him she isn't fairly injured but she let her guard down. She didn't expect something like that to appear when Taejun asks what is that monster and where did it come from all of a sudden. Seo Yunhwa tells him that isn't a monster when he asks it isn't a monster in surprise. She agrees telling him as unbelievable as it sounds that is the curse itself taking shape so it's a cursed spirit. He asks that's the curse attached to the staff. She tells him the curse is more deeply rooted than she thought and the only way to lift it without damaging the staff is through Spell Dispel but the problem is that it hit her with a debuff skill so she can't use Spell Dispel right now. She tells him for now let's force it to dissipate telling him it's a shame about the staff but she will grant his wish next time as she unleashes her power. Taejun thinks if this happens then he won't be able to lift the curse or get Spell Dispel. He thinks this can't happen as there must be another way. He then asks her if she happens to have a skill called Power Infusion. She agrees when he asks her if she could lend him Spell Dispel temporarily as he will handle it. She tells him that cursed spirit isn't something he can defeat just by borrowing power temporarily. She tells him it's a high-level curse with complex spell structures and calculations. Even for her dispelling it takes quite some time. He tells her that is true but if she would be willing to trust him on this. She stays silent when she sighs agreeing to him. She tells him he is really set on lifting this curse. She tells him Spell Dispel performs high-level calculations so without her guidance it will be difficult. She tells him to listen carefully and follow along what she tells him. She says let's start when he is ready as the buff derivation isn't long so he should be careful. He agrees telling her to leave it to him. He receives her skill temporarily when he thinks if she can't do it then he will just have to do it himself. He looks at the gem thinking his camera setup is complete so let's do this. The curse rushes towards him to attack him when he uses the skill, Spell Dispel. The perfect mimics obsidian crystal scans his actions and saves the skill. By combining this spell with the calculator, a skill that performs calculations automatically is born. Seo Yunhwa asks if he sees the calculation formulas representing the skill structure telling him to plug them into the formula and when suddenly Taejun tells her that's alright as he already understands what to do. She asks he does but that isn't something he can do just by instinct. He tells her not to worry as here they go again. The curse says something when Taejun says curse spirit of whatever, he needs to sell this item so get out of his way when he uses his ultimate skill, automatic Spell Dispel macro version and attacks the curse. The curse starts dissipating when Seo Yunhwa thinks the curse is really disappearing. She thinks even a quick learning spellcaster would need at least 5 years to analyze and calculate this spell structure but she wonders just how talented is he. The curse disappears when it frees itself from the staff. Taejun looks at Seo Yunhwa telling her that's incredible when she gets surprised. He tells her to handle such difficult skill. He can see now use an S-rank hunter skill. He tells her she's on a whole different level from him. She looks at him thinking he is far more impressive than she expected. Joining Clear Sky Guild might even be a burden for him telling him why don't he check out the Wuthering Guild. He gets surprised when she tells him Guild Master, Mate Pion mentioned having something for him so it could be of great help to him. At the Guanic Mountain, Wuthering Guild, Mate asks Taejun if he wants to see the Rising Dragon Fist. He tells him he has made a great choice as it's the ultimate martial arts after all telling him to watch closely because this is a rare chance. Mate then uses his skill, Phantom Step, Rising Dragon One Horn Strike. Mate tells him that's the Phantom Step and the Rising Dragon One Horn Strike asking how is it as if it's impressive. Taejun agrees telling him that's truly impressive while thinking the angle is just right. He thinks keep going just like that when the perfect mimic obsidian crystal scans subject's action and saves his ability again. At Shinwa Guild, in Hanyang Island, Taejun uses his ability, Rising Dragon's Fist when he defeats a monster. He says it really looked exactly the same asking the top rank items are different. He then kisses the gem saying thanks for giving them this high-class martial arts for free. Just then the system tells him due to the user's low strength stats, the damage of the Rising Dragon Divine Fist is reduced by 50% when he asks what. He says there really is no such thing as a free lunch when Mary tells him naturally. He says if he had known this then he would have followed that old gym rat's advice and worked out a bit regularly. The system gives him a quest telling him to train his strength by practicing the Rising Dragon's Divine Fist. In actual battles the skill usage decreases by up to 10 times with each casting. He thinks he has to practice each skill over 2,000 times. No matter how he calculates, it will take at least 10 hours. He says he just wanted an easy freebie so why does everything have to be so difficult? Mary stays silent when he sighs saying compared to the grinding for 7 years he has been through this is nothing. He thinks since it has come to this then he will max out his strength stat as his extreme training starts now. Mary tells him to go for it when he starts training. After some time Lee Sien walks inside the training room telling him that training is good but make sure to pace himself. She tells him to have something to eat when she gets surprised to see Lee Taejun standing there with his body all ripped. She thinks when did he build up all that muscle? She then looks at him thinking he has been acting a bit strange lately. Not long ago he was just an average D rank but now among fierce competitors he has passed the B rank counter exam with flying colors and becoming a talent of interest to both Wuthering's leader, Mate Pion and Shinwa's guild leader Seo Yunhwa. His rapid growth doesn't look normal. She thinks Taejun seems to be soaring like a butterfly emerging from a cocoon. She says it's nice that he is being recognized but it feels like he is getting farther and farther away. Just then someone asks she looks troubled when suddenly she gets surprised calling him sir. Sohyun says he heard she was practicing the vision sword technique in the training room when she gets all surprised thinking this is bad. If he finds out she borrowed the training room without permission. Just then Sohyun tells her she shouldn't need to worry as he trusts her that she wouldn't just lend out their training room to anyone. She giggles when the guy looks at Taejun, saying he sensed an unusual aura, but he sees that it was Taejun. He says that martial art when he approaches Taejun, telling him it's been a while. Taejun greets him when Sohyun tells him he heard he passed the B rank entrance exam, as he thought his eyes didn't deceive him. Taejun thanks him for his kind words when Sohyun asks if he is still a freelancer. Taejun agrees when Sohyun says then he supposes it's okay to make an offer right here. Taejun asks an offer when he tells him they have scheduled an expedition in 4 days with Sienna as the team leader, but one of the team members had to drop out due to an injury. Just then Sienna tells him to hold on for a moment. Sohyun asks what is the matter when she tells him this expedition she thinks it might be too challenging for Taejun. Taejun asks what grade of dungeon is it when she tells him grade 2 and it's the first time it's been transferred. She tells him there's barely any information on it. She says they don't know what dangerous variables might be present, and what if he gets hurt. He looks at her thinking she is completely underestimating him. Hearing this, Sohyun laughs, telling her not to worry as at his skill level he should be able to clear this dungeon, and remember that this is just a suggestion, not an obligation. He asks what does he think that training with real monsters might be more beneficial than practicing with simulated ones here. Taejun thinks now that he thinks about it, using it in actual battles would give him 10 times advantage, so it has a 10 times benefit compared to training here. He tells him he is in, but he has a question. Sohyun tells him to ask away when Taejun tells him freelancers keeps all the magic stones they acquire from defeating monsters. After that, as they both are walking, Taejun says this is such a hassle when he looks at his phone. Mary tells him that the person behind the manipulation of the evaluation hasn't even been revealed yet, so if he's sure it's safe to be moving around so freely. He tells her not to worry as this time he will be with members from Shinwa Guild. She asks if he can really trust the Shinwa Guild. He tells her Matt Pai on the Warring Guild and Kim So-hyun of Shinwa Guild have been lifelong friends for 20 years. Thanks to that, Shinwa and her Warring Guild members maintain close relationships, therefore the possibility of these two guilds being involved in the manipulation is close to zero. She says she understands when Taejun says even if 100 of those guys attacked him then it would be no use. With the rising dragon divine fist and Shinwa's defensive technique he is practically invincible. Mary asks if he isn't a little overconfident. He tells her that's not confidence but it's the truth when she tells him still it's important to not let his guard down. At the grade 2, transfer type dungeon with no information, 2 guys are standing in front of it. Taejun looks at it when Sian calls him saying he's already here. She tells him to introduce himself as these are her team members. A guy greets her telling him he is Choi Yushik from Shinwa Team 3. The other says she is Yoon Na-hyun, the healer from Team 3, and a boy tells him he is No Youngchul, the youngest member of Shinwa Team 3. Taejun bows in front of them telling them let's head in if everyone is here. Sian tells him about that one person hasn't arrived yet. He asks someone besides Shinwa Team 3 is coming. Sian tells him last night one of their members got injured during training so they urgently called in another hunter. Taejun asks another hunter when suddenly a car stops behind him telling him to move it. A guy walks out of the car saying who's this crazy guy as if he didn't heard him say move. Taejun asks if that's him while thinking he got such a rough look when she agrees. Taejun greets him telling him it's nice to meet him asking if he can know his name. The guy looks at him when he spits on the ground asking who's this punk. The guy says if everyone is here so let's hurry up and get in as what are they wasting their time for. Taejun gets angry at him when Sian tells him to calm down. She tells him even if he seems like that, he is actually a big name in the industry. He asks why a guy like him when she tells him, A-rank freelancer hunter Kim Joo-hun. He is known as a piece of trash in both personality and character but his skills are unrivaled among A-rank hunters so no one dares to challenge him. The problem is that he abuses his freelancer status to hog all the magic stones leaving his team members with nothing, not even enough for medical expenses. She tells him she didn't want to work with him for this expedition when he tells her he sees that he is a total piece of trash while thinking it's kind of hits close to home. He thinks sometimes they meet people similar to themselves in life so it is more surprising he hasn't met people like this sooner. He looks at him while thinking he will make sure he gets his mirror treatment. Monster rushes towards them when Sian tells everyone a monster has appeared here. Sian tells everyone to stay calm and maintain formation, slowly advancing from the front. She says they are going wild when suddenly Kim Joo-hun appears in front of her saying he doesn't have time to waste on these low-level monsters, killing all of them in an instant. He then laughs saying maybe it's been too long but his attacks are not feeling as sharp. Everyone stays silent when Sian tells him he has been acting independently this whole time. She tells him they gathered here as a team to conquer this dungeon through cooperation so if he keeps ignoring her instruction and going solo like this then it could put not only him but also the team in danger. He says what is this crazy bitch talking about, telling her she's acting all scared because she is the team leader. He says if she thinks she will accomplish anything that way. Sian gets angry asking what did he just said. Kim Joo-hun asks if it isn't because someone like her is the team leader that the team isn't progressing at all. He tells her scared hunters earn more money and fame asking if she understood that. He says he can't believe that someone like this is leading the team as it is the end of the world when he starts laughing. June gets angry at him thinking of him as an irritating pig. He thinks when can he deal with this guy. After that a guy welcomes them telling them he is Duke Duas, Lord of the Cursed Land. Sian thanks the guy for his hospitality when Kim Joo-hun calls him an old man telling him to stop yapping and get to the point. Duke says very well as he didn't intend to keep them in this cursed place for long. He tells them this castle was once a place where great evil was sealed for a long time ago. It was a cursed land and never suitable for human settlement but his ancestors found a holy artifact that cooled down the evil energy and purified this land through consecration. Taejun says it seems that someone has stolen the artifact when Duke agrees saying if the artifact could be consecrated again then at least the land might be restored to its former state. If so life might someday return to this domain. All of them agrees when Duke says the evil tried to break the artifact into pieces and carry them away in all the directions. That's all he can tell them when Kim Joo-hun says an artifact search quest is it's easier than he expected. No says it's surprisingly easy for a level 2 quest. There's no real boss monster in the artifact search quest. Yoon tells him exactly as sometimes the monsters guarding the artifact are a bit stronger but that's about it. Sian says there are 4 artifacts in total. According to that NPC they should be hidden in the north, south, east and west. Just then Kim Joo-hun asks why is she even thinking about it. He tells them to just split into pairs and search in each directions. Sian tells him to clear it safely it's better if they all go together but if he keeps acting like this. Just then Taejun cuts off telling him that's a good idea so they should do that. Sian in anger calls Taejun when he tells her he would like to team up with Hunter Kim Joo-hun if that's alright with everyone. Sian agrees telling them the team that finds an artifact first will gather in the south and they will conquer it together. She tells everyone to stay safe as they should go. Taejun tells Joo-hun it is an honor to team up with him as he looks forward to working with him. Kim Joo-hun asks when did he become his sir when Taejun tells him he was truly inspired by what he told Hunter Lee Sian earlier. Skilled hunters deserves more money and fame. That's a simple and basic rule of the world. He decided to follow a great example like him who holds both. Taejun tells him he has decided to follow him for life when Kim Joo-hun gets happy saying this guy has got the right mindset asking what is his name again. Taejun introduces himself when Kim Joo-hun tells him he will help him out so just stick with him as Taejun agrees. They move forward when Taejun says things seem tense here. Taejun says if he may ask if he thought about inquiring about the artifact in this place. Kim Joo-hun laughs telling him if he can't see it. He bet tens of monsters are looking around here trying desperately not to lose the artifact. He says if they come out then he will just give them 1-2 punch. Taejun asks if he may ask one more favor. Kim Joo-hun asks a favor saying what is it when Taejun tells him as a newbie he's worried that he will just get in his way. Would it be alright if he let him handle just this small area alone? Kim Joo-hun laughs telling him he guess so. He tells him he should go ahead as he will leave that area to him telling him to hunt without worry. Taejun thanks him saying he will do his best when Kim Joo-hun asks why aren't they coming out yet. He tells the monsters to stop hiding and come out already. On the other hand Taejun defeats the monsters saying he will take them down immediately. After defeating the monsters Taejun gets a high-grade magic stone when he thanks Kim Joo-hun. Joo-hun tells him he is a lucky guy asking if he got it all in one shot. Kim Joo-hun says he needs some loot too so why aren't the monsters showing up. 3 monsters appear when Taejun attacks them again killing them saying he will take them down in an instant. Kim Joo-hun looks at him in surprise when Taejun tells him the monsters keep coming so he shouldn't worry as he will handle them all. Kim Joo-hun thinks why are all the monsters only appearing over there. Kim Joo-hun then thinks if it could be that he knew it all along that the monsters are there. He then says there's no way as he has to think that far ahead. He then sighs saying he didn't want to use this trick when he shouts telling the monsters to stop hiding and come at him all at once. Taejun thinks here it is. Taemin's area-wide taunt skill. Sian asks Hunter Kim Joo-hoon's skill is that he is a physical fighter, so it's nothing special. Sian then tells him Hunter Kim Joo-hoon has an area-wide taunt skill. Taejoon asks the taunt skill when she asks why is he suddenly interested in Hunter Kim Joo-hoon's skill. Taejoon tells her nothing as it seemed like it might be a little useful. Taejoon thinks he used his taunt skill as soon as he pushed him a bit. He has no idea how many monsters are hiding there, as if their dumb pig would know anything about that. He thinks since he drew aggro he can do some mob hunting and profit big time. Suddenly monsters appears towards Kim Joo-hoon when he gets surprised to see them. Taejoon thinks he is dead meat when Kim Joo-hoon asks why are there so many. Kim Joo-hoon tells Taejoon to stop standing there and help him out here when Taejoon tells him that's his designated area. Taejoon tells him he isn't sure if it's okay for him to intrude on his area without permission. Kim Joo-hoon tells him to stop babbling and help him already when Taejoon tells him if he takes all of them down then he will have no complaints. Taejoon uses his skill, Phantom Step, Rising Dragon Strike when he punches the monsters killing them. Kim Joo-hoon thinks who's this guy as if he really is a B-rank hunter. He thinks where did they find someone like this? Taejoon says finally he took care of all of them telling him there were so many monsters hidden here but he is glad he got so many magic stones out of it. Kim Joo-hoon stays silent when Taejoon tells him it's all thanks to his taunt skill that he will follow him for life. Kim Joo-hoon tells him now that they found the artifact shall they head back. He says staying here won't do them any rewards. Taejoon asks what is he talking about. They should help the others and gather more magic stones. Taejoon tells him to keep using his taunt skill from now on as he giggles menacingly.
The protagonist of the story, Slad Macy, had finally woken up after getting kicked out of the hero's party last night. Originally, an old friend of Slad insisted that he join the hero party. After being told by his friend that his very presence was already enough and that he also needed to keep his skills a secret, Slad believed his friend. However, that changed after he got kicked out. Slad now faces the same problem as everyone, and that is money. Slad didn't have any money for him to use to go home nor to buy food. Left with no other options, Slad decided to look for work. Slad returned to the Adventurers Guild and felt nostalgic upon seeing the building. Seeing an old woman accidentally dropping her groceries, Slad noticed that the woman felt pain in her back. After touching the woman's back and helping her pick up the items, the woman thanked Slad and was surprised when she felt that her pain had subsided, and even felt her body much lighter. To help the woman, Slad used his skill Fully Automated Buff, a skill that Slad unconsciously activated upon touching the woman. The woman's physical abilities have temporarily improved, and the muscles that support her body compensate for the weak bones. Slad's skill is fully automatic and could not be controlled at will. However, as the bearer of such a skill, Slad learned that his skill usually activates when he finds people he wants to help. Reminded of his previous party, Slad snapped back to reality and thought that his skills are not that great and that without him, the hero party would be fine. Although Slad cannot use the Fully Automated Buff at will, he is still glad that he could use his skill to help others in need. After helping the woman, Slad was asked if he wanted tea and sweets, which he happily accepted. Returning to the Adventurers Guild, Slad was welcomed by the concierge asking him if it was his first time. Slad explained that he was once an adventurer and was planning to return. After informing Slad that he needed a form of return, the concierge then asked if he had brought his adventurer's badge. Since Slad did not bring anything, he was asked by the concierge to fill out the form so that the guild could check his information. Slad was amazed as he had just learned that magic ink could now help prove one's identity. After being told to take a seat, Slad suddenly heard a commotion. An elf was mad at another adventurer for touching her. Slad learned before that elves don't like the smell of alcohol, which is why they avoid going to bar-type guilds. Noticing the elf's clothing, Slad was shocked as the elf was pretty much naked. Looking at the accused adventurer, Slad assessed that the man is a veteran adventurer. Slad was certain that the elf was naive and fresh out of her homeland. With the fight about to escalate, Slad tries to get in between and calms the situation. The elf becomes annoyed at Slad for interfering with other people. All of a sudden, the man admitted to touching the elf, explaining it as him giving a warm welcome to the guild. With the situation getting out of hand, Slad once again tries to calm the two down and points out to the two the consequences of their continuing to cause trouble. After being lectured by Slad, the veteran becomes serious and lets out an intense pressure, which the young elf immediately feels. Assuming that Slad is a rookie based on his outfit, the man grabbed a drink and splashed it on Slad. After being told by the veteran to go outside, Slad once again tries to de-escalate the situation, but is still obliged to the veteran's request. Sensing that Slad would be put in danger because of her actions, the elf admits to her mistake and dissuades Slad from going with the veteran. However, the veteran stated that the problem no longer involves the elf. Now on the main street, the veteran was very eager to expose Slad's face to the gallery as a trophy. While Slad and the veteran continued their fight outside, the elf became worried for Slad's well-being as she learned that the veteran is known as the Bear Slayer, Ganza, known to be the only B-rank adventurer in the guild. The concierge finished scanning Slad's information and was about to speak when she noticed that Slad was gone. When the elf explained the situation, the concierge was shocked and thought that the situation was really bad. The concierge immediately went outside to stop the fight as she mentions that Ganza is in danger. The elf was left puzzled, confused as to why Ganza was the one who was in danger. In Ganza's flurry of barrage, not one landed on Slad. Praising Slad's speed, Ganza wonders if Slad is truly a rookie. With Ganza's attack being blocked, Slad responded that he is not a rookie, and that Ganza's attacks are just slow for him. After creating a space between the two of them, Ganza bent a knee as he could not believe that he had run out of breath from fighting a young man. The observers then started talking about how Ganza is messing around. Slad advises Ganza to stop already, as he had no plans on crushing a promising adventurer. However, Ganza took Slad's advice as mockery and planned to throw another attack. However, Ganza was shocked when he saw his hand losing strength. Confused, Ganza asked what Slad did. Slad defended himself, explaining that he did not do anything and that his skills just automatically decided that Ganza is an enemy, which led to the fully automated debuff activating. Since Slad's skill is something no one has ever heard of, Slad shares that his skill is unique and explains how it works. Confused, Ganza asks Slad why he would reveal his skill to someone like him. Knowing that unique skills are dangerous, Slad tells Ganza that he wishes for the Bear Slayer to live and pleads that he surrender. Ganza did not want to accept surrender, but after being told by Slad the result if he continued the fight, Ganza became frightened, but it was still not enough for him to surrender. After telling Slad that he will not surrender, Ganza immediately tasted the consequences of his choice. Ganza was confused as to why his armor suddenly got heavier. Slad reminded Ganza of his question earlier, if his armor was too heavy. Slad told Ganza that the rate of muscle loss is much higher than he expected, and if Ganza continues, then it would be dangerous for him. Ganza's pride still would not allow him to surrender to a rookie, although Slad himself pleaded that Ganza surrender. Ganza's ego was proving to be too great and could not accept the decision of surrendering. When the concierge finally arrived and mentioned that Slad is a triple S ranked adventurer, and that the guildmaster wishes to speak with Slad, Ganza immediately had a change of heart which resulted in him sparing his own life. Slad was also relieved that his skill did not kill anyone. Out of nowhere, the elf suddenly jumped at Slad with joy that he is fine. The elf had thought that Slad would get hurt because of her. After introducing herself as Ethica to Slad, Slad then apologized for making Ethica worry. The people who heard the concierge immediately spread the news of a triple S ranked adventurer in town. The guildmaster showed up along with his staff members and apologized to Slad for the trouble that was caused by Ganza. After the incident, Slad and the guildmaster moved to a more private room and continued their conversation. After informing the guildmaster that he had already quit and considers himself a former adventurer, the guildmaster still thought that Slad is just being humble. Though Slad's abilities do not give him any help, it does support his allies and weakens enemies. When the guildmaster asked for the reason of Slad's visit in the guild house, Slad thought that he had told the guildmaster before and mentioned that he is running low on cash. The guildmaster thought that Slad was just joking, as he thought that once an adventurer reaches the rank of triple S, they would have enough wealth and status at their disposal. However, seeing how Slad is being serious, the guildmaster informed Slad that with his current rank, dining and lodging at guild establishments would be free of charge. The news came as a shock to Slad, and he was very happy when he saw the wonderful place he could stay in. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to Slad, Ethica had been following him. On the other hand, the hero party was in disarray as some members of the party had only learned of Slad's departure from the team. Members of the hero party were in chaos as they never expected Slad to leave the party. Saint Dezia stated that she would not be satisfied until she hit Slad right in the face for abandoning his responsibilities. Rameri thought differently, as she was certain that Slad was not the type of person who would abandon anyone. Rameri owed a debt to Slad as he was the only one who taught her the common language from scratch, despite her being a half-demon. While the two ladies of the hero party were running around trying to ease the anger in their hearts, Ares, the hero of the party, silently observed them from a window. Meanwhile, Slad was at the antique store and was very pleased when he found an interesting book. Excited just thinking about the characters in the book, Slad got into an accident when Ethica landed on him after falling from the ladder. An hour before the incident, Slad had visited the Adventurers Guild and requested a pick ice slime as a reward for his a job. The Guildmaster was in shock and told Slad that he could just purchase an ice slime candy with his own money. The Guildmaster proposed a job for Slad, where he would have to defeat the Elzar dragon in the western country. However, Slad refused the request, believing that it was too much for him. As the two continued pushing a bunch of requests at each other, the concierge became frightened as their actions were now burning the table. Ethica then approached Slad, suggesting that they try a job she had found. She explained to Slad that there weren't many jobs available for her rank and hoped that Slad would help her out. Overhearing the conversation, the Guildmaster acted differently and suggested that Slad help Ethica and guide her to become a successful adventurer. Slad already felt exhausted, as he had been forced to accept a job he had no interest in because he didn't have any money. Back in the present, after landing on Slad, Ethica mentioned that she had found the dagger Slad had been looking for. When the manager of the antique shop returned, both Slad and Ethica received an earful, as they had ended up trashing the shop when they were only tasked with watching over the place. At the Adventurers Guild, the concierge asked the Guildmaster if the quest Slad took was just to get rid of goblins. The Guildmaster confirmed that the task was indeed a goblin hunting quest. However, the Guildmaster's concern was that two parties had already accepted the same quest yesterday and had not yet returned. Not returning right away was common for adventurers, which made the Guildmaster believe that the adventurers who took the quest may have taken a detour. In case his gut feeling was wrong, the Guildmaster concocted a plan to send a triple S ranked adventurer like Slad so that the quest would be a success. On their way to the location of the quest, Slad explains to Ethica the dangers of goblins, offering her various tips. Ethica remains concerned, as she had heard rumors about women being kidnapped by goblins. Slad, however, believes that the culprits are not goblins, but rather hobgoblins. As Slad shares more knowledge about the different types of goblins, he suddenly stops speaking, realizing that he got too excited and shared so much information that he ended up talking far too much. To Slad's surprise, Ethica was neither bored nor annoyed. Instead, she appeared genuinely intrigued by Slad's knowledge. Seeing Slad so animated, Ethica expressed her worry, feeling guilty for having forced him to team up with her. Slad had not expected such actions from Ethica, as he knows that elves are typically not very welcoming to strangers. After finding a goblin footprint, the two soon discovered the goblin's burrow. While Slad was thinking about ways to deal with the guards, Ethica suddenly remembered that she had not yet shared her skills with Slad. After chanting a prayer, Ethica was able to summon a wind spirit named Sylph. Upon learning that Ethica was a spirit user, Slad asked if she was a spirit priestess. When Ethica confirmed that she was indeed a spirit priestess, Slad became excited, as he finally understood that Ethica's unique skill provided a reasonable explanation for her choice of clothing. Ethica, however, became angry upon realizing that Slad had been staring at her body the entire time. Sylph then asked Ethica if she intended to borrow her powers and kill a goblin from their current location. Though Ethica was surprised by the size of Sylph, she confirmed that she would indeed borrow the powers. Drawing her bow, Ethica felt a twinge of concern as she had never done archery before. Slad encouraged her, and with his fully automated buff, Ethica's arrow became significantly more powerful, which took her by surprise. While they were having a pleasant conversation, Slad noticed a goblin drawing its bow right at Ethica. Without wasting a second, Slad grabbed a sword and drove it into the goblin's throat. Ethica was shocked, initially thinking she had missed a blind spot. However, Slad was certain that Ethica had not missed the target, and believed that there was something else they were overlooking. Ethica was even more shocked when Slad suddenly began gutting the goblin's corpse. Slad explained that he was collecting the reward parts and advised Ethica to observe him, as what he was doing was also essential for becoming an adventurer. Slad then told Ethica the harsh reality of being an adventurer. It is a profession driven by self-interest, for money, fame, curiosity, and survival at all costs. Knowing that Ethica was too kind-hearted, he warned that her subconscious sympathy for monsters could cause her arrows to stray from their mortal path. Slad acknowledged that he didn't possess any specific skills to teach Ethica, aside from imparting knowledge on how to survive as an adventurer. He then handed her the dagger, suggesting that she start thinking like a true adventurer. Though Slad's words were harsh, they carried meaning, offering Ethica the choice to either continue as an adventurer or return to her hometown. Out of nowhere, a huge hobgoblin appeared and was headed straight toward them. Not expecting a hobgoblin to appear, Slad became worried for their safety, as his skill would not activate unless the hobgoblin engaged them in battle. With the help of Sylph and Slad's skill, Ethica maneuvered her way to the top and instantly killed the hobgoblin. Before ending the hobgoblin's life, Ethica warned the monster not to touch her family, which Slad also heard and found shocking. Ethica felt embarrassed by her own words and told Slad not to misunderstand her. She explained that ever since Slad had risked his life to save hers, they had become family. Ethica then asked Slad if it made her a bad adventurer if she prioritized protecting the people she truly cared about. Listening to Ethica, Slad was reminded of his past, when he had been told many things about elves. Seeing Ethica pray over the hobgoblin's corpse, Slad wanted to voice his concerns, but when Ethica mentioned that the goblin ears she had cut off were important for making potent medicines, Slad smiled, thinking that he may have misjudged her. Stretching out his hand, Slad told Ethica that he looked forward to their continued teamwork. Meanwhile, Ares was shocked when a member of his party informed him that she would be leaving. Ares told his teammate that she was abandoning her role in saving the world. As Ares tried to grab his party member, he was shocked to find that she was already behind him and asked if he was threatening her. The girl told Ares that unlike the other two members of the hero party, she didn't care about the fate of the world. She revealed that she had only joined the hero party because she assumed it would give her a greater chance of getting more treasure from dungeons. Since the girl was no longer satisfied with their current earnings, she told Ares that the person he called baggage carrier used to make their job easier. Realizing that the girl was referring to Slad, Ares couldn't contain his emotions and swung his fist at her. Fortunately, the girl dodged and advised Ares to stop, saying she didn't want to rebel against the hero. The two parted ways, with Ares cursing his former teammate as she left. Following her path, the girl thought about how Slad, just like her, was hated. Meanwhile, Slad and Ethica, now inside a dungeon, were being observed by someone through a crystal ball. Before the creation of the hero party, Ares first underwent his coming-of-age ceremony and had his skills appraised. Upon learning that he had the potential to be the hero, Ares believed that he was the only one capable of defeating the Demon King. In reality, Ares didn't care about the world. He only enjoyed seeing everyone bow down to him. In his pursuit of the Demon King, Ares asked the king for a condition that would allow him to create a perfect all-female party, something Ares had always wanted. However, Ares' fantasy was ruined when the king allowed Slad to join the hero party, assuring Ares that Slad would be useful. Ares, who only dreamed of sharing his own genes with his female party members, was annoyed by Slad, who kept getting in his way. Ares thought that by removing this obstacle, his fantasy would finally come true. However, everything came crashing down when all his party members started to reject him, and some even left the party. Frustrated, Ares planned to do something heinous to the remaining party members before they could decide to leave him. Meanwhile, Ethica was starting to get bored as all they saw were just rocks and dirt, which made her wonder how far the cave stretched. Ethica asked Slad if she should put out the torch to avoid being noticed by the goblins. Although Slad was fine with the idea, he worried that Ethica wouldn't be able to see anything. Ethica reassured him that she would be fine as her eyes would adjust. Slad could only rely on Ethica's elven night vision to keep an eye out from behind. Ethica became energized as she realized that Slad was now relying on her. As they made their way down the rocky path, Ethica asked why he was being so cautious. She assumed that they had already defeated the Goblin King. Slad thought it was rare to find such a huge hobgoblin, and he agreed with Ethica that the monster could be the Goblin King. However, Slad was still bothered by how the hobgoblin was acting so erratically, as it hadn't even noticed them at first. Slad thought the hobgoblin looked like it was running away from something. When Ethica and Slad encountered a trap, Ethica laughed and said that no one would get caught in such an obvious trap. Before Slad could warn her, it was already too late. Ethica was caught in the trap she had mocked. Fortunately for Ethica, Slad was able to grab her hand and save her from falling into the pit. Looking down at the dark pit, Ethica was impressed and thought that the goblins were pretty clever. Since the goblins had set such a clever trap, Slad suspected that there might be a shaman involved. Shamans could use curses and dark magic based on hate and resentment. Slad wanted to investigate the trap, but he was concerned for Ethica's safety. Staring at Ethica, Slad remembered that she could summon spirits and asked her to summon an earth spirit. Ethica was confused, telling Slad that summoning a small spirit would not be helpful, as it wouldn't have much strength. After summoning the gnome, Slad cheered Ethica on, believing that she would be fine with the gnome beside her. As the two initiated their plan, they were then met with a horde of goblins. Seeing how the goblins were avoiding the traps, Slad was able to confirm that the goblins knew exactly where the pitfall was. Although the goblins managed to avoid the traps they had set, they were unable to get past Slad and Ethica's trap. Using her arrows, Ethica easily eradicated the goblins that were after them. Slad took advantage of the goblins' intelligence, asking Ethica to summon the gnome and have it expand the existing hole under the sound trap. Slad's plan worked perfectly, as the goblins fell into the trap after assuming they were safe. Ethica and the gnome ventured into the goblins' lair and were disappointed to find no treasures. Pointing at the four connected paths in front of them, Slad told Ethica that the location they were in was a place where goblins commonly passed through. Ethica suggested having the gnome inspect the paths first, but Slad wanted the gnome to always be with them and fight on the front lines. Following Slad's plan, Ethica Ethica thought about summoning a bigger spirit, believing it would be a big help in fighting the goblins. Before Slad could stop Ethica, it was already too late, as Ethica had summoned a huge earth spirit. With the massive gnome blocking the path, they could no longer proceed until the cooldown was over. Slad had already expected a huge gnome to appear because of his fully automated buff skill. Slad's skill enhances the abilities of his teammates without them knowing, which was also why he had asked for the smallest gnome to be summoned, as there was a possibility that a much larger gnome would appear if they summoned one of the normal size. Seeing the huge gnome, the goblins immediately ran away. Slad guessed that the room ahead of them was the boss room and assumed there would be an ambush. After sharing his plan with Ethica and learning that Ethica had the ability to manipulate Earth as well, Slad became excited. Looking at his hand, Slad wondered when it was that he stopped finding adventures fun. When Slad was in the hero party, he was always yelled at. Even after retiring, people only sought him out for his skills. Seeing Slad zoning out, Ethica asked if something was wrong. Regaining his senses, Slad then realized that he was now living the life of a fun adventure. Walking through a path with skulls on the walls, Slad was certain they would soon find the shaman. Ethica stopped when she noticed that one of the skulls was human. Something exploded behind them, and they were shocked to see a defeated hobgoblin. Seeing the damage done to the hobgoblin, Slad knew that the firepower spell was too strong for a shaman. Running toward the boss room, Slad was shocked to confirm that they were not facing a shaman, but also worried as they were now facing a rare species of monster called a goblin hag. Goblins are a small species of monster that live in groups. Higher ranks of goblins are divided into two categories. The first is the hobgoblin, who specializes in physical attacks, and the second is the shaman, who derives its magical power from grudges. In rare cases, a female goblin may have the same mutation as a shaman, but ends up becoming a rare monster species called a goblin hag. Knowing that a shaman's grudge is nothing compared to that of a goblin hag, Slad thought that the hobgoblins might have tried to escape from the goblin hag. Realizing that the monster was far beyond their abilities, Slad suggested that they leave quickly and call for backup. To Slad's surprise, Ethica pointed out the missing adventurers who had now been captured. Since the paths they took earlier were littered with human bones, Ethica was certain that the humans the goblins captured were being used for some kind of ritual. Slad could not decide what his next move should be, as he wanted to help the captured adventurers but also didn't want to put Ethica in danger. Memories of his past rushed through Slad's mind, where it had been ingrained in him that he was useless and a burden to everyone. However, in their current situation, Slad assessed that the only person who could save the prisoners and protect Ethica was himself. Slad finally made a decision and took immediate action, running through sharp rocks. He advised Ethica not to engage in a fight with the goblin hag and to only keep watch on it while targeting the other monsters. When Slad got close to a hobgoblin, he was saved by the large gnome that Ethica had summoned. With Ethica's arrow, Slad was able to move much faster and close in on his target. Seeing the goblin hag casting a wide-range magic spell, Slad grabbed a stone and used his taunt skill to divert the goblin hag's attention away from Ethica. With Slad now the goblin hag's target, Ethica screamed, telling him to run away. However, grabbing the goblin hag's attention was all part of Slad's plan, as he was able to activate his fully automated debuff. With his unique skill activated, the goblin hag's attack was shattered in an instant. Slad's confidence rose as he slowly weakened the goblin hag. Enraged, the goblin hag resorted to a different method of attack, drawing her poison claws. However, Slad was not phased at all and even thought that the goblin hag was too slow. As the two clashed, Slad was able to grab the goblin hag's hand, bruising it with just his grip. Feeling the pain, the goblin hag swung her staff at Slad. However, the attack only gave Slad an opening for a counter and he did not miss his chance. With one slash from his dagger, Slad defeated the goblin hag. Confused by what she was witnessing, Ethica asked Slad what was happening. Since Ethica already knew Slad's true rank, he believed that lying would not help. Slad explained to Ethica that his fully automated debuff was weakening the goblin hag, which resulted in the monster no longer having the strength to even stand on her own. With Slad's unique skill accelerating the target's aging by the second, the goblin hag's bones crumbled to dust just from his grip. Slad's unique skill only vanishes when the hostility towards him is gone. Unfortunately for the goblin hag, who has lived an eternity of hatred, the concept of forgiving might not exist. Thinking that the goblin hag was now facing a terrible fate, Ethica suggests that Slad end things quickly for the rare monster. However, ending the goblin hag's life was not an option. Slad explains to Ethica that the goblin hag has a death curse. Once a goblin hag is killed, its killer would then receive a death curse. Ethica cries for the goblin hag as she thought that living only by hating and cursing others was such a tragic existence. Seeing Ethica cry for the monster, Slad couldn't help but also sympathize and hope that the goblin hag would find happiness in its next life. After the fight, both Slad and Ethica then saved the captured adventurers, even receiving praise for their skills. Upon seeing the exit, Ethica took a step out and was surprised to once again see the beauty of the outside world. Slad congratulates Ethica on clearing her first adventure. Slad asks Ethica if she still remembers what she had said before entering the cave, and that was her deepest desire to protect her loved ones. Slad suggests to Ethica that they celebrate her valiant action by protecting the adventurers that she barely knows. After receiving praise and being cheered by the adventurers, Ethica once again thanks Slad for everything he has done for her, and expressed how glad she is that her first adventure was with Slad. Ethica was certain that if her party member wasn't Slad, she would have given up already. Bowing in front of Slad, Ethica requests that Slad remain in her party. After Slad accepted the offer, Ethica became excited and even boasted about her skills in her archery. Feeling guilty, Slad tells Ethica about his unique skill, which is also the reason why her skills improved. Later that night, Ethica drank so much that she felt embarrassed after boasting about her skills before learning that Slad's unique skill was the reason her skills improved. As Slad tries to console and encourage Ethica, she suddenly mentions that she will be staying at Slad's place for the night. Arriving at Slad's inn, Ethica couldn't help but be amazed when she saw the huge bath. With Ethica removing her clothes in front of him, Slad turned away and thought that Ethica just wanted to hang out with him. Looking at the view of the night sky from the balcony, Slad was surprised by Ethica's sudden appearance, not expecting her to have finished bathing already. Impressed with Slad's room, Ethica jumps onto Slad's bed and enjoys how comfortable it was. When Ethica mentions how she wanted some snacks, Slad ran and got some snacks for Ethica, but was surprised when he saw that Ethica was already asleep. Covering Ethica with a blanket, Slad heard his friend say that she had fun. Putting the snacks on the table, Slad grabbed and ate one, and thought about when was the last time he found adventuring fun. Slad never experienced the fun side of adventure from his former teammates, and hoped that with Ethica, he could experience it. Seeing that Ethica was on his bed, Slad wonders where he would sleep. With Ethica asleep, Slad thought that Ethica's mind was different from what she looked like. Slad found a special rank booklet which happened to be a free pass to the Night District. Lying on the bed, Slad didn't expect such a system to exist in the new continent. After being intimate together, the elf escort imparts some knowledge to Slad, that for elves, calling someone from another race family meant a marriage proposal. The news shocked Slad, as what he learned from the books was that elves call people they accept as family. The woman points out that elven women have their standards very high, and being called family meant that the elf has acknowledged the person to be her mate. After learning about Slad, the escort is not surprised if the elf falls in love with Slad and even mentions how she does not mind being Slad's second wife. Embarrassed, Slad pushes the escort away, telling her that redemption was impossible for her. Returning to the topic, the escort believes that Ethica may only have spirits as friends back in the forest. For elves, their body type is considered by the majority as chubby, while the other women are often jealous of their spirit-wielding abilities. The escort, Meaty, was asked by Slad if she too is a spirit user, and if she was once an adventurer. Meaty gleefully answered that she reached C rank back in the day. Seeing Slad's bland reaction, Meaty suddenly leans on Slad and informs him that if Ethica were to suddenly kiss him on the ear, it meant that Ethica has given Slad her permission. Meaty only asks for Slad to take care of Ethica, whatever his decision may be. After spending some time with Meaty, Slad returns home and sees Ethica enjoying her meal. Slad was surprised as the food was immediately served as soon as he sat down. Staring at Ethica, Slad couldn't help but overthink things and did not want to act rashly around Ethica. Eating his food, Slad thought that he couldn't ask Ethica directly, as the misunderstanding may turn out to be true, which could lead to his death. Back at the guild, news spread that Slad was able to defeat a goblin hag, and even surprised the receptionist. Facing a goblin hag would usually wipe out a whole party, which impresses her even more that Ethica and Slad survived and won. When Ethica mentions that Slad knew about the goblin hag's weakness, Slad explains that he just happened to read the goblin hag's weakness from a book. Being praised for his rank, Slad asks if having a triple S rank really is amazing. The receptionist was confused and asks Slad if his question is serious. The receptionist starts to explain the system ranks and how they are assigned to adventurers. For one to become an S rank adventurer, they must have multiple enhanced aptitudes. For one to reach a double S rank, they must have a unique skill and have gained an achievement similar to saving a country. For triple S rank, the rank is reserved for people who have saved the world. With Slad's skill activating on its own, he thought that becoming a triple S rank without realizing it was possible. The receptionist hands Slad a paper and asks him to sign it. When Slad asks what the paper is and if it is a reward, he is shocked when the receptionist mentions that it is a marriage certificate and suddenly proposes to Slad. Feeling desperate, the receptionist did not mind that Slad would entertain others. others. Ethica had enough and protected Slad. Ethica's action sparked a feud between her and the receptionist. receptionist. When the receptionist realized something and thought that Ethica already had first dibs, Ethica responded that she did not care about rank, money, or anything similar. Ethica did not care if Slad would choose for himself, as she only detests people who wish to use Slad for his status and wealth. With the tension calming down, the receptionist explains that if she doesn't take her chance, she will never get another one. Annoyed, Ethica leaves and informs Slad that she will wait by the entrance. With Ethica now mad at both Slad and the receptionist asks Slad how he feels about Ethica. Outside, Slad thanks Ethica for mentioning that rank doesn't matter. With the receptionist's sudden proposal not being normal, Ethica finds relief from the thought that there won't be others. Ethica stops as she did not expect Slad to propose to her. Embarrassed, Slad asks Ethica to forget what he said. After explaining himself, Ethica becomes embarrassed upon learning that Slad knew the meaning of her words. Though Ethica is grateful for everything he has done for her, she believes that Slad does not have any reason to marry her. With Slad getting confused, Ethica informs him that he can only express his intentions of marrying if he genuinely likes her. After informing Slad that rushing into marriage was crazy, Ethica becomes more embarrassed. Slad laughs as he found Ethica adorable, acting all shy. Grabbing Ethica's wrist, Slad suggests that they go buy some gear since they finally received their reward. While the two were busy shopping, Slad still thought of becoming a family with Ethica. Slad tells himself that he needed to figure things out one step at a time. Slad was informed that a bandit had visited him. When Slad reached the lobby, he was surprised to see Seicha. When Slad asks about Seicha's visit, Seicha responds that she has 3 things to discuss with him. Seicha informs Slad that the hero's party will soon be wiped out and the world will come to an end. The hero party was facing a monster so powerful that they couldn't finish it off in one hit. Disha expresses how scared she was when she saw the monster getting past the rear guard and charging towards her. The hero becomes annoyed as he feels like Disha is implying he got taken over. Harry mentions that Slad would usually inform her of the monster's characteristics and its weakness. Both Disha and Rameri felt hopeless as they could not find Slad throughout the city. What also concerns Disha is the party's fighting power decreasing after Seicha left. Disha starts to notice that their leader has not yet searched for or recruited for new members. With the party moving forward, they were surprised when a wyvern suddenly appeared. Back at Slad's home, he asked Seicha what she meant by the hero party getting wiped out. Seicha pointed out the obvious and told Slad that his leaving was the reason. After checking everyone's condition every morning, Seicha also started noticing that she was able to successfully open locks and disarm traps after Slad joined the party. Getting more curious, Seicha starts doing some research and finds out that it was all because of Slad. For Seicha's second report, she informs Slad that she has left the hero party. Though Seicha felt bad for leaving the 2 girls in the party, she still decides on the party where she knows she will win. From Slad's understanding, the hero party wouldn't be easily wiped out if it was only him who left. With Seicha leaving as well, Slad believes that Ares will try to fill their party with guild members. Knowing the type of person Ares is, Seicha bets 500 gold that Ares will leave the city without finding a new member. Slad informs Seicha that without her in the party, Ares will be the only one that is left in the vanguard spot. Though it is possible that Seicha would be replaced, she knows that it will be difficult since the town has no A ranks and only men. With Slad easily agreeing, Seicha becomes annoyed and explains to him that his attitude is the very reason why people take advantage of him. Seicha informs Slad that she actually won the bet and revealed that Ares had already left town by himself. Slad starts to worry as the hero party lacks the proper members to support each other and may end up getting wiped out. After the 2 argue about the bet, Seicha informs Slad that she is willing to forgive him if Slad listens to her third story. Eating a delicious steak, Seicha announces that she will be the newest member of Slad's party and shares with Ethica that both she and Slad were once members of the hero party. Ethica broke down as it was her first time learning that Slad was a member of the hero party. With Seicha joining their party, Slad felt more relieved to have an expert in the bandit profession. Though Slad is a triple S ranked adventurer and also a member of the hero's party, Ethica still finds it hard to believe that Slad is a strong adventurer based on how he looks. Since the hero party is in danger, Seicha guides the 2 as they plan to follow the hero party and save them. Seicha teases Slad for being too kind for helping out the person who kicked him out of the party. Listening to Slad and Seicha's conversation, Ethica imagines that the hero is someone who does crazy things. From Slad's point of view, Ares is someone who can be mischievous sometimes. Seicha laughs as she mentions that Ares is an outrage. Though Ares is allowed to use the holy sword because of his status, rumors spread that it is Ares who's being used by the sword. Seicha is certain that Ares is still alive and is not surprised if Ares would use Disha and Rameri as decoys. After hearing how terrible the hero is, Ethica is still willing to lend a hand to the other members of the party. Slad could tell that Seicha is pretending to be upset and wonders what the reason is that he was told about the hero party's situation at a crucial time. Noticing something ahead, Seicha instructs Ethica to have Sylph stop the wind. Thinking that Seicha may have found something, the 3 approached a familiar piece of clothing and were shocked when they recognized it as Rameri's hat. Seicha starts to get nervous, believing that her predictions are becoming true. Since the owner of the item is not around, Seicha assumes that Rameri is safe. However, knowing her former party members, Slad was certain that Rameri would never leave the hat, which was left by her mother. After scouting around the area, Seicha reports to Slad that Ares and the others did not pass through their location and that there are also no corpses or footprints. From Seicha's report, Slad believes that there was a battle going on in the distance and the hat was blown off. As both Seicha and Slad walk together, Ethica becomes alarmed and asks why the 2 are acting so calm. Slad informs Ethica that their former teammates may have already been killed. Slad explains to Ethica that they are acting in such a way because they understand what their roles are. Seicha gives Ethica a piece of advice, that if she continues being an adventurer, she will soon understand the meaning behind their behavior. After Seicha found the clue, Slad then found a good spot to watch from. Ethica approaches Slad, apologizing for her behavior. Slad shared that he too was also stressed out but was able to calm down after receiving advice from Seicha. Ethica informs Slad of what she heard Seicha whisper after finding Rameri's hat. Ethica clarifies that she is not suspicious of Seicha but was still worried after seeing Seicha's cold reaction. Slad tells Ethica that Seicha is a good person. Regardless of Seicha's profession, Slad knows that Seicha would sneak the money she earns into the pockets of the sick and injured. Though Seicha sports a cold expression, Slad points out that Seicha's expression is not directed at anyone and will decide what he will believe once Seicha shares her story. Getting embarrassed after listening to Slad, appears and informs the 2 that she has found the trail. In front of the trail that Seicha found, Seicha assessed that Rameri is safe since there was no sign of Rameri being buried around the area. Slad finds it hard to imagine that Rameri would not have a proper burial when she is with a saint. The only theory that makes sense for Slad is that Rameri was unconscious. Even after seeing a small amount of blood, Seicha was not worried. Knowing that Rameri knows a healing spell, pointing to a deep footprint, Seicha was certain that it was from Disha's unique skill, a skill that allows one-shot kills. 50 years ago, the demon king Ushamgal appeared and created a sanctuary for all monsters. Ushamgal's reign over the demon king caused monsters to go berserk and wage wars on the species above ground. Ushamgal also enveloped the world in miasma and cast a certain curse, one that transforms dead corpses into the undead. If any corpse is left unattended, there is a risk of it becoming an undead. A priest would then be dispatched to bestow mourning rites. In the hero party's case, the saintess would have been the one leading the rites. However, traces of Karen are nowhere in sight, which meant for Slad and the others that Rameri is still alive. Another clue that Seicha found were the tracks left on the ground, resembling Disha's one-shot skill. Seicha explains to Ethica that Disha's one-shot skill allows her to hit one of her opponent's weak spots with her bare hands and cause an instant fatality. Ethica cheers as she assumes that with such a powerful skill, Disha proves to be the strongest of the party. However, it is not the case, as Slad explains to Ethica that the saintess is part of the clergy class and not a fighter class, which meant that Disha had to stay in the rear guard. While the one-shot skill indeed proves to be a strong skill, Slad mentions that the saintess herself does not have any other fighting abilities, which meant that Disha wouldn't have the opportunity to hit the monster if she were all alone. Slad guesses that the party was backed into a corner, which left Disha no other choice than to use her one-shot skill. Slad asks the 2 to keep their conversation a secret from Disha, as the topic is considered a delicate subject, and even more so in Disha's case. Seeing that there are only 2 footprints left ahead, she believes that they are Disha's footprints while carrying Rameri on her back. Seicha suggests that they hurry so that they can catch up soon. Meanwhile, Ares, who's now all beaten up, did not expect that the monster they had fought before had become even stronger. With Ares puking all of a sudden, it tends to his care and cures the poison. Rameri uses a wind cutter to stop the monster that was charging toward them. Though the spell wind cutter is deemed as elementary magic, it is still very effective against flying enemies. Rameri assumed that her spell would be powerful enough to take the wyvern down. However, the wyvern did not fall and withstood Rameri's attack. Rameri realized that she had messed up the aggro control and ended up getting hit by the wyvern. Losing her hat, Rameri was swallowed by fear and asked for anyone to save her. Ares, who witnessed Rameri's situation, assumes that Rameri will be killed. Instead of saving Rameri, Ares remained hidden and even thought it was a waste that he didn't get the chance to be with Rameri. As Rameri was about to get eaten by the wyvern, she was fortunately saved by Disha, who activated her one-shot skill. Blowing the wyvern away, Disha sees Rameri crying and calling out for Slad. Disha understands Rameri's reaction as she is certain that Slad would protect Rameri like she did. Ares laughs as he mentions that Disha is more suited as a fighter. Deja asks Ares why he didn't protect Romeri. In Ares' defense, he believes that the only person who could have saved saved Rameri was none other than Deja. Deja informs Ares that he could have used a wind cutter and stopped the wyvern. With a plain reaction, Ares admits his fault and explains how he truly liked cutting down the monster with his sacred sword that he forgot a beginner spell like the wind cutter. When Ares mentions that he did not care if Rameri were to die or survive, Deja reached her limit and slapped Ares. Surprised, Ares asked for the reason why he was hit. Carrying Rameri on her back, Deja suggests that they move much quicker and take Rameri to a safe place. In Ares' mind, he has already decided that he will molest Deja and the injured Rameri. After having his way with them, Ares plans to feed the two to the monsters. Still pursuing the tracks, Ethica points to a house in the middle of the woods. Seicha was more surprised that Ethica found the house first before she did. Seeing two sets of footprints, Slad wonders what happened to the owners of the house. As the three were about to enter the mansion, Ethica expresses her worry about entering the mansion, stating that the spirits are too quiet. Acknowledging Ethica's worry, Slad orders Seicha to scout the entrance. Ethica was surprised and explained to Slad that it was only her feeling. However, Slad encourages Ethica to always trust her gut and suggests that she voice her concern if she feels something is wrong. Seicha returns and asks Ethica how she knew. Seicha reveals that the mansion itself is a monster. When Seicha asks Slad if he knew about the monster, Slad responds that he did not, but he did know that there are monsters that would pretend to be a building. One of the monster houses is called the Imitation House, a magical being that digests a person the moment they walk in. Camping out, Slad continues to explain to the two about the types of house monsters. After encountering two types of house monsters before, Slad believes that the house monster they found is the third, and a more unique one, called the Nightmare Fairy. After knocking on the door, Slad was surprised when he was suddenly teleported inside the house. Slad was then welcomed by a girl, whom Slad assumes to be the Nightmare Fairy. Before Slad entered the house monster, he informed Seicha about the monster, which frightens Seicha. It is said that there have only been 16 unique monsters recorded in existence. All of the unique monsters were said to have equal strength with the gods, and none of the species above ground could stand against them. Slad explains that the Nightmare Fairy is a monster from another world that appears in various forms. Depending on the region, it is a monster that is sometimes revered as a god. The house that Ethica spotted is not the Nightmare Fairy's main body, but a cloned projection of it. Seicha was worried as she had already touched the doorknob and could feel the house's heartbeat. Slad tries to calm her down, telling her that she will probably be fine. Slad explains that the Nightmare Fairy is the type of monster that does not harbor ill will, and should not possess any threats if the doorknob was touched. Seicha starts to calm, thinking that the Nightmare Fairy is a rather friendly monster. Slad points out to the two that the unique monster still does not align with their values, as one could only rely on their luck to be safely returned from the Nightmare Fairy's domain. The general rule that Slad knows is that a person who enters the mansion will never wake up again. Getting scared again, Seicha leaves first. Ethica reminds Seicha of her former teammate's situation. Seicha couldn't help but be afraid, stating that the Nightmare Fairy is pretty much another Demon King. Confused, Ethica asks why she mentioned the Demon King. Seicha reveals to Ethica that the Demon King, who has transformed the world into a slaughterhouse using its miasma, was actually the weakest of all the 16 unique monsters. Adding more to Seicha's worry, Slad informs the two that the Nightmare Fairy ranks at 8, and that the rankings are determined by their strength, which means that the Nightmare Fairy is around the middle of the rankings. Slad's information just made Seicha think that the Demon King is pretty much new compared to the Nightmare Fairy, with the possibility that their old teammates would be safely returned. Seicha suggests that they remain outside and wait for Rameri and Deja's return. Slad was not certain about his two old teammates. However, what he is certain about is that it will be impossible for Ares. Slad reveals that the common misconception about the Nightmare Fairy is that it will show the person a nightmare rather than dreams. In actuality, the Nightmare Fairy shows the person their own ideal and portrays it in the form of a dream. Stretching out his knees, Slad believes that they will be able to manage the problem. When Seicha asks Slad where he gets his confidence from, Slad reveals that in his old party, they successfully defeated a unique monster. The information surprised the two, screaming loudly. Slad explains that he just happened to be there and did not really contribute much. After defeating a unique monster, Slad became famous in the old continent. Listening to Slad's story, Ethica somehow could understand why Slad is a triple S ranked adventurer. Returning to the topic, Slad wanted to speak to the Nightmare Fairy and convince it to return everyone safely. Thinking that Slad's plan was crazy, Seicha immediately offered to stay behind and deal with the aftermath. Before Ethica could say anything, Slad informs her that she is not allowed to enter by any means. If Slad were to fail, he wishes for Ethica to inform the Empire that the hero has been trapped by the Nightmare Fairy. Ethica apologizes for not being useful when Slad needed help the most. Slad tells Ethica not to think like that, as he pointed out that they may have trapped themselves in their dreams without realizing it. Slad reminds Ethica of her role, which she must fulfill. After knocking at the front door, Slad was immediately teleported and saw the Nightmare Fairy right away. Circling above Slad, the Nightmare Fairy couldn't help but be amazed by Slad for not forgetting about himself or anything. Slad explains the reason to the Nightmare Fairy, which is that he had no intentions of being consumed by a dream. Regardless of Slad's thoughts, the Nightmare Fairy is still impressed at Slad for wishing to speak to her. Wanting for Slad to receive the best treatment possible, the Nightmare Fairy uses her magic and summons a long line of tables with an insane amount of delicious food. Slad enjoyed the Nightmare Fairy's extravagant music. When the Nightmare Fairy mentioned that Slad can eat as much as he wanted, Slad scratches his head as he mentions that he is just dreaming and eating the food may prove to be useless. The Nightmare Fairy felt offended, as she thought that Slad was belittling her dreams. The unique monster clarifies that whatever happens in the dream will affect the body in real life. Since Slad didn't dream to become immortal, then he would most likely die in any scenario. Believing the Nightmare Fairy, Slad immediately quenched his hunger by eating all the delicious food that was prepared. Enjoying all the food and beverages, Slad realized that he had not yet learned the way to escape the Nightmare Fairy's home. The Nightmare Fairy informed Slad that all he needed to do was to wake up, but the Nightmare Fairy does not see any reason for Slad to do such a thing. When Slad mentioned that he still has people waiting for him outside, the unique monster suddenly transformed into Ethica and asked Slad if he was referring to her. Slad was in shock as the Nightmare Fairy transformed into Ethica without wearing any clothes. Using her magic, the Nightmare Fairy tries to persuade Slad by obtaining whatever he wanted inside the dream. After getting close to Slad, the Nightmare Fairy suddenly went flying. She then mentioned that she felt so lonely and did not expect that she couldn't seduce Slad. The exhausted Slad was grateful that he used the adventurer's brothel before and also for Meaty's help. Since Slad did not want pleasure nor food, the Nightmare Fairy asks him what he wanted to talk to her about. When Slad mentioned that he came to wake the heroes up, the Nightmare Fairy responds that Slad cannot, as it is the decision of the heroes if they wish to wake up. Sensing that Slad is thinking of something absurd, the Nightmare Fairy decides to grant Slad's wish, but he will first have to say it aloud. Slad then requested for him to enter the hero's dreams. Teleporting to a dense forest, the Nightmare Fairy was surprised, as she did not expect that Slad would call her into another person's dream. Inside the dream, there's another house with experiments running at the back. In front of the house were two kids running and Ray standing. Outside the Nightmare Fairy's house, Ethica wonders why Slad is intentionally keeping his skill a secret from the hero's party. Seicha asks Ethica why the sudden thought, but Ethica responds that she had been curious ever since she heard about the hero's party. Ethica thought that Slad should know that if someone like him leaves a party, the party would surely face greater trouble. Ethica shared how she first did not feel the effects of Slad's buffs, and brushed it off as the spirits being in a really good condition. Seicha believes that it is the same problem with Slad's skills. It took Seicha a whole month to realize that she had been receiving buffs from Slad, as well as figuring out the debuffs effects. As for why Slad kept his skills a secret, Seicha believes that with a unique skill like Slad's, he would have to be wary of the people he associates with. With Slad revealing his skill in front of everyone in order to protect Ethica, Seicha guesses that Slad's priority is not hiding his skill. The topic becomes serious as Seicha mentions that there may be a reason why Slad is keeping his skills from them. When Seicha mentions that she does not know the reason, Ethica becomes annoyed for getting let on. Ethica turns red when Seicha mentions that the possible reason is Slad is in love with Ethica. Ethica still wonders why Slad acts so humbly despite having such an overpowered skill. In Seicha's point of view, she believes that Slad only sees himself as average. In order to make Ethica understand what Seicha is trying to explain, Seicha sets Ethica as an example, and asks her if she can imagine herself without being the spirit priestess. When Ethica responded that she cannot, it proves Seicha's point that Slad may not want to be identified as someone who is a triple S ranked adventurer with overpowered skills. Having a unique skill, Sasha points out how it identifies the user immediately. What is interesting about Slad's skill, as Seicha explains, is that it is all automated. In the case of normal wielders of skill, they have control over their skills. Unfortunately for Slad's case, the buffs would activate regardless of his will. Regardless of Slad's skills, Seicha knows what type of person Slad is, which is someone selfless. Ethica somehow felt bad for Slad for not being appreciated. However, Seicha thought differently as she envied Slad's way of thinking, free from the weight that comes with having a powerful skill. The two girls enjoyed their food and time talking to each other. Meanwhile, inside a dream, Slad instantly recognized the hat as Rameri's. The Nightmare Fairy revealed that the woman is Rameri's mother and that one of the the kids playing is Romeri. Since Romeri is half demon, Slad remembers that Romeri's skin is bluish-white. However, both kids have the skin color of a human. Slad then realized that Ramary wishes to become a complete human. When the Nightmare Fairy asked Slad what he intends to do, she was shocked when Slad suddenly showed himself and greeted Ramary's mother. Surprisingly, Ramary's mother greeted him back and asked how she could help. The young Ramary then approaches Slad as she recognizes him right away. Slad tries to explain to Ramary that she is currently inside a dream and that she needs to wake up so that he can bring her back. When Slad asks if she wants to come with him, Slad was shocked when Ramary responded no. Understanding Ramary's dream, Slad thought that leaving Ramary inside the dream may not be too bad. Since he couldn't convince Ramary to come with him, Slad informs Ramary that he will now be heading back. Ramary wishes for Slad to stay along with her mother. Ramary's mother asks Slad his thoughts on Ramary's wishes. The kid that Ramary is playing with suddenly grabs Slad's arm, which aroused curiosity in Slad as to who the kid is. Slad explains that he still has to visit the others and points out that he is not a part of her dream. After Slad apologized, the whole place suddenly changed. Recognizing the room, Slad suddenly heard Ramary's voice telling him that he is not allowed to leave. Seeing that Ramary now has human skin, Slad guesses that Ramary truly heard the fact that she had demon blood coursing through her veins. Ramary mentions that if she was only born as a human, an unfortunate event in her past wouldn't have happened. Curious, Slad asks Ramary if she still remembers what she said before. Ramary responds that she will never forget how the townspeople treated her like trash since she has demon blood. In Ramary's life that had been filled with despair. Slad appeared and accepted her for what she was. Ramary asks Slad if he can say it again. Slad recognizes the room as the place where he told Ramary that it was okay to be who she was. With the two friends shaking hands, Slad asks Ramary if he was able to remind her what she wanted to do. Ramary responded yes, and that it is to defeat the Demon King, and to have all half-demons be accepted in society. Slad knows that Ramary's wish is impossible, as there would always be people who will not accept half-demons. Slad was also certain that Ramary knows the reality, yet still walks through her decision despite its difficulty. Wanting to support Ramary, the two left the dream and decided to finally wake up. Holding their hands, Ramary asks where they are. With Ramary coming to her senses, Slad calls out her name. Ramary becomes embarrassed after greeting Slad with a good morning. With the two finally out of the Nightmare Fairy's house, they were then approached by Sa and Ethica. Ramary asks Seicha where she had been. Seicha hands Ramary her hat and tells her that explaining her whereabouts will take some time. Seeing her hat all beat up, Ramary apologizes to her mom. Ethica tells Ramary that she doesn't have to worry about her hat's current state, as she will let Brownie fix it. Surprised, Ramary asks who she was. Ethica introduces herself as Slad's new companion. Comparing her body to Ethica's, Ramary was in shock and thought that Slad was cruel. Unfortunately, Ethica currently does not have a house for her to call the spirits. However, she is still positive while explaining that all she needs is a spirit house somewhere so she can ask Brownie for some help to restore Ramary's hat. Ethica was able to raise Ramary's spirit, which made the two become instant friends. Seicha asks Slad to share some information before they return to the mansion. In front of the fire, Slad revealed the truth to Sia, how he was actually chased out by Ares. Ramary also shared what had happened after Slad left, where they had to fight a rare species of wyvern with just 3 people because of Ares' provocation. Ramary nearly dies, and Deisha helps her by using the one-shot skill. Deisha comforts Ramary while carrying her on her back. The group encountered a mansion where Ares insisted that they stop by, but Deisha opposed the idea. However, they were forced to relent in order to let Ramary rest. Listening to the story, both Ethica and Ramary agree that Ares is one failure of a hero, though Ares does not have the attitude of a hero. Slad points out that Ares is still the hero. Not getting the whole story, Ethica asks the three if the hero is really that important. Seicha thought that there are still people like Ethica who are still out in the dark and have no idea what's happening. Ramary starts telling Ethica about the Demon King, who is known to be immortal despite being the weakest of the other unique monsters. Because of the Demon King's miasma enveloping the world, it is making all the monsters more savage, and the subterranean monsters, which are now known as demons, are being controlled by the Demon King. Unbeknownst to everyone, the humans had a cordial relationship with the demons. To defeat the Demon King, the hero's sword is necessary, and only the hero can possess it, which is Ares. Finally grasping the situation, Ethica apologizes for making Ramary share the story. In order for the world to be saved, they must help Ares, who the group deemed the worst of the worst. The hero's potential isn't a unique skill, but it is a rare one, which allows the probability that someone other than Ares can possess the skill. With the hero skill being so rare, it is said that only one would appear in several hundred years. Ramary shares that there have been only 2 heroes recorded appearing in the same era. Ramary still did not want to lose hope and only wished that Slad had the hero skill. When Slad mentions that he is jobless, Ramary hugs him and mentions that Slad is her jobless hero. Seicha informs Slad that his achievements alone are already more amazing than the heroes. Not only did Slad wake up from the Nightmare Fairy's dream, but Slad also managed to bring another person back. Slad clarifies to Seicha that the Nightmare Fairy was just surprisingly cooperative, which smoothed his mission. Slad asks for everyone to keep what they witnessed a secret, as he does not want the news to spread and lead to him becoming famous. Ramary announces that she will leave Ares' group and join Slad's. Seicha asks Ramary if she is certain about her decision and points out that the Demon King will not be defeated with the Holy Sword alone. Ramary is asked if she is willing to give up her dream of defeating the Demon King and ending the discrimination against half-demons. Ramary is firm in her decision that she will never give up her dream and believes that there are other ways to defeat the Demon King aside from grouping with Ares. After finding Ramary's hat, Seicha realizes that she was too naive and regrets leaving the party. When Seicha apologized, Ramary was shocked and asked Seicha what she was talking about. Being instructed by Seicha to explain, Slad was surprised at first and told everyone that Seicha wanted Ares to reflect on himself and realize how important his companions were. Seicha headbutts Slad and tells him that he was completely wrong. While being shaken by Seicha, Slad learns from her that Ares was weak. Kicking Slad, Seicha tells him that he should be more aware of his own skills. The three then inform Ramary of Slad's abilities, which makes Slad more of a hero to her. Slad stands up as he mentions that he will have to get Deisha. Before Slad leaves, Seicha tells him that she still has doubts about defeating the Demon King without the Holy Sword. With Slad as the core, Seicha plans to form a Demon King subjugation party. Feeling overestimated, Slad tells Seicha that he would have to bring Deisha back first before they can form the party. Looking at the mansion from a distance, the Nightmare Fairy suddenly appears beside Slad, greeting him. Slad confirms with the Nightmare Fairy that they are not yet inside the Mansion of Dreams. Pointing to a mansion enveloped by trees, the Nightmare Fairy informs that it is where the dreams of the saintess lie. Since Deisha has a big heart, the Nightmare Fairy has no issues including Slad in Deisha's dreams. Learning the eligibility of going into someone's dream, Slad thanks the Nightmare Fairy and gives her Nai as a nickname. Slad asks Nai if she cannot access information in relation to herself. Nai is confused and responds that the only thing she knows is other people's wishes. From Slad's knowledge, the shape of the dream is not determined by the Nightmare Fairy, and the only thing Nai does is shape anyone's dream into a reality. Nai tells Slad that her reason for living is to turn everyone's happy dreams into a reality, and Nai also points out that there's no reason for her to have an existing form. Slad wonders if by being human he is making Nai's existence sound sad. When Slad speaks to Nai, the message is conveyed to her main body. Nai's feelings of happiness are real and have nothing to do with Slad dreaming of them. Nai tells Slad that he is the one who has fulfilled one of her dreams. Ending their conversation, Nai suggests that Slad now fulfill his dream. As Slad walks around and observes Deisha's dream, he notices a solemn atmosphere and has no doubts that the place is a shrine after seeing statues of gods. Although the place feels like a shrine, it does not portray itself as one. One thing Slad also notices is that there are no priests, only monks. Seeing the monks training devotionally in the garden of the shrine is nothing short of bizarre for Slad, despite it all being a dream. Slad is shocked when he sees someone who looks exactly like Deisha, but wears a different set of clothing. When Slad was still a member of the hero party, he usually felt the presence of the divine just by seeing Deisha pray. However, seeing Deisha practice martial arts, Slad feels differently, as he can no longer sense any holy presence from her. Slad readies himself as he expects that Deisha's dream will be far more difficult and complex. As someone who should not be a part of Deisha's dream, Slad decides to approach his old teammate as an outsider. When Slad tries to interact with Deisha, he is suddenly attacked by her. While trying to protect himself from Deisha's powerful attacks, Slad can't help but admire Deisha's roundhouse kicks, as he is certain that the Deisha he knew could never pull off such an attack. Finally, understanding that the Deisha he is facing is the version of Deisha that she had always dreamed of. Since Slad is still able to dodge the attacks, he confirms that his unique skill still works and has already been activated. Running away from Deisha, Slad was having a hard time confirming if his unique skill truly does work inside the dream. What also worries Slad is if Deisha uses the one-shot skill on him, he would certainly die. Slad realizes that he doesn't have time to confirm if his skills are working. Since death is also connected in dreams, Slad thought that Deisha may also die from his debuff skill. Facing Deisha head-on, Slad reminds her that they are friends and should not fight. However, to Slad's surprise, the fact that the two are friends is also the reason why Deisha wishes to hit him. When Deisha finally felt the effects of Slad's unique skill, she felt pain all over her body and ended up losing strength. Slad apologizes to Deisha, admitting his mistake. When asked why he is being chased by her, Deisha responds how she despised Slad for giving up irresponsibly and leaving them without a word. While expressing her frustrations, Deisha suddenly regained her senses and finally recognized recognize Slad. Confused, Slad then explained the truth to Deja, that he was chased out by Ares. However, Deja still did not fully forgive Slad for leaving without saying a word, and wishes to hit Slad at least once. After saving Rameri, Slad realized how he had let his friends down. Slad then promises to Deja that he will not disappear on them again. With the two reconciling, Slad informs Deja of the situation outside and how they are trapped inside the Nightmare Fairy's dream. However, Deja is having a hard time believing that they are actually inside a dream, as it was all too vivid and realistic for her. When Slad suggests that they go have a look at the shrine, Deja agrees. However, to Slad's surprise, all the monks he saw earlier had vanished and were replaced with priests. Sensing something strange, Slad tries to interact with one of the priests, but he gets ignored by everyone. Slad then starts to wonder if Deja is making the people around them mute so that they wouldn't cause a crack in the fantasy. Being ignored by the priest as the clue, Slad finally realized what was happening, but was hesitant to intervene in any matters that may hurt Deja, with the worst case scenario that he may lose her. Deja asks Slad if he is now done as she plans to resume her training. Confused at first, Slad finally realizes the reason after Deja mentions that she is a monk. Slad assumed that Deja remembers everything after recognizing him, but this is a mistake that Slad finally noticed. Deja was surprised when Slad reminds her that she is the saintess. That is the end of the recap at chapter 11. Please read the pinned comment about the next part. We start deep inside a dark dungeon. Our main character thinks he will never escape and expects to die there. People call him incompetent and look down on him, but then he discovers his real power. Suddenly, a monster attacks him. He decides to fight back using his ability. His right eye changes. The pupil becomes a gear. A clock-like magic circle appears on his fist. He swings his hand and the magic circle blasts the monster away. This is the story of the so-called useless clock user, who was kicked out of the Craftsman Guild but finds his true strength deep inside the dungeon. Some time ago in the Royal Capital's Craftsman's Guild, Cyclo finished fixing a clock he was asked to repair. From the outside, the clock looked fine, but inside he saw that some gears were bent, which made the whole clock shift. He discovered this using his skill, clock appraisal. Then he used his clock storage skill to find parts to replace the broken ones. Since the clock was pneumatic, he planned to tell the owner to move it to a safer place later because it could break easily. He carefully put the parts together in silence. His smile showed that he liked his work. A few minutes later, a guildmate told him that the guildmaster wanted to talk to him, but then the guildmate saw Cyclo shaking at the table and asked if he was okay. Cyclo was excited because he finally touched a pneumatic clock in real life, something he had only read about in books. He couldn't stop looking at how the clock worked and all its gears. The guildmate thought Cyclo had finished fixing the clock. Cyclo said he was just doing the final check to make sure it worked. Since the clock was fixed, Cyclo used his skill called clock stop on it. This stopped the clock from moving to protect it from damage caused by vibrations and to keep it as it was. This rare clock was left behind by a nobleman. The nobleman's usual repairman couldn't fix it, so he gave it to the guild. The guildmate said that no one else but Cyclo could handle the clock. He called Cyclo amazing when it came to clocks. Cyclo smiled a little and said this was the only thing he was really good at. His skill called the clock user was Cyclo's special ability. He went to the guildmaster and asked what he wanted to talk about. Without hesitation, the old man said that Cyclo was fired. Cyclo was shocked and asked what he had done wrong. The guildmaster said it was clear they did not need someone who was not good enough. Cyclo said he had helped the guild well and told how he had fixed an old clock from the palace. The guildmaster said that the job should be given to a more talented craftsman. Then a nerd appeared and said he was the talented one with the skill of craftsmanship. The guildmaster said his son could fix anything, unlike Cyclo, who could only fix clocks. The guildmaster said he had enough and told Cyclo to leave the guild. Cyclo asked him to think again, but the guildmaster simply kicked him out of the building. Cyclo walked around town thinking about what to do. He ended up at the highest place in town and remembered how he had always loved making things since he was a child. Everyone was happy with the magical tools he made. The first person he made happy was his mother. She often had trouble because the laundry got wet, so Cyclo made a device that could tell the weather. Everyone called 6-year-old Cyclo a genius. Even a merchant couple showed interest in him. They wanted him to marry their daughter and help run their business in the future. Everything went well until one day 2 years ago. Cyclo's sister Alice was pulling him somewhere quickly. Cyclo asked her to slow down, but she didn't listen. A girl who was following them laughed and wondered if their future daughter would be like Alice. Cyclo asked what she meant. The girl reminded them that they were engaged, but Cyclo said that was only something their parents decided. The girl asked if he didn't like her. Cyclo couldn't refuse her. Alice got jealous and kept pulling her brother. The girl did the same. The three then arrived at the church where their skills would be chosen. In the kingdom of Heinberg, when citizens turned 16 and became adults, they always took part in the ceremony. Teenagers lined up while adults like parents and professionals watched. The girl was surprised to see many people there. Alice said that the most important people from guilds all over the country were attending. Cyclo said anyone could be noticed and chosen right away because of that. When someone prayed in front of the crystal, a character would appear. The word shown by the crystal became the granted skill. Then it was the girl's turn. Cyclo wished Maria good luck. As Maria knelt and prayed, the crystal shone brighter than it did for anyone else. Even the priest was surprised by the characters that appeared. Maria had received the saint ability. Everyone was happy to see a saint appear. While people from the church gathered around Maria, Alice asked if the saint was the most special skill. Cyclo said it was a rare profession that had not shown up for decades. He thought Maria was amazing. There were two types of skills, general skills and profession skills. General skills showed up because of a person's natural traits, while profession skills appeared because of many traits combined. Profession skills were rare, and the law said people had to work in jobs that matched their skills. In this country, skills were more than just talents. They were a person's fate. After seeing how Maria became a saint, Cyclo hoped to get something just as good. Alice asked if they should go next. Cyclo asked for some time to build up his courage. Alice decided to go first. She told him not to think she was going first to be selfish. Cyclo told her to go ahead and patted her shoulder. Alice felt tears in her eyes. Thinking about her brother and Maria together made her emotional. She did not want to lose to a saint. Alice knelt and prayed in front of the crystal. Then the crystal shone brightly, just like it did for Maria a little while ago. The priest was surprised when a sage appeared. Alice was shocked too. Everyone else couldn't believe what was happening. They hoped they would get a rare skill as well. One person asked if being a sage was really that special. Someone answered that sage was the highest skill in both the magician and alchemist classes. It was Cyclo's turn next. The girls had big hopes for him. Even Cyclo thought he might get a powerful skill that could match the girls' abilities. The place suddenly became even brighter than it did during the girls' turns. Everyone was silent, amazed at what they saw. Cyclo somehow found himself in a strange dimension filled with floating gears. A powerful being asked why he wanted a special power. Cyclo thought about the people around him and said he wanted to make his family and everyone else happy. At that moment, someone's shout brought Cyclo back to reality. He wondered if he had just been daydreaming. But more importantly, he asked what his skill was. The priest then announced that he was a clock user. Cyclo didn't understand what that meant, so the priest said it was someone who worked with clocks. Everyone who heard it thought it sounded boring, especially since the crystal had shone so brightly earlier, making them expect a powerful or exciting skill. The priest opened a book and read that a clock user was the person in charge of a giant clock tower. The tower was built based on a song said to be sung by the god who created the world. What was certain was that Cyclo's role as a clock user was the first of its kind and very rare. Still, it was only considered a vocational skill, not something useful in battle. The priest then asked the next person to step forward. Cyclo wasn't happy with the explanation. Being a clock user gave him a very low rank. Right away, his engagement to Maria was cancelled. Maria told him that the church didn't approve of their engagement and her father didn't want her to marry someone like Cyclo. She kept saying sorry, but Cyclo understood it wasn't her fault. He told her he wouldn't give up. He promised to become the best clock user in the world, someone respected by everyone. He said he would return for her once he reached that goal. Maria said she would wait for him. Meanwhile, Alice was scouted by the Adventurers Guild and quickly started doing well. Their mother told her to come back home if things ever became too hard. Cyclo wished her the best and promised to support her when life got tough. Alice felt touched for a moment, but then said she didn't need help from her useless brother. Cyclo felt hurt by her words, but he reminded himself not to fall behind the girls. He later joined the Craftsman's Guild. Even though his boss didn't like him, the law required them to hire him. Still, they warned him not to be lazy. Some people praised the work he did. A nobleman even said it was a shame Cyclo couldn't become a great magic toolmaker and instead became a clock user. As a clock user, his skills were all related to clocks. He had abilities like stopping time, checking clocks, making clocks, storing clocks, and finding clocks. Each skill did exactly what its name said, but those were his limits. Maria and Alice, who had always been with him, were now gone. He was left behind, unable to move forward. Even if he hadn't become a clock user, from that day until now, he had always believed one thing. However, he was completely on his own. him. Cyclo walked home in the rain feeling sad. On the way, he overheard some women talking about a recent serial rapist. He hoped the police would do something about it. When they noticed Cyclo, they wondered if he was okay. Cyclo found himself thinking about what kind of person could enjoy doing such terrible things, but in the end, he didn't really care. As he kept walking, he passed a strange man wearing a hood. The man looked suspicious, but Cyclo didn't stop. When he finally got home, a woman greeted him warmly. She told him to hurry and change his clothes and wash up. Cyclo replied that he could take care of it himself. The woman was Miranda, their neighbor. She had been looking after Cyclo since he was young. After his mother fell in love and left, Miranda stepped in to take care of him like a mother would. Miranda handed him a cup of tea with deer patterns on it. She said she found the cup at the tool shop. She asked if he had gotten into a fight with someone from the guild. Cyclo told her that it wasn't the case and said he was fine. Miranda looked at him kindly and said there were things only he could do. Cyclo couldn't hold back his tears. He set his cup down and said the herbal tea tasted salty. Miranda laughed. Thanks to Miranda, Cyclo felt a little better. He knew he needed to figure out how to get back to work. He thought about asking a regular customer to recommend him, but most wouldn't even let him in without a letter from the guild. Cyclo stopped walking when he heard two people talking about their next target. He had heard about these people before. They were being talked about a lot in town. He quickly used his clock detection skill and found out there were two people nearby. They were talking about a woman who ran a pharmacy shop in the middle of a neighborhood. Cyclo immediately knew who they were talking about. There was only one woman who fit that description. That was Miranda. His anger rose quickly when he realized she was their next target. He wanted to punch them, but he knew he had to stay calm. One of the men seemed worried that their plan might cause too much attention, but the other man said it would be fine, as he was a policeman. Cyclo couldn't believe what he heard. A policeman, someone who was supposed to protect people, was planning a crime. Shocked and upset, Cyclo kicked a nearby can by accident. The noise caught the men's attention. The policeman walked toward him and with a fake smile asked if something was wrong. Cyclo got nervous and tried to talk about what he overheard. The policeman said he was just questioning someone, but also said it was strange for someone to be walking around here at this time. Cyclo felt a chill run through his body. He suddenly turned and ran away. The other man asked if they should have stopped him, but the policeman remembered that Cyclo often visited the pharmacy. He said Cyclo might be useful later. At the police station, Cyclo begged them to believe him. The officers thought he was just confused, but Cyclo insisted he really heard the suspect say he was a policeman. The police decided to take note of it. They then asked Cyclo what his job was. Cyclo, feeling uncomfortable, admitted he was unemployed and had just been fired from the Craftsman's Guild. The officers were surprised that someone so young didn't have a job. Cyclo felt things were turning against him. Now he looked suspicious. In that world, people with professional skills were expected to have jobs, unless something was wrong with their character. The police decided to stay alert, and Cyclo asked them to do so. On his way home, Cyclo realized that people didn't trust someone without a job. He decided to take matters into his own hands. He planned to stop the suspect himself. He would wait for them, catch them, and make a scene so others would see what was happening. It was the only plan he had. While hiding, he noticed the suspects coming. He recognized them by the sound of their special clock. It was the same person he had seen in the alleys before. When the man, dressed as a policeman, tried to open a door, Cyclo ran toward him and tackled him. The man was caught off guard and fell to the ground. Cyclo shouted for help, and nearby people heard him. Cyclo felt hopeful. It seemed like things would finally go right, but the man smiled. Then he flipped Cyclo over and pinned him down instead. Just then, Miranda arrived and asked what was happening. The man told her to call the other officers because he had caught a serial criminal. Cyclo was shocked. Miranda was even more shocked to hear Cyclo was the one being accused. Cyclo tried to explain, but the man kept him pinned down and said it had been worth watching the area. Cyclo couldn't speak for himself. He felt like everything was falling apart. He reached out to Miranda, but his hand couldn't reach her. He'd always wanted to make people happy. He'd always believed he could do the right thing. Everyone looked at him with disgust. Even Maria looked disappointed. In the end, Cyclo was sentenced to exile. He was sent to the frontier as a criminal slave. But this was only the beginning of his story. This moment was just one part of the larger machine that made up the strange and unfair world he lived in. One day he would be known as the hero who changed everything. Back when the trial was happening, Cyclo kept shouting that he hadn't done anything wrong. He said there was no proof that he was the one who did it. The judge started to wonder if that was true. Then the police officer from earlier, Bujin, came out to speak. Cyclo was confused about why Bujin was there. He pointed at Bujin and said he was the real culprit. But Bujin told the court that Cyclo had paid local troublemakers to clear the area. He also said Cyclo had hurt several women and that the police had already finished their investigation. Cyclo couldn't believe they were blaming him. The people watching were also shocked. They didn't think Cyclo could do something so awful. Cyclo then noticed something strange. Even though it was just a simple trial, there were a lot of people watching. Most of them seemed connected to the women who had been hurt. At that moment, Cyclo realized he was in serious trouble if they believed he had committed such a terrible crime. Then Bujin brought in some witnesses. To everyone's surprise, Maria showed up, and she was with the hero. People wondered why the protectors of the capital came to such a small place. Cyclo was even more shocked when he saw Maria standing on the other side. She looked at him and started to feel sick. The hero told her it was okay and encouraged her to tell the truth, promising he would stay by her side. This moment touched the crowd. Seeing how close the hero and Maria were, many believed they would get married soon. Maria revealed that Cyclo used to be her fiancé. She had been sending him letters and money, thinking he might be struggling with his job as a clock user. Cyclo, confused, asked what she meant. Bujin explained that the church had records of the money transfers. Cyclo said he never received any money. The people watching couldn't believe he kept denying it. Then Bujin called someone over saying it was Cyclo's accomplice, but it turned out the man was actually working with Bujin. The man claimed Cyclo gave them the money and told them to leave the area, saying they didn't know what he might do next. Miranda was shocked by what she heard. Cyclo said he didn't know the man and had never done anything like that. Maria then spoke. She said she had hoped Cyclo would admit the truth and learn from his mistakes. Instead, he called her and the church liars. She called him the lowest kind of person. Cyclo felt crushed. He could only remember the promise they once made. He tried to get close to her, but the hero pointed his sword at him and told him to stay back. He called Cyclo a cruel man who didn't care about Maria's kindness. Cyclo shouted, asking why no one believed him. He begged Miranda to speak up for him, saying he wasn't the kind of person who would do something so wrong. But Miranda only looked away, clearly upset. At that moment, Cyclo felt everything was lost. He was just a clock user standing against a saint, a hero, and a policeman. With people like them around, no one would listen to him. In the end, he was sent away to live in exile at the edge of the land. Afterward, Bujin took Cyclo to the prison cells and thanked him for taking the blame. But Cyclo angrily promised to take Bujin down with him someday. His eyes changed and his pupils looked like turning gears. Bujin told him to go ahead and insult him one more time. Once Cyclo was locked up, Bujin went to another room. There, the hero was surrounded by a group of young girls. Bujin told him that the criminal's transfer was done. When the girls saw both the hero, Raven of the Crowheart family, and Officer Bujin of the Bojack family, they were amazed. They believed that a person's strength could be seen in their appearance, and the two men looked impressive. Later in the same room, Raven said he didn't expect things to go so well. He admitted that Cyclo had caused him trouble too. Bujin asked how Raven got the saint to speak up. Raven replied that he only told her the truth. Apparently, the saint didn't know someone from the church had been stealing the money she sent and burning her letters. Still, Raven thanked Bujin for handling Cyclo. He said all he had left to do now was comfort Maria, who was heartbroken. Bujin joked that Raven was a wicked noble, but Raven pointed out that Bujin, a viscount, wasn't any better. Bujin said the world was boring unless they kept chasing after women. Raven agreed with a laugh. The two trusted each other and saw themselves as partners in crime and winners, but they didn't realize that someone was secretly listening to their conversation. Soon after, Cyclo was taken by carriage to the northern part of the kingdom of Heinberg. This was where the worst dungeon called the Deep Hole was located. No one had ever reached the bottom of this dungeon. It was also a place where adventurers fought dangerous monsters that came out of it. Because of the dungeon, the area grew with new buildings and businesses to support the adventurers. This place marked the edge of the land known as North Floria. Later at the Adventurers Guild, everyone watched as Cyclo was dragged inside. A man saw him and assumed Cyclo was the new porter sent from the capital. The man introduced himself as Juan Koyaj, the leader of the Adventurers Guild. He said he had heard stories about Cyclo from the Great Sage. Cyclo thought things might get better since he was related to Alice. But then, Juan said Alice had told people that her brother was hopeless and couldn't do anything right. Cyclo said it wasn't true, but even the guild receptionist confirmed that Alice had said those things. Cyclo felt like the world around him was fading. He couldn't believe his little sister whom he loved so much would say that about him. Juan told him he wouldn't go easy on someone like him. He said Cyclo would work like a slave until he died. Cyclo's hope began to disappear. People had always called him useless because of his lame-sounding skill. Even though he tried hard as a porter, no one ever appreciated his work. He had been beaten many times. He ate food made for animals. In time, all his hope was gone. Cyclo became someone who only said yes when spoken to. Even that annoyed the adventurers, and they would beat him up. He stopped caring. He felt like an old piece of cloth, worn out and thrown away. Then one of the adventurers suddenly had an idea. The adventurers dragged Cyclo to a hole that people believed was the entrance to the deep hole's abyss. Cyclo stayed silent the whole time. The adventurers were upset with his boring reaction. They said that even though they were A-ranked adventurers, they still made the effort to bring him there. They couldn't believe how useless Cyclo seemed. Cyclo, on the other hand, thought falling into the hole would be an easy way to die. But then, Cyclo saw something strange. He imagined Bujin asking him to take the blame and die in his place. This vision shocked Cyclo and made him snap out of his thoughts. He started to struggle because he realized he didn't want to die like this. His sudden movement made one of the adventurers angry and they pushed him. Cyclo fell into the hole screaming as he dropped into the darkness until his voice faded away. Later, Cyclo woke up and looked around. He was surprised to be alive. It felt like a miracle. Even though he had thought life didn't matter now that he had almost died, he realized he still wanted to live. When he looked up, he saw thick spider webs above him. They had slowed down his fall. The fact that he was light and unconscious also helped him survive. Since he was still alive, Cyclo decided to figure out what to do next. He made a clock and saw that more than half a day had passed since he fell. He checked what he had with him. One bottle of water, a metal match, and a knife. His next worry was the monsters. He knew he was in a part of the deep hole that no one had explored before, so he needed to move carefully. At that moment, something hit the top of Cyclo's head, making him jump in shock. He looked up to see what it was. Above him was a giant creature. It had the body of a tall human, but its head looked like a monster. The strange creature was eating another monster. Cyclo couldn't believe what he was seeing. He stayed quiet and watched as the monster finished its meal. Then the monster slowly turned toward him. Its face had no eyes, but it growled in his direction. Cyclo froze. He had just seen this creature eat something way bigger than him. Before he could run, one of the monster's tentacles moved. It had an eyeball at the end and it spotted him. Cyclo took off, running as fast as he could. He knew he was in serious danger. He found a hole and jumped inside. The monster's attack barely missed him. Cyclo kept crawling deeper into the hole while the monster tried to reach in after him. He believed he would be safe if he kept moving. After a while, he saw a light up ahead, but when he got there, it wasn't a way out. It was a dead end, a huge drop that could lead to his death. No matter where he went, danger was waiting. 5 days had passed since Cyclo entered the hole. He noticed the monster still waiting outside as if it was saving him for later. Cyclo was weak and tired. He looked like a mummy. He couldn't remember the last time he ate a real meal. He wished he could eat his mother's meat pie again. At that moment, Cyclo started seeing things. He saw Maria and Alice calling out to him, telling him to join them. They said he didn't need to go through more pain. Feeling happy to see them, Cyclo stood up to go with them, but suddenly their voices changed. They said someone like him, who was useless, should just die. Cyclo screamed as he came back to his senses. He had almost jumped off while seeing those visions. Then he saw a lizard nearby. He said sorry to it as he picked it up. Without thinking, he ate it. He groaned in disgust as he chewed. When he saw the lizard's cut off tail, he realized he was just like it. Because he couldn't protect himself, others had thrown him away when he became a problem. He got angry as he remembered everything. How he got his skill, lost his job, got blamed for something he didn't do, and how Maria left him. He couldn't believe it and he cursed out loud. He punched the wall again and again until his fist bled. He swore he would take revenge on everyone who had looked down on him. He wouldn't forgive them. He promised himself he would live no matter what. He shouted that he wouldn't die in a place like this. His anger caused a pillar of light to shoot up from the deep hole. The guards at the border saw it and rushed to report it to the Lord. Even Guan didn't know what was going on. Cyclo didn't understand it either. A glowing magic circle appeared around him, shaped like a clock. His eyes started to look like turning gears. He stood there wondering what had just happened to him. Cyclo felt confused and wondered if the strange feeling was because of the lizard he had eaten. But that didn't make sense. His hunger was gone, and even his wounds had healed. He realized the feeling in his stomach was his body's internal clock. Using his powers, he turned his body back to a time when he was still full and healthy. Suddenly, images of himself flashed in his mind. He used time stop, and just like he thought, his energy and strength came rushing back. He found this helpful. He just needed to keep fixing his body and survive by drinking only water. Since the monster was still outside waiting near the exit, he chose to stay inside and think of a way to escape. Before this, Cyclo could only use his powers on mechanical clocks, but now it seemed the same was true. The more you use a skill, the better you get. His clock user abilities had grown. Now he could control hourglasses, water clocks, and sundials, anything with the word clock, or anything that worked like a clock. He decided to start training. First, he made a water clock and a sand timer. By studying and analyzing them, he understood how they worked. Then, he removed the containers and used his magic to control just the water and sand. Next, he created a sundial and made a small sunlight orb using his life energy. It was only as big as his fist. To make a bigger one, he knew he had to improve his physical strength too. 1 month passed by with just physical training. Cyclo concentrated as he created the 3 types of clocks: sundial, water clock, and sand timer. He tried to heighten his awareness as he concentrated. He then used time stop to freeze the clocks in their perfect states. Cyclo was glad that he did it. He managed to finish the first step. Next thing to note was his skills application in battle. For now, he wrote down everything he had learned from studying the 3 types of clocks he could make. He was still worried that his clock perception wasn't very accurate because things like walls got in the way, and he knew he needed something better than just using his eyes. When he saw the sundial sunlight orb shine on a water bottle, he got an idea. He could use the shadows instead. Discovering new things made Cyclo feel like a curious kid again, but this time he was also driven by the need to take revenge on those who had hurt him. To do that, he had to keep improving his skills. 2 months had passed since Cyclo started researching his power. He had made a long list of what he could do now, and he felt proud of what he had achieved. The only thing left was to defeat the monster and escape. Cyclo then used his clock sense and clock generation skills at the same time. Through practice, he had made the sundial's search and the water clock's water perception much stronger. Now he could sense the whole level around him. By combining clock sense and the water clock, he could find anything living that had liquid flowing inside, like blood in animals. He also learned how to create a small sunlight orb from the sundial using clock generation. This could help him sense things too, by using the shadows it made. Even in faraway places, Cyclo could now understand where everything was, almost like he was holding the whole area in his hands. As Cyclo kept watching, he thought the monster at the entrance was sharpening its claws, but in reality it was forcing its way through. Cyclo couldn't believe the creature was able to squeeze through such a small opening. It let out a loud roar like it hadn't eaten in days. Cyclo had been training for this moment for months, but he was still surprised. The monster had also been slowly breaking the rocks around the entrance. His legs were shaking, so he punched them to stop the fear. He made up his mind. He had to fight. He tried to use his clock user power, but the monster attacked first. Tentacles flew at him. Cyclo barely dodged them. If he hadn't, he would have been finished. He ran to create space between them and thought about what to do. He realized the monster's eye was the problem. Cyclo used clock generation, but only called out the sand from his sand timer. He shaped it into a sharp slash and sent it flying at the monster. The sand cut off its tentacles, and the monster screamed in pain. Cyclo felt like he had done well, but then the monster started shaking and going wild. It smashed everything around it. Cyclo had to keep running to avoid the attacks. As the monster continued thrashing, the entrance collapsed behind it, sealing them both inside. The whole place turned dark. Cyclo thought this might be the end, but then he noticed something. The monster had stopped attacking. It had lost track of him in the darkness. Cyclo used clock sense, and he was able to find the monster by sensing the fluids in its body. Using this chance, he activated clock generation again and formed a blade. He slashed at the monster and cut it in half. What he used was the guiding hand of a sundial, shaped into a blade that sliced straight through his enemy. Cyclo was out of breath. He created a small light from the sundial to see better. The monster was no longer moving. He used clock perception to check the monster's body fluids. Since they weren't flowing anymore, he knew it was dead. Cyclo started to cry. He couldn't believe it. He had defeated a monster. At that moment, he felt something warm flow through his body. He realized this was what adventurers called a level up. By killing monsters, people could grow stronger by taking in their power. Now, Cyclo knew it. If he kept defeating monsters, he could keep getting stronger. A small smile appeared on his face. His journey for revenge had finally begun. The gears that once stopped were turning again. Cyclo smiled widely and activated his clock user powers. It was time to rise. The monster saw Cyclo. He decided to defeat them. Cyclo used his clock generation skill, and sharp blades made of water sliced through the monsters. This was another way he used the water clock, which could create fast-moving water blades. One monster tried to attack from behind, but Cyclo dodged it. He thought maybe leveling up helped him see their attacks more clearly. The monsters then used their tentacles to strike from a distance. Cyclo used his skill again, this time turning the water clock's container into a shield. He also made a clock's hand and used it like a sword. The clock generation skill didn't just make clocks. It could also create parts of clocks in any shape he wanted. If Cyclo knew the material, he could make almost anything, even the best metals. His sword was made of orichalcum, and he used it to cut through the monsters. He had clock sense active and noticed smaller monsters nearby. Using his skill, he formed sundials on the monsters' bodies, slicing them in half. Cyclo felt magic power flow into him as he leveled up again. Then something huge showed up. It was twice the size of the other monsters. Cyclo realized this was the boss monster. The boss attacked, but Cyclo was fast enough to dodge. He used clock generation to create sand and water, firing them as sharp sharp blades. The boss blocked the attack using its tentacles, forming a net-like shield. Cyclo saw that this monster was smarter than the others. He made another clock hand to use as a a sword, but the monster surprised him. Tentacles came out from the ground behind Cyclo and trapped him in a ball-shaped net. Just in time, Cyclo made a shield. He said he couldn't hold on much longer and asked for help. The monster growled, thinking it had won, but Cyclo smirked. He had only been pretending. He created 3 full clocks at once, breaking out of the tentacles. The boss monster screamed as its tentacles were cut and burned. Cyclo said his perception was perfect. He could sense everything the monster did because of the fluids in its body. Then he showed the monster his most powerful clock. Somehow, the boss monster's body exploded from the inside. It seemed Cyclo had taken control of its body clock using clock generation. The monster let out its dying and last roar. Cyclo finally calmed down a bit and started moving forward. The monsters were now scared and tried to escape. However, since the tables had turned, he asked the monsters how they feel that they are now the praise. He activated the magic power he could, not letting the monsters escape. After some time, Cyclo's clock sense confirmed that there were no more monsters left in the dungeon lair. He opened his clock storage and gathered all the dropped items and monster bodies before getting ready to leave. In the past, the clock storage could only hold clocks, but now it could store almost anything, and there was no limit to how much it could hold. Cyclo finally took a break. He drank some water from his water clock. He also had cubes he called energy cubes. These cubes helped him recover his strength. Each cube was made from a small amount of life energy stored in the clock storage. Even though each cube used just a little energy, it could restore his stamina 100 times over. Once the clock storage confirmed that everything had been collected, Cyclo decided it was time to move on. But before leaving, he noticed some wilted flowers. He was surprised to see flowers in a place like the abyss. He touched one and used his skill, clock operation. The flower slowly came back to life. Cyclo had only turned back time a little, but he wished the flower would keep hanging on, just like he was trying to do. To him, it felt like the first beautiful thing he had seen since being banished from the royal capital. Cyclo kept moving deeper into the dungeon. A glowing sunlight orb lit the way as he walked through the dark tunnels. Eventually, he found stairs going upward. He realized that he just had to keep climbing, and soon he could begin his plan for revenge. So he continued moving upward, defeating every monster he met along the way. After each battle, he would take short rests, then go forward again. Along the way, he even learned how to shoot fireballs by using the heat from his sundial's sunlight orb. It didn't take long before he reached a floor shaped like a round arena, surrounded by flames. Cyclo used his clock sense and confirmed that no living creatures were on that floor. But then he heard a cold, eerie voice. It sounded surprised to see a human coming from below. Cyclo was shocked because his detection hadn't picked up anything. He quickly created a shield and a sword from his clocks. The voice laughed and told him not to rush. Then it introduced itself as the guardian of the labyrinth of judgment's middle layer. From the dark flames, a face appeared. The figure called itself the Elder Wraith. It laughed and used magic to reveal its full body. Cyclo could feel right away. This enemy was nothing like the ones he had fought before. When Cyclo heard the Elder Wraith speak, he realized that the deep hole was actually called the labyrinth of judgment. He also couldn't believe he had made it to the middle layers. Magic circles appeared around him, and the Elder Wraith said this would be the end for Cyclo now that they had met. The monster shot snake-shaped flames at Cyclo and demanded his life. Cyclo quickly used his water clock to create a shield, but the heat was too strong. The shield wasn't enough, and the heat made it hard for him to concentrate. The Elder Wraith kept attacking, telling Cyclo to burn. But to the monster's surprise, Cyclo managed to block the attacks just in time. Cyclo then used the water from his water clocks to form ice walls. At that moment, Cyclo figured out that the enemy was a spirit type. Since the Wraith had no blood, Cyclo's clock sense didn't detect it. More than that, Cyclo was angry because the Elder Wraith looked down on him. Cyclo created a sunlight orb using his sundial, and a beam of light shot out and hit the monster. The Elder Wraith groaned in pain as the spot exploded. Cyclo was happy that it worked. The Elder Wraith was shocked that a human could use magic that could hurt him. Cyclo told him to shut up and disappear, then made more sunlight orbs. The monster couldn't believe what he was seeing. He couldn't avoid the light beams and got hit again. As he faded away, the Elder Wraith said he couldn't believe he had lost. When he vanished, a cloak of shadows dropped to the ground. Cyclo looked at it and wondered if he had really won. Then he laughed a little and said that the Elder Monster wasn't so tough after all. As Cyclo tried to collect the monster's body, the Elder Wraith smiled from the shadows and began swirling around him. The Wraith had been waiting for the right moment to catch Cyclo off guard. Cyclo had forgotten that Wraiths were known for tricking people and taking over their bodies after death. This Wraith was even more dangerous because he was stronger than usual. The Elder Wraith praised Cyclo for lasting this long. But now he said it was time to curse Cyclo to death and use his body as a new vessel. The Wraith then stabbed Cyclo in the heart with his claws. Cyclo screamed in pain. He felt both the stabbing wound and the curse slowly spreading through his body. As the Elder Wraith grinned, Cyclo panicked, unsure of what to do. But Cyclo didn't wait any longer. He created a ball of sunlight in front of him, catching the Wraith by surprise. The Wraith asked if Cyclo planned to burn both of them. Cyclo confirmed that. He wanted to see who would last longer. He challenged the Wraith to a battle of endurance. The Elder Wraith thought Cyclo was crazy. Still, he watched as Cyclo struggled through the curse and the heat. Cyclo was reaching his limit. The Wraith only needed to wait a little longer. Then the Elder Wraith slipped behind Cyclo. Cyclo lost control and screamed in agony. The Wraith knew he had won. He took over Cyclo's body. Cyclo's hair turned white and his arms dropped to his sides. Now in Cyclo's body, the Elder Wraith laughed. With his new form, he planned to hunt humans once again. But before the Elder Wraith could take a step forward, he felt something was wrong. Cyclo's spirit was still awake. He couldn't let a monster like that eat more people. He forced himself to take out the energy cubes and threw them into his mouth. He didn't want his own body to hurt anyone. The Elder Wraith was shocked that Cyclo was still fighting and wouldn't let him take over his body. Then Cyclo's body healed right away, and the Elder Wraith was pushed out of him. The Elder Wraith couldn't believe it. When he saw the cubes, he realized Cyclo could create life energy. Cyclo stared at the monster and used his skills again. He promised himself that he would escape the dungeon and prove the world wrong for turning its back on him. The Elder Wraith called his goal a foolish dream, then used his final spell. Both of them fired their magic at the same time, but Cyclo's power was stronger. A large ball of sunlight hit the Elder Wraith and burned him into ashes. As the monster faded away, it cursed Cyclo one last time before turning into a magic crystal. Cyclo, who had been tense the whole time, finally took a deep breath. He felt thankful that the energy cube saved him just in time. He remembered that the Elder Wraith said they were only in the middle layer. That meant even stronger monsters were waiting below. Cyclo also realized that his clock user skill wasn't all powerful. If he used it the wrong way, he could still lose. For now, he wanted to forget about everything and slapped himself hard. That was enough for him to think things through. At that moment, he noticed something strange when he looked at a broken piece of glass. He created a shield using a mirror. That's when he realized his hair had turned white. He wondered if it was because of the curse. He hoped he could fix it, but since it didn't hurt him, he decided to ignore it. After that, Cyclo decided to leave. He walked past many adventurers and camps. His main goal was to reach the exit at the top of a long staircase. When he finally got there, he began to cry while smiling. He shouted with joy because he had made it back to the surface world. People outside saw him and wondered what was wrong. They thought he had finally gone crazy inside the dungeon. But what they didn't know was that Owen had just become the first human to clear the middle layer of the worst dungeon all by himself. Meanwhile, back in the capital, without Cyclo, things were starting to fall apart. The Craftsman's Guild was losing business. Miranda was chained and finally turned into a plaything, and Maria was being taken advantage of by the Twisted Hero. At the same time, Alice had just finished hunting a dangerous monster. Someone asked if she was going to send the reward to her brother again. Alice said yes. She explained that her brother couldn't take care of himself, so she had to help him. Big changes were coming, not just for Alice and the others, but for Cyclo too. The scene moved to the old clock Cyclo had been working on before he lost his job and was exiled. An old woman had believed Cyclo was the only one who could fix it. She looked like a queen. She then gave a command. She told her servants to search for the clock user, Cyclo Owen, no matter what it took them. Cyclo finally came back to town and pulled out his exploration permit from his clock storage. When he thought about it, he might have been the first person to reach the middle layers. A guard asked for his permit. Cyclo happily showed it, but the guard gave him a disgusted look. Cyclo didn't understand why until the guard called him a criminal slave and rudely told him to go inside. As Cyclo walked through the streets, he tried asking people how to find the Adventurers Guild, but people thought he looked dirty. When they saw his collar, they wondered if he had escaped from somewhere. Cyclo had forgotten about the collar and tried to explain, but no one wanted him near. A child even threw a rock at him from a window. Without looking, Cyclo caught it with his bare hands. Everyone around him was shocked. That moment reminded Cyclo that no matter how strong he was still seen as a criminal slave. Cyclo decided to stop asking for help and tried to remember the way himself. While walking through an alley, he saw a place where light was shining. When he peeked inside, he found a young girl chained up. He was shocked to see a child in such a place. The girl noticed him, and Cyclo quickly apologized for staring. He told her he was lost and asked if she knew the way to the Adventurers Guild. The girl stared at him, and Cyclo guessed she was scared of him because of the collar. But then, she slowly raised her weak arms and pointed in a direction. In a quiet voice, she gave him the answer. He thought she meant the the stairs and she nodded. Cyclo smiled and thanked her. The girl seemed surprised, but then he left her behind. Cyclo thought she reminded him of the white flower he once saw in the deep hole. Because of her, he felt ready to move forward again. He then pushed the guild's door open hard, surprising everyone everyone inside. But someone was even more shocked. They recognized him. It was the same group who had pushed Cyclo into the abyss. Cyclo asked to see the Guildmaster and said he had returned from the depths of hell. From that moment on, he chose to change his fate. At the Craftsman Guild in the royal capital, the bald Guildmaster angrily threw some papers on the floor. He shouted, wondering why so many contracts were suddenly being cancelled. His son tried to calm him down, but the Guildmaster blamed him instead. He was upset that his son had failed to fix Lady Olivia's valuable clock. It had broken again after only 3 days. The Guildmaster said his son was even worse than Cyclo, someone he already thought was useless. His son argued that he wasn't that bad. He said he had found a useless part that Cyclo had added and removed it. He blamed Cyclo's poor repair work for breaking the clock in the first place. Suddenly, someone burst into the office. A group of other craftsmen followed, all staring angrily. One of them shouted that they had had enough. They said they were tired of being treated poorly and paid so little, like they were beginners. They also complained that jobs were being assigned poorly. New workers who didn't know much were leading while experienced ones were pushed aside. They said they couldn't work like that anymore. The Guildmaster yelled at them to be quiet. He couldn't believe they were calling the new leaders newbies. He said those people had general skills and many certificates, unlike the craftsmen, who could only do one thing. He told them they should at least be thankful they were getting paid on their days off. The room went quiet, but the tension was still there. Then, the bald craftsman leading them stepped forward. He had reached his limit and punched the Guildmaster. The Guildmaster's son just hid in the corner and watched. The craftsmen said they were done with the guild. They planned to leave and find work on their own. As they walked out, they said firing Cyclo had been a mistake. They didn't believe he was a criminal. They thought he had been falsely accused and knew that Cyclo only cared about clocks. The Guildmaster got up and his son asked if he was okay. He told his son to shut up and stand. Then he looked at the pile of cancelled contracts. He lost his temper again, yelling and throwing a fit. Even then, he still wanted to blame Cyclo for the broken clock, which started this mess, and make him apologize. Meanwhile, Bujin went to the neighborhood to visit Miranda. He brought her a smile and some flowers. She said sorry for the trouble, but he told her it was okay because it was his job as a policeman to help people. Miranda still couldn't believe that Cyclo was the serial rapist. She used to think he was a good person and hoped he would change. Bujin told her that Cyclo had been sent to a faraway town to work as a servant and get help, thanks to his family's connections. But he didn't tell her the truth that Cyclo might be going through something worse than death as a criminal slave. Miranda thanked Bujin for what he did. He smiled and reminded her about the proposal he had made before. But behind that smile, he was hiding something dark. After that, Miranda rode in a carriage to visit Bujin's land. He had suggested the trip to help her relax, and Miranda thought it was kind of him to arrange the carriage and even a coachman to go with her. But then the carriage suddenly stopped. A man with a wide grin stood in front of her, holding a knife. He called out to someone behind him. When Miranda turned to look, she saw it was the coachman. Before she could react, the man covered her mouth. He quickly said he was only doing his job. Miranda had no idea what was going on. She started to panic and hoped Bujin would come to save her. At that moment, she heard a familiar voice. It was Bujin thanking the coachman and giving him money. Miranda was shocked. She looked at Bujin trying to ask for help, but Bujin only gave her an evil smile. That's when Miranda understood. Bujin had tricked her. She also started to wonder if Cyclo's case had been a lie all along. Cyclo's identity was finally confirmed because of his collar. He said sorry for disappointing them by returning. The Guildmaster Guan asked again if Cyclo really came back from the deep hole. Cyclo said yes and then pointed to the adventurers who had pushed him down into the abyss. The adventurers quickly tried to defend themselves. Guan remembered a report that said Cyclo had gone crazy after seeing a monster and had fallen off the cliff on his own. But Cyclo said that wasn't true at all. He explained how the others had treated him badly. He said they teased him about being pushed off, and in the end, they actually did it. Guan said that if what Cyclo said was true, then the others would be held responsible. He also added that giving a false report was another serious offense. The adventurers started to panic. They didn't think they would get caught. Cyclo then joked that they should have picked a better place to push someone. Still, he thanked them. Because of what happened, he survived and became stronger. To him, it was a win. He even told them they should be thanking him. This made the adventurers angry, and they all attacked him at once. Everyone thought Cyclo would lose, but to Cyclo, the adventurers were too slow. He blocked their attacks with his bare hands and even threw them off. He said this was attempted murder, another crime added to their list. They tried to attack again, but suddenly they got trapped inside a glass container. Cyclo had made an hourglass, and the adventurers were stuck at the bottom part. They couldn't break it. Cyclo explained that the sand would run out in 10 minutes. Until then, he wanted them to confess everything. Guan then said the questioning was over, and they needed to focus on the main point again. Cyclo guessed it was about how he escaped the deep hole. Guan said he was right. After that, Guan finally understood everything and thanked Cyclo for telling him the whole story. It really sounded like Cyclo had been through a lot. Cyclo said that he had. Guan wanted to believe him, but he asked if Cyclo had any proof that he actually reached the lower levels. In response, Cyclo calmly opened his clock storage. Suddenly, the bodies of strange monsters started falling out. Everyone was shocked as they had never seen creatures like those before. They also wondered where Cyclo had pulled them from. Cyclo opened more storage and said he had even more. Guan quickly told him to stop. The first ones were already more than enough as proof. The dismantlers then started doing their work. Cyclo just hoped that the parts from these monsters would be valuable. At that moment, the receptionist asked if Cyclo didn't like the herbal tea since he hadn't touched it. Cyclo apologized and said he had a lot on his mind. The tea had reminded him of Miranda. After a while, Guan came back with the results from the appraisal and gave a rough estimate. Altogether, Cyclo would receive 10,000 gold coins, which was the same as 100 platinum coins. Cyclo was speechless. When he used to work as a clock technician, he only earned 1 platinum coin per year. Now he was getting 100 years worth of his old salary all at once. He nervously asked if it was really okay for him to get that much. Guan confirmed it was. Every monster Cyclo brought wasn't recorded before, so of course the reward was that high. Cyclo understood. He thought that if he had discovered his true powers as a clock user earlier, maybe he could have spent his life laughing with everyone. But now, that no longer mattered to him. At that moment, Guan lowered his head and said sorry to Cyclo. He apologized for not doing anything while Cyclo was being treated badly. As another human being, he felt it was right to say sorry. He had known Cyclo was being abused, but since Cyclo was a well-known criminal slave, Guan chose to support the adventurers for the good of the guild. Cyclo understood that the Guildmaster had ignored his suffering. Still, he agreed that it was probably the best choice for the guild. After thinking quietly for a moment, he said it was a selfish decision. Guan asked him to try and see it that way. This moment helped Cyclo realize that the Guildmaster wasn't his enemy, so he asked for 100 platinum coins to buy his freedom from being a criminal slave. He also showed his criminal document, which stated that he had to pay 10,000 gold coins. Guan had almost forgotten about the guild's redemption system. Cyclo said he wanted to be free and become a legal adventurer. He asked if the Guildmaster could help with that. Guan smiled and said he would. Cyclo was happy that Guan understood him quickly, and without waiting, he broke his own collar. The next morning, Cyclo woke up feeling rested. It had been a long time since he last slept in a real bed. When he looked out the window, he remembered going back to the garbage dump, but the girl he saw earlier was no longer there. He thought he must have imagined her since it didn't make sense for anyone to be there. Later at the Adventurers Guild, the receptionist greeted him and said she would call the Guildmaster right away. Cyclo thanked her, though he still wasn't used to how differently she treated him now. Soon, Guan showed up and said Cyclo's adventurer registration was complete. The receptionist also confirmed that his deposit account had been set up. Cyclo was surprised by how fast everything had been done and thanked them again. Guan then gave Cyclo his guild card, proof that he was now an adventurer. Cyclo was confused when he saw the card was black. He had never seen one like it before and asked what rank it meant. Adventurers were ranked by their strength. When Cyclo used to work as a porter, he had the lowest rank. F ranks went from F to D for beginners, B and C for team fighters, A for strong solo fighters, and S for people with rare skills. Above them were the legendary ranked adventurers. Guan explained that Cyclo's black card was actually a legendary card. As for his exact rank, he told Cyclo to check it for himself. Cyclo was taken to a room with a special machine. Unlike the usual machines that had simple levers, this one looked more advanced. Guan said the normal machine wouldn't have worked for someone like Cyclo. Cyclo looked at the device and said he knew how to use it. He had never done a status check before when he was a porter, so he was curious to see how strong he had become since entering the deep hole. As soon as he pulled the lever, a bright light came from the machine. A screen showed his stats. Everything was at S level or higher. His guild rank was listed as triple S. Cyclo couldn't believe it. Guan said the results matched what Cyclo had achieved. Cyclo still thought it was hard to believe. Guan then brought up his sister Alice the Great Sage. She was an S-rank adventurer, and even she only had S-rank stats in her strongest areas, with the rest being A or B. But Cyclo had gone beyond all of that. Guan said it was something extremely rare in history. Cyclo thought it was crazy. It didn't even feel real to him. Suddenly the Guildmaster said he had a request for Cyclo. He asked if Cyclo was willing to meet the city lord. Cyclo was confused by the sudden request. Guan explained that he had told the lord about Cyclo, and the lord became interested. He wanted to hear more directly from Cyclo. Cyclo went quiet. He thought this could be a chance to connect with someone powerful. Maybe he could use that to get back at the people who had treated him badly. He quickly agreed, since the offer sounded good. good for him too. Guan was pleased, but suggested that Cyclo dress properly first. Soon after, Cyclo stepped into a shop that looked expensive. He felt nervous as he introduced himself to the clerk and asked for equipment. The clerk asked for his guild card and was shocked to see he was SSS ranked. She quickly ran off and asked him to wait. An old man appeared and greeted Cyclo. He was surprised to meet an SSS ranked adventurer and promised to make the best equipment for him. Cyclo noticed the old man's hands. They looked like the hands of someone who had worked for many years, an artisan. Cyclo believed he would do a good job and asked how long it would take. The old man asked him to wait a moment and said his job skill was Grand Couturier, a high-level tailor. As soon as he touched the needle and thread, he started moving fast, so fast that Cyclo saw blurs of his hands. It was like watching a music conductor in action. In no time, the clothes were finished. Cyclo liked how they looked, but something felt strange. The old man asked him to place his hand near the robe. When he did, a pattern showed up. It looked like the hands of a clock, and the robe automatically equipped itself on him. Cyclo felt like it was a perfect fit the moment he wore it. The old man explained that the pattern showed the wearer's natural magical energy and asked if Cyclo liked it. Cyclo smiled and said he loved it, thanking the old man. The old man smiled back. The clerk also suggested some extra items. Cyclo bought a belt, gloves, and boots. With that, Cyclo was ready to move forward. The next day, in a big mansion, a man said sorry for making his guests wait. He said his name was Demos Northfolia, and with him was his son, Cruz Northfolia. Cruz nervously said hello. Cyclo also introduced himself, but he was more focused on Cruz, who was staring at him with curious eyes. Demos explained that his son really wanted to meet Cyclo because he looked up to adventurers. Cyclo noticed that Demos had called Cruz his son, and when he looked again, Cruz was dressed up like a noble's daughter, which surprised him. Demos sat down and said there were 3 things he wanted to talk about. Cyclo already had an idea of what was coming. Before they started, Cyclo made it clear that he wasn't going to act overly polite just because Demos was a noble. He said he came as an equal to talk, not to bow down. Guan felt a little embarrassed by Cyclo's bold attitude. Cyclo reminded them that it was Demos who needed something from him, so the one who should be respectful was Demos, not him. Guan sighed. Cruz looked at Cyclo with wide eyes, thinking he was cool. Demos smiled a little and said he didn't plan to act all high and mighty in front of someone as strong as an SSS ranked adventurer. Cyclo told Guan that Demos seemed like a reasonable man after all. Then Demos got to the main point. He wanted to buy information about the deep hole and was ready to pay at least 100 platinum coins. Cyclo was surprised. Demos asked if that amount was enough, and Cyclo said it was fair. Cyclo told Demos everything he saw and went through inside the deep hole. Demos thanked him because the information was already more than enough. Still, he couldn't believe that the place Cyclo fell into was only the middle layers, not even the deepest part. Cyclo reminded him about the payment. Demos told him not to worry and moved on to the next topic. Demos said he didn't believe Cyclo was a criminal. Cyclo was surprised and asked if that meant he was wrongly accused. Demos said yes. He had checked the trial records and found them full of problems. To him, calling an SSS ranked adventurer a criminal based on those records didn't make sense. He wanted to say more, but since it was getting late, he invited Cyclo to stay for dinner. He also said his son would be glad. Cyclo tried to say no, but then saw Cruz looking sad, so he agreed, and Cruz looked happier. As the food was being served, Demos continued talking. He said he didn't know what the capital had decided, but in his land, where they had their own rules, Cyclo was free. He told Cyclo he could accept requests like normal. Cyclo stayed quiet for a moment, then called Demos a weirdo. Demos said he heard that often. When all the food was ready, Cruz said he wanted Cyclo to try all of Northfolia's special dishes. Cyclo thanked him. He couldn't even remember the last time he had a real meal. His body didn't feel hungry anymore because it had been fixed at a certain time. He didn't need food, but he still ate some. To his surprise, he felt something warm and familiar. He kept eating the soup and bread. It had been a long time since he had eaten real food, and it tasted so good that he started crying. Demos and Cruz just smiled and asked if he wanted more. Cyclo wiped his tears and asked if he could. For now, he felt he could trust these people, at least a little. After the meal, Demos went ahead with his final request, something only an SSS ranked adventurer like Cyclo could do. He wanted Cyclo to explore the deep hole. Cyclo agreed right away, knowing that it would help him grow stronger too. It was like solving 2 problems at once. Demos was happy to hear that, but his real goal was to completely conquer the deep hole. Fully conquering a dungeon meant beating the guardian that protected the deepest floor and shutting down the dungeon's power. When a dungeon was conquered, the traps disappeared, the number of monsters dropped, and the whole dungeon slowly stopped working. Cyclo asked if that was really okay. After all, Northfolia had become rich and strong because of the dungeon. Demos admitted that was true. The land's success had grown with the dungeon, but the disasters that hit the land also came from the deep hole. Cyclo remembered how monsters once poured out from the dungeon in an event called a stampede. He also pointed out that Northfolia had to rely on the dungeon's resources just to fight off those threats. If fully conquering the dungeon could lower the danger, then Demos would be thankful for his help. Cyclo imagined a monster from the middle floors destroying the whole city alone. He remembered the kind people he had met in Northfolia. That helped him decide. He agreed to take on the 3rd request and asked what the reward would be. Demos calmly told him to name his price. Cyclo asked if he really meant it. Demos promised to give any reward Cyclo wanted, as long as it was something he could provide. That made the mission clear. They had to conquer the deep hole to protect the people from future monster attacks. Cyclo smiled for a moment and said that Demos was not like other nobles. Demos was glad to hear that, but he also told Cyclo there was one more thing he needed to complete the conquest: a party. Cyclo suddenly felt angry. He didn't understand why he needed others when he could handle the dungeon alone. Then memories of Maria and Alice came back to him. He told Demos that he was done trusting people who might betray him. Demos had expected that answer, so he recommended a place where Cyclo might meet people he could trust. Cyclo went to a place that didn't look like what a nobleman would have suggested. He expected it to be fancy, but it wasn't. Demos had suggested buying slaves who were controlled by subjugation magic. That way they would be at least a little more trustworthy. Cyclo thought that made sense. Not long after, a slave trader greeted Cyclo with a smile. He asked what kind of slaves Cyclo wanted. Cyclo explained that he needed slaves for dungeon exploring, and they had to be bound by subjugation magic. The shop was located just behind the Adventurers Guild, so there was a cycle happening. Some slaves became adventurers, and some adventurers ended up as slaves. Cyclo couldn't help but think the guildmaster must be unusual for letting this happen. The slave trader soon brought out a group of strong-looking male slaves and even a dog. They were former B and C ranked adventurers. One bald man joked that he was just babysitting someone in a dungeon and called it an easy job. Cyclo saw that this man was the strongest of the group, but he seemed full of pride and arrogance. Their skills were about the same as Cyclo's, so he asked to see another group of slaves. After a while, Cyclo realized the ex-adventurers weren't useful. None of them could handle the deeper parts of the deep hole. The slave trader began to worry that none of the slaves were good enough for Cyclo. That's when Cyclo decided to change what he was looking for. He no longer wanted strength. He wanted someone who was obedient and easy to work with. The trader then explained that aside from adventurers, there were 3 kinds of slaves that worked well with subjugation magic: criminal slaves, pleasure slaves, and status slaves. Cyclo became interested in the last one. The trader explained that status slaves were people who were either born into that role or forced into it by law. The slaves in this group had been demoted because of their job skills. Cyclo was surprised to hear that and asked the trader to bring one out. The trader asked if he was sure, and Cyclo, getting annoyed, told him to do it already. The trader came back and said he didn't usually do this, but he could show one of their slaves. He covered his nose as a dirty girl walked in with chains around her wrists. Cyclo's eyes opened wide when he saw her. She looked familiar. The trader said her job skill was heretic. When Cyclo looked at her face closely, he realized she was the same girl he saw before at the garbage dump. He used his skill to analyze her again and found out she had been living in the trash ever since. Cyclo got angry and asked why she was being treated like this. The trader simply said it was because of the law. He explained that the Church of Skill Selection had ruled that anyone with a skill that went against their faith should not be treated like a human. Cyclo was furious. He remembered how he also suffered after getting the clock user skill. He used to think no one had it worse than him, but now he couldn't believe he had felt sorry for himself. At least he still had the freedom to live like a normal person. Cyclo began to question everything: the country, the religion, and even the god who allowed this system to exist. He thought it was wrong that people were judged only by their job skills. The trader assumed the girl wasn't good enough for Cyclo, but Cyclo surprised him by saying he wanted to buy her. The trader looked shocked and confused. Cyclo told him to go ahead with the sale. After the trader left, Cyclo got down on one knee in front of the girl and smiled. He asked her name. The girl's eyes lit up and she said her name was Miss Carmine. Cyclo moved his hand and Mist flinched and shut her eyes. He said Mist was a nice name and told her his own name. When he gently tapped her head, he saw that she was shaking. He realized she was scared, which made sense after all she had been through. He wanted her to know she was safe now. Cyclo promised he would never hurt her and gave her a hug. Mist looked confused, unsure of how to react. Cyclo then made a vow. He said he would protect her from now on, and if anyone tried to hurt her, he would stop them. He promised, and this time he meant it. Mist slowly stopped shaking. She felt calmer and thanked him. Soon the slave trader came back with the subjugation contract. He told Cyclo to pour his mana into the magic circle to finish it. Cyclo calmly did so, but his power was so strong that it surprised the trader. A glowing mark then appeared on Mist's neck. The trader explained that it was proof of the contract. To give Mist commands, Cyclo only had to use mana and speak. The trader also said that the mark could cause pain if strong mana was used even from far away. Cyclo said he didn't think he would ever need that, but he would remember it. Once the contract was complete, Cyclo asked Mist to come with him. Mist said his hand would get dirty if he kept holding her arm. Cyclo told her not to worry because from now on they were going to be companions. In a flashback, Mist had decided to work hard again by helping a priest. She cleaned the windows of the church. The old priest was worried she might be cold, but Mist told him she was fine and asked if there was anything else she could do. The priest told her to go home because it was already late. He said that someone as good as her would surely be watched over by God and would one day receive a special skill. Mist went home with those words in her heart. When she got home, her mother scolded her for being late and for going out without permission. She told Mist to clean the house while she was gone. She complained that children were just a burden. That night, Mist only had leftover scraps for dinner. Still, she thought it was okay. She believed that if she kept being good, she would be rewarded someday. But during her coming of age ceremony, Mist received a heretic skill. Everyone around her was shocked. Mist asked the priest what her skill meant, but the kind man who once cared for her no longer wanted her near. The people were terrified that someone with a cursed skill had appeared. Mist was stunned. She believed she had behaved better than anyone else and had worked so hard. Yet in the end, not even God helped her. She looked toward her mother, who stood among the crowd, but all she got was a cold and angry stare. At that moment, Mist began to believe she had always been a bad person, someone who should never have been born. She started to apologize for being alive. She was soon sold to a slave trader and made to live among trash. She kept saying sorry for being born. One day, the slave trader told her that someone was interested in a heretic like her. Mist opened her eyes slowly and saw someone she had spoken to before. She didn't understand why he came for her. When he reached out his hand, she thought he would hit her, but instead he gave her the warmest pat she had ever felt. He told her not to be afraid because he wouldn't hurt her, but Mist believed he was wrong. She still thought she was a bad person. That belief started to break when the man, Cyclo, gently promised to protect her. He said he would never let anyone harm her because of her skill. He asked her to be brave. Mist reached out and held his hand. For the first time, she felt something change inside. No one had ever stood by her. Not her mother, not the people in her town, not even God. Cyclo was the first person to say he would be on her side. From that moment on, Mist chose to move forward for her master's sake. He gave her the strength to fight against the fate she had already accepted. She cried and silently thanked Cyclo. The two traveled by carriage to an unknown place. Mist eventually fell asleep and Cyclo gently woke her up. She said sorry for dozing off, but he told her it was okay. She asked where they were and he said they had just arrived at the estate of the Lord of Northfolia. She was surprised, and he explained that they needed the Lord's help for a few things. When they reached the front door, Cruz happily greeted Cyclo. He asked about the girl and Cyclo said Mist was part of his team. He added that he came to ask for a favor. Cyclo still saw Cruz as someone cheerful like a friendly dog, while Mist thought Cruz looked like a princess. Cruz said it was no problem and even offered to get some clothes ready for Mist. She was confused about where they were going, but they ended up in a bath area. Cruz told them to take their time and relax. Mist was surprised. Cyclo asked if she wanted to bathe together and offered to watch her back. Mist became embarrassed. Cyclo laughed a little and said she still seemed like a child. He guessed she was very tired and might not be safe alone in a big bath. Mist stayed quiet for a moment, then asked how old he thought she was. Cyclo guessed she was around 10 and asked why. Mist told him she was actually 17. Cyclo was shocked and said sorry, but Mist told him it was fine. They both stayed quiet for a while. Cyclo apologized again for the age mistake, but he explained he still thought it would be dangerous for her to be alone. He promised he had no bad thoughts and wouldn't do anything wrong. While they bathed, Mist thought her master was a strange person. She saw that he was trying hard not to make her uncomfortable, but he still cared about her safety. She told him it would have been easier if he just gave her an order. Cyclo understood what she meant, but he didn't want to use commands for something like that. He wanted her to be as free as possible. Mist started crying again. When Cyclo asked why, she said it was nothing. She just felt happy that her master could be so kind. Cyclo blushed when he saw her smile and felt a little flustered. Afterwards, Cyclo drank some tea while he waited for Mist. When Mist arrived, she was wearing a dress. Cyclo said it looked good on her and she thanked him. She shared that the people in the mansion dressed her using Cruz's old clothes and even fixed her hair. She felt it was more than she deserved. Cyclo only smiled. He then wanted to talk about her health. Mist didn't know what he meant. Cyclo searched his clock storage and found something. Mist guessed it was part of her master's skill. Cyclo brought out some energy cubes and explained that they were made from his life energy. He asked her to eat them. Mist was confused and asked if he was serious. He said they were special and told her to trust him. Mist was unsure because they didn't look like food and her eyes were starting to tear up from worry. Cyclo asked her to believe in him. Because he was her master, Mist didn't hesitate and put one in her mouth. She was surprised that it tasted sweet and made her feel lighter. Then her body started to shine and she said she felt warm. Cyclo hugged her and told her it meant her body was healing quickly. Mist's weak and thin body began to change. It was as if time sped up for her. Her body, which looked like that of a 10-year-old, now looked like that of a 17-year-old. Cyclo was shocked by how much she changed. He helped her to a mirror. When Mist saw herself, she was surprised. Cyclo reminded her how powerful the cubes were. She agreed and said they were amazing. She also thought Cyclo was amazing, like a god. He said that was too much, but to Mist it wasn't. Her life had changed in just one day, and her heart was full of happiness. After that, Cyclo went straight to the main reason he brought Mist. He told her he needed someone to go with him while exploring dungeons as an adventurer. Because of that, he gave her just one order. Mist clenched her fist, wondering what it could be. At the same time, Cyclo thought about the women who didn't believe in him before. His only order was for Mist to believe in him, no matter what. Mist was surprised and asked if that was really all. Cyclo said he didn't need anything else. She then sat in front of him with her back turned and showed her crest. She guessed that Cyclo had been through something difficult too, but believed he could relax now. Cyclo placed the order on her and said sorry. Mist said it was okay and held his hand. She said that even without the slave command, she promised to keep believing in him. Cyclo stayed quiet for a moment, then thanked her. Meanwhile, at the Adventurers Guild, a woman wearing a hood walked to the front desk and asked if anything interesting had happened while they were away. Other adventurers nearby talked about how she was part of an all S-ranked team. The receptionist then told her about a skilled adventurer who had just returned from the unexplored parts of the deep hole. The woman was surprised, then smiled. She asked to hear more about the story. Soon after, Cyclo told Mist it was time to try using her skill, so they went outside together. Mist looked worried and asked if it would be safe. She said her skill was called Heretic, and if it turned out to be dangerous, it might hurt Cyclo or the people in the mansion. Cyclo called her kind and told her it would be okay. He promised to handle whatever happened. His words helped Mist feel calmer and she said she was ready. Cyclo said he would send some mana into her and told her to try and feel the change. That was how she could learn to sense mana. Mist said she would do her best. When he started, she made a small sound. Cyclo asked if she was okay. Mist said she was just a little surprised. He focused again. Normally people learn to sense mana when they got their job skill. Cyclo wondered if no one had taught Mist this before. Mist then asked if something was wrong. Cyclo asked how it was going and Mist said she was starting to get it. He praised her for learning quickly. Mist looked shy and said she felt embarrassed but didn't mind when he patted her head. Cyclo thought she looked cute. He told her the next step was to move the mana around inside her body. He explained that there were places where mana flowed and that her skill would be found in one of those spots. Some people believed it was connected to the soul. He thought this part was hard for most people, but he was willing to wait. To his surprise, Mist said she had found it. She said it was inside her, but it felt like it was also nowhere. It was a strange feeling. Cyclo told her that was the right spot and told her to send mana into it. Mist followed his instructions and activated her Heretic skill. It was a skill that people usually fear. A huge magic circle appeared above them. Cyclo realized it was a holy magic healing spell that covered a large area. He recognized it as Holy Heal. Excited, he hugged Mist and said she was amazing. Mist shouted in surprise, saying her skill was like that of a saint. Cyclo said it was rare to even use holy magic at all. Most people started with simple single-target healing spells. He repeated how incredible her skill was and hugged her again. Mist said he was squeezing her too tightly. Cyclo apologized and said he would be more careful. Mist activated her second skill. A large barrier formed around them. Cyclo looked closely and realized it was barrier magic, a type of defensive shield. He was shocked she could already use intermediate level magic. He then explained that Mist's abilities were split between light magic and holy magic. Both were known for for offense and support. Mist was surprised that Cyclo knew so much about her skills. Cyclo stayed quiet for a moment, then shared that he once had a fiancé with a holy type job skill. Miss noticed his expression was the same as when he told her to trust him no matter what. She realized it was something she shouldn't ask about again. She said nothing more and instead activated her third skill. Cyclo grew excited, expecting something powerful. Miss focused and explained that she could fix different things with this skill. Cyclo asked what she meant. She gave examples like making a nearby flower healthy again or removing a curse from her master's hair. Cyclo paused, then shared his concern that her third skill might be restoration magic, a legendary spell said to restore anything. Miss was shocked and asked if she really had such power. Cyclo said he had only heard of it before. He wondered if those were her only skills, but Miss said she had 2 more. Cyclo thought for a moment. Even saints were only known to have 4 skills. Miss had 5, and each one was as strong as or even stronger than a saint's. Holy magic users were rare and respected by the church, so he didn't understand why Miss was rejected by them. He began to question if the skill selection ritual was truly accurate, but in the end he no longer cared. What mattered now was Mist's power. He asked her to activate her 4th skill. When she did, a pair of transparent wings appeared on Cyclo's back. Mist apologized for the sudden effect, but Cyclo told her not to worry. He felt stronger, and Miss said the skill also weakened enemies around them. Cyclo realized it was a power that both helped allies and weakened opponents. When he asked how much mana it used, Miss said it was more than the previous 3 skills. Knowing that, Cyclo suggested saving it for special situations. He decided to call it Sanctuary. Miss seemed confused at first, but Cyclo explained that naming a skill could make it stronger. It helped the caster picture the effect clearly. He said the name meant something like a sacred domain. Miss liked the name and thanked him. Cyclo smiled and told her she could name it herself, but Miss said she already liked the one he gave. Soon, the boost effect wore off. Cyclo explained that some skills had lingering effects while others didn't. He told her there were 2 kinds of skills, active and passive. Active skills needed mana to activate. Passive skills were always working in the background. Miss understood that her magic worked because she had passive skills in holy and light magic. Cyclo praised her for learning quickly. Miss then chose to show her final skill. As soon as she activated it, she felt lighter on her feet. Cyclo asked her to try jumping. With very little effort, Miss jumped much higher than expected. Cyclo caught her and guessed the final skill might be related to physical strength or weapon handling. He suggested they visit the town later to look for weapons and armor. Miss asked if her skills would be useful to him. Cyclo said her talent was even greater than a saint's. Miss was happy to hear that and asked him to put her down. Cyclo apologized. After that, the 2 went back to eat lunch. Still, hearing the word saint brought back memories for Cyclo, but he reminded himself not to think about the past anymore. They had already chosen to walk different paths from that day on. That is the end of the recap at chapter 11. Please read the pinned comment about the next part. 600 years ago, a man named Wilfred Vermilia was bestowed with the power to destroy all forms of magic. As the only man who could wield this power alone, he was able to subjugate the demon lord. Fast forward to now, times have changed, and this era is now known as the Golden Age of Magic. How will our hero fare in this world with his magic destruction? This is the story of how Hollow Vermilla fought back and became the strongest sword user in the prevalent age of magic. Let's begin with the day that changed the trajectory of Hollow's life forever. It was a fine day at the Vermilla Manor, but unlike the kind weather, Hollow's father, Rigard Vermilla, is strict and ruthless. The Vermilla patriarch orders his stand to stand up while a young Hollow follows suit, determined even though weakened. Currently, the family is conducting a magic attribute test, led by their father. The older man looks on at Hollow, hoping his son would overcome this so he could learn magic along with his other brothers. Hollow knows this. Despite feeling weak, he stands up to prove his worth. Suddenly, his vision starts to turn. The images of their instructor, Mrs. Sarah, and his older brothers, Arlen and Quen, are starting to get blurry. Hollow folds over and throws up with his father instantly lashing out at his disgraceful behavior. Mrs. Sarah knows these symptoms and tells the older man it's an oversensitivity to magic. The latter turns to her in confusion, asking what that is, as Mrs. Sarah explains. Usually magic substances are found in a human's body. This magic is then used to draw energy from the surroundings and polish it into spells before releasing the honed energy. The accuracy of the spell is dependent on the amount of magic the individual possesses, and in Hollow's case, his body can't handle the magic inside him, which is why his body rejected it. However, Mrs. Sarah also points out that Hollow may also have magic or something related to that sort. When Hollow's father heard this, he told his son that all the power inside him came at the cost of losing his mother's life. Flashback to the day Hollow was born. His brothers Quen and Arlen sob over their mother's lifeless body, as Rigard informs the appraiser that his wife had just breathed her last. The older man felt sad and quickly explained that the newborn Hollow is in excellent health. He adds that even though the official ceremony for magic users isn't held yet, he knows that Hollow has magic abilities that far surpass his siblings. The power may be frightening, but it belonged to his wife, Una Vermilla. Upon hearing that, Rigard Vermilla cradles Hollow in his arms. A bitter smile plastered on his face as he tells him this very child is the compensation for his wife's life. Back to the magic attribute test. Hollow's father couldn't believe his third son couldn't even use magic, given how the boy is said to possess such power. And just when the Vermilla patriarch intended to make Hollow the next family head, he was so angry that he told Hollow that he was no different from domestic livestock. Mrs. Sarah intervenes. That's way below the belt, calling his own son as such. But Rigard only silenced her. With renewed anger, he turns to Hollow and tells his youngest son that people who can't even use magic are not needed in the house of Vermilla. Upon hearing that, the eldest Vermilla son, Arlen, perks up. What does father mean by this? By this time, Rigard Vermilla brandished a wand out of his coat pocket and wrote an insignia that instantly lit up. The insignia was a double X struck in the middle, a mark that would brand Hollow as a useless being. Rigard glares at his son as he imbues young Hollow with the brand that will mark his incompetence. Arlen tries to stop his father, but Quen blocks him, saying this is Hollow's punishment for taking their mother away. Hollow starts to cry as he sees no one will help him just as the magic circle lights up the ground from where he kneels, while his father casts the spell. With tears in his eyes, Hollow stares at his freshly branded hand while his father walks away. Without looking back, Rigard tells him that the Vermilla name is one that carries the legacy of heroes. As such, it contains the spirit and will to protect the country and the people, with their dignity relying on demonstrating bravery. How is Hollow going to represent all of that if he can't even use magic? Finally, Rigard turns and tells his son to prove his worth with his own hands for the sake of others. To Hollow, he poses one last question. What will Hollow do with that body of his? Fast forward 5 years later. Hollow is back in the same courtyard practicing with Mrs. Sarah. Now 10 years old, Hollow's moves are faster and swifter as he spars with Mrs. Sarah. It didn't take long for our hero to disarm his instructor as Mrs. Sarah concedes. Hollow, this cinnamon roll too pure for this world, jumps for joy. It's his 158th win with 242 losses this year. Mrs. Sarah also has her pride, claiming it's only a matter of time before he can fully catch up to her. But Hollow's already gearing up for another round. Mrs. Sarah wipes the sweat off her face, explaining that she's no longer the young lady who had the stamina she used to have as the swordsman who led the imperial capital. Still, Mrs. Sarah couldn't believe that he'd improved this much by his age. It's as if he decided to focus on honing his swordsmanship skills ever since it was discovered that he's incompatible with magic. Now sword fighting is all he focuses on, leaving Mrs. Sarah admiring the boy. Hollow tells his instructor that he'll fetch water for them while Mrs. Sarah checks on Quen's practice. For his exercise, she asks him to work on the trajectory control of his magic. The older Vermilla boy smirks as he boasts of the result of his magic training. He lights a fireball, but instead of flying straight to the target, the fireball swerves and is about to hit Hollow, who happens to be passing by. Mrs. Sarah runs to him, checking to see if he's hurt, while Quen apologizes half-heartedly. To Mrs. Sarah's surprise, Hollow is unscathed with his sword unsheathed. She was surprised to see him unhurt. What's more, she even hurried over, but it seems Hollow dealt with that fireball despite the attack coming from his blind spot. This made her wonder if he dodged it, but from the looks of it, Hollow seems to have cut the fireball apart. Her thoughts get interrupted when Quen suddenly rushes over as he calls out to his older brother Arlen, just as Mrs. Sarah tells Quen that he'll be having an earful tomorrow. Then she turns to Hollow and tells him that he should also see Arlen. Since it's been a while since the eldest Vermilla went home, Hollow runs over to meet his older brother while Mrs. Sarah watches over his retreating figure. What happened just now reminded her of a fairy tale about a hero who was able to cut through magic as if it were destroyed. Could such an event be true? In the entrance hall, Quen happily welcomes Arlen, who reciprocates the greeting to him and their father. Rigard asks about Arlen's studies, with him answering that Rigrice Magical Academy is everything a high-level institution is all about. It's full of quality education with top-notch students. Rigard comments that he knows Arlen is the president of his class, commending his son for a job well done. While all three of them were talking, Hollow stood a few feet away from them, waiting for his chance to talk to Arlen. Finally, Arlen greets Hollow. He took one look at him and he couldn't comment on how his youngest brother is still skinny as ever. Arlen asks if Hollow still practices magic, and the latter affirms. Instead of showing support, Arlen reminds Hollow that he still has that condition, so it's best if he doesn't practice and throw up everything he ate. After all, Hollow's still a growing kid, so he needs to take care of his body. But more importantly, Arlen asks if Hollow is getting along fine with their father and Quen. Hollow replies that his father still doesn't acknowledge him, while Quen hates his guts. He breaks into a smile, admitting that it can't be helped since Hollow can't use use magic after all. Before he could say he was the cause of their mother's death, Arlen cut him off mid-sentence. The eldest Vermilla brother kneels in front of Hollow, explaining to him that their mother's death is not his fault. Even if he can't use magic, Hollow is born with the talent of swordsmanship, so he should take pride in it. He holds Hollow's hands in his, clasping them tightly and reminding our hero that he's Arlen's precious little brother. Hollow smiles genuinely this time as Arlen stands and asks the former if he's eating lunch with them. To that, our hero says he's not too sure, but maybe he'll just take some food for practice. At the mention of that, Arlen comments that Hollow seems to have improved so much while he's away and asks if the younger still goes to the Forest of Asbel. Hollow says he does, and what's more, he tells Arlen that he should watch out because he'll be surpassing his older brother soon, with the two going their separate ways. The Forest of Asbel is located on the north residence, and it's the only place where Hollow can have fun. Unknown to many, there's actually a secret dungeon in the hidden corners of the forest. One day, Hollow was exploring the area when he chanced upon a curious place. From the looks of it, the place seems to have been sealed off using magic and went unnoticed for many years. For Hollow, who has an oversensitivity toward magic, he managed to find the secret dungeon easily. For weeks, he roamed the dungeon and even fought a monster for the first time. This was his first battle, and he couldn't count the many things he learned from this alone. It was thanks to this place that Hollow was able to improve his swordsmanship compared to normal training. For today, he plans to explore the dungeon even further, and that's when he found himself in front of a giant closed door with chains crisscrossing at the front. He immediately knew that the place was protected by magic, which reminded him. The fireball that Quen fired earlier got deflected the moment he touched it with his sword. Looking at his hands, Hollow's pretty sure that he cut magic right then and there. He feels like he could do it, so without hesitation, he draws his sword and cuts through the chains. As someone who can't use magic, this confuses Hollow to no end, but since he's already here, he pushes the door open and sees a grand staircase that leads to a platform. On the landing, Hollow sees a dark sword stuck through, so he makes his way up, eye focused on the sword before him. Just when he was about to reach the landing, a loud voice booms and asks who he is. Poor Hollow was startled, looking around to where this voice was coming from. Just then, it speaks again, asking if he was the one who broke the seal and how he managed to find himself in the area. This time, our hero covers his ears and shouts, asking where the voice is. Is it a monster? He demands that the unknown entity show itself. But the voice asks again, just who is this person who managed to break the eternal silence? Hollow's patience is running thin as he shouts at the voice, asking them who they are and to get the heck out of his head. He was met with silence, and after a beat, the voice told him to calm down and look at what's in front of him. This time, it tells Hollow that it's a sword called Kasumi that has been sealed off. Our hero leans closer to the sword, asking it how it speaks, and when it does, Hollow becomes gleeful. It's his first time seeing a magic sword after all. Now that he's calmer, he asks why the sword was sealed, and the latter simply answers that it's a long story. There was a pregnant pause before Hollow asked if this sword is the very sword that once belonged to the Wizard King. It's a magic sword after all. Kasumi replies that it's not. If anything, this sword is the hero's sword that helped a famous swordsman accomplish many great feats. Okay, that sounds fishy. If this were a world-famous sword, Hollow questions why it's sealed in a secret dungeon. Kasumi replies that it's because the world is a better place without its existence. If anything, Kasumi didn't want to spend 600 years by herself after all. Despite this, Kasumi wants to leave this place and stand next to someone adventurous, so they could explore the world together. Unfortunately, the sword has seen its fair share of conflicts. Plus, wouldn't the world be a better place without Kasumi's existence? Hollow admits that the sword has a point, as he shares that the world still has its conflicts, and that this era no longer needs swords. It's the age of magic, so even Kasumi knows swords aren't needed by heroes anymore. Be that as it may, Hollow tells Kasumi that he needs a sword. He thought that if he could really cut magic, then he needed a sword. Remembering what his father told him when he branded his hand years ago, it was a no-brainer. So Hollow straight up asks Kasumi to be his sword. With him, Kasumi won't be useless anymore, and they can go through many adventures together. Well, Hollow can't exactly leave the mansion yet, but Kasumi stops him right there. He can't take the sword out. It's sealed, remember, and Hollow can't pull it out. But then again, Kasumi remembers that wasn't the entrance supposed to be sealed as well. Being the happy-go-lucky human that he is, Hollow grabs the sword handle and draws the sword, easy peasy, and he cut the seal at the entrance, remember? Seeing this unbelievable feat, Kasumi questions just what he is. This time, our hero formally introduces himself as Hollow Vermilla, the one who's going to be the world's strongest swordsman. Soon enough, Kasumi transforms into a long-haired pretty girl who topples on top of Hollow. Kasumi introduces herself, pleased to meet her new swordsman. Hollow never thought that he'd chance upon a black sword that could turn into a silver-haired maiden in the secret dungeon of the forest. To say Hollow is shocked is an understatement. His eyes widen at seeing Kasumi transform before his eyes. Kasumi, on the other hand, is pretty chill about it. It's only normal. I mean, she's just one of the 9 magic swords in the world, but compared to the others, she's a tad bit special. No biggie. Hollow gets even more excited, asking if there really are 9 more like her. That's where she's more special than others. She's the only one who can turn into a human. Plus, she really has no idea about the other swords, though. Congrats to Hollow. He just obtained a super rare item. Since Hollow removed her seal, she has no choice but to accompany Hollow, calling him master as she says so. The title leaves our hero flustered as he tells Kasumi that just Hollow is fine. Calling him as it is works just as well for her, and with that, a new partnership is formed. The only question is, how can he bring Kasumi home? Oh well, Hollow takes Kasumi back home in her sword form, wrapped in cloth. Once they stepped foot in the Vermilla castle, Kasumi couldn't believe the place. Was Hollow some sort of servant in this place? Our hero casually told her that he's actually the third son of the Vermilla Marquise, just as his father called out to him from behind. Rigard asks what he's holding, and Hollow answers that he found the sword in the armory while he was training. Upon hearing that, his father instantly loses interest and walks away, but Quen wants to stir up a fuss. His father tells him to drop it so that all Quen can say to Hollow is to quit fooling around. As they walk away, Kasumi asks if that was his father, with Hollow adding that the boy beside him is his second oldest brother Quen. But hey, at least they didn't take Kasumi away. Hollow goes straight to his room and fetches a meal for Kasumi. This prompts her to ask if he's treating her like a pet dog, catching Hollow off guard. That's not his intention at all, just as Kasumi points out that she'll go by without eating. She's a sword after all. Now that came as a shocker for Hollow, but since he had already gone through the trouble of getting her food, she might as well try some. This pleases him, so Hollow urges her to take a bite. To her surprise, she can actually taste the food, leaving Hollow relieved. Now this is something new. Kasumi pauses because she can't put a name to this somewhat familiar feeling, as if she'd already talked like this to someone else. Then again, maybe it's because she's been along for too long. Hollow notices the change in her attitude, prompting him to ask what's wrong. Kasumi shared that her memories are hazy, and it even feels like some of them have already faded away. Hollow replies that she'll remember soon enough. She did just wake up after all. More importantly, she pulls Kasumi and leads her to a stairwell, as Hollow shares with her his favorite spot. Both of them are at the top of the turret, admiring the view as Hollow tells her they should start making happy memories together. Soon enough, Kasumi slowly understood Hollow's situation in the Vermilla family, that he's left to fend for and take care of himself. For one, she asks him why he still studies by himself even if he has his own private tutors, and the latter replies that adults won't teach him about the outside world. He's even left to fix his own clothes as Kasumi sees him sewing, even though he's a noble. As usual, Hollow answers that it's because he doesn't get to have any servants. The poor kid is like the male version of Cinderella at this point. The only redeeming factor about Hollow's life is Mrs. Sarah. Kasumi finds her nice and appreciates her even more since it's all thanks to her that Hollow even knows about swordsmanship. Hollow agrees, and this is why meeting Kasumi made his life even more exciting. She didn't miss how everybody treated him indifferently just because he couldn't use magic. She tucks him into bed, assuring him that everything will be alright because she will be his sword. Just like that, the years went by quickly because now, Kasumi is woken up by a much older Hollow. Huh? She could have sworn he was just a little kid yesterday, but now he has the starting features of a young man. Kasumi's still groggy when Hollow turns and starts undressing before her. Now this wakes her up as she feels embarrassed. She forgot how humans grow quickly, while Hollow tells her they should go. On the way to training, he thinks about what Kasumi just said earlier. He was a child back then, huh? But ever since he met Kasumi, their daily morning practice has become a staple lesson. Kasumi even taught her the techniques of her previous wielders, and strangely enough, he feels as if he has become one with the sword due to its strange power. The more he practiced those techniques, the more Hollow got to experience the memories of Kasumi's previous battles. Even though he's still unsure about his condition, Hollow continued to practice magic. Just now, Mrs. Sarah arrives and comments on how the young master is turning 15 soon. Time sure flies fast, and with that, she turns to Hollow, saying this will be the last magic she'll teach him. Mrs. Sarah takes her wand out and instructs her student to watch. Meanwhile, all Hollow can think about is how grateful he is for her efforts to teach him not only swordsmanship, but also all kinds of magic in this world. Most importantly, Mrs. Sarah taught him how to fight all these kinds of magic just by using the sword. She chants, and as soon as she finishes, a whirlwind engulfs the area as all the leaves of the tree fall. She turns to Hollow, commending him for enduring how hard it was to learn magic, and despite all that, he has done well for the past 10 years. With that, she tells him this is the final magic lesson she teaches him, asking what he intends to do next. Later that day, the Vermilla Marquise finally sits for a meal together after a long while. They are joined by Mrs. Sarah, who who is also happy to see both Arlen and Quinn. Arlen shares that he just finished his night training with the chivalric order, which means that he'll be serving the royal palace starting next autumn. Quinn, on the other hand, happily shares that he got all all S's for his magic entrance exam, which is the first to happen at the academy. That's when Arlen notices Hollow deep in thought. So the former asks if his younger brother's not going to eat. At that, Hollow turns to his father and says he wants to tell him something. Rigard says nothing and only stares at Hollow, so the latter uses this as a cue to continue. Hollow starts by sharing that he has already finished his lessons with Mrs. Sarah today, and around this time, he knows he should be sent to the Royal Palace's academy for training like his elder brothers. To this, Hollow firmly tells his old man that he wants to become an adventurer. Both Arlen and Quen stood immediately, airing their objection to Hollow's wishes. For Quen, he finds the title embarrassing, angry that it's as if Hollow wants to bring shame to the family. For Arlen, he's more concerned about his younger brother's safety, especially since Hollow doesn't know how to use magic. He's not done airing his objection until Rigard slams his fist at the table, fuming as he explains that they've been going to great lengths just to hide a failure like him from the world. If word got out that he's taking this career, it would do irreparable damage to the Vermilla name. To that, Hollow says he will not use the Vermilla name. His father hangs his head, reminding his son of the brand on his left hand. Rigard tells him outright that no matter how much he trains, he will never be enough. Hollow still refuses to back down, pointing out that isn't that what his father asked him years ago. What will he do with that body of his? This caught Rigard off guard as Hollow proclaimed that nothing would change if he stayed locked up in the castle. There was a pregnant pause before Rigard agreed to it in a quiet voice. Arlen objects, but Rigard adds that Hollow will have to duel against Quen tomorrow. If he can manage to win against Quen with just his swordsmanship skills, then Rigard would allow him to leave the Vermilla home to become an adventurer or whatever he wants to be. Hollow asks his father for his word for it, while Quen just huffs. With that, our hero excuses himself from the dining table as Arlen calls out from behind that he can't win against Quen, who uses magic. As he closes the door to the dining hall, he can still hear Arlen argue with their father, but for Hollow, it's a success. Finally, he can fight against magic. No sooner had he entered the room than Kasumi came to greet him, proud of what he had just done. Hollow surprised. He didn't expect Kasumi to hear what transpired at the dining hall. Was she hiding somewhere? That she did. If anything, she's so happy to hear him air all of that out because he'll finally get to leave the castle. Unlike her, Hollow looks a little forlorn as he voices his concern. What if he can't win? After all, his training with Kasumi was done mainly with swords, and he has never fought a magic square in the face. On top of that, his opponent is Quen. Not to toot that guy's horn, but he's somewhat good at it, so what if he can't rise to the challenge? Worst case scenario, it'll just prove that he's useless even with the sword. Suddenly, Kasumi grabs his face to stop him from being so negative, while still holding him close. She asks if he remembers what he told her the first time they met, about how they'll go outside and go on adventures together. Before he could answer, Kasumi knelt beside him, promising our hero that she would prove his strength and that she would always be with him. That was more than enough to lift his mood. He stood and extended his hand, also saying sorry to her for venting out. With that, he asks Kasumi to lend him her strength. The next day, Quen and Hollow stand face to face at the training grounds, with Mrs. Sarah, Rigard, and Arlen standing at the sides. Mrs. Sarah tries to appeal one last time to stop the duel, citing that it's reckless to conduct a sword versus magic fight. Arlen shares the same sentiment, telling his father they could still resolve this through discussion, but Rigard won't budge. If anything, the Vermilla Patriarch notes that Hollow is serious about this, and he also wants to see where his two sons stand with their current power. Meanwhile, the two stand opposite each other, waiting for the opportune moment. While waiting, Quen thinks about how much he has hated Hollow ever since he was born. After all, their youngest killed their mother, taking her away from them. Quen can still remember back when she was still alive, when they spent every waking day filled with joy since everyone was loved. Ever since their mother passed, the Vermilla home has been filled with nothing but a dark atmosphere, and in the middle of it all was Hollow. Ever since Hollow came into the world, everything revolved around him. He became known for many things: the memento of Lady Yuna, the successor of the Vermilla family, a child from the heavens, and the greatest retention of magic power of all time. Once, Quen overheard the servants talking about how Hollow took all of Lady Yuna's power. As a child, he believed those rumors to be true. Quen's long list of grievances against Hollow didn't stop there because not only did the latter kill their mother, but Hollow can't even use magic. Back to the present. Quen makes the first move and shoots a fireball. Hollow is ready for his attack, sword already drawn before he moves swiftly away from Quen's line of sight. You see, fireballs are projectiles that move at uniform speed with a max range of 80 meters. Hollow commends his older brother for controlling the distance between them, but our hero is on the move. Moreover, Hollow has an in-depth knowledge about this technique and likes its casting time and trajectory, the latter dependent on the angle and flick of the wand. As long as he can predict the movement of the wand, he can dodge the attack just fine. Hollow evades all of Quen's attacks, leaving the latter reeling in disbelief at how this failure can move closer despite his barrage of attacks. Hollow is laser focused on moving closer since the weakness of the sword is its range. On the other hand, magic users have control of the distance and can take down their opponent anytime, even at the start of the battle. Because of this, magic users' worst enemies are close combat. All of these attributes are Hollow's signature tactics. Hollow braves through the flames, and before long, he's just a few feet away from a now panicking Quen. But just as Hollow was about to reach him, Quen put up a mud wall, blocking Hollow's attack. Once again, he's reminded that Quen is a double attributed magic user, a rare talent in this world. Hollow doesn't even see his older brother use earth-type magic much. The sudden rush of mud wall left Hollow scratched, but nothing too bad. In true Hollow fashion, he's even happy and excited because this is how he expected his brother Quen to fight. Unlike Hollow, his older brother is horrified and upset. Is this kid mocking him? From the other side of the wall, Quen attacks Hollow using sand spear and sand bullets, which the latter evades skillfully. As for Quen, he's going in blind, attacking just by vibes since he can't see crap on the other side of the wall. Even Arlen tells Mrs. Sarah to move back since Quen's making a dangerous ploy, while their father remains quiet and observant. As for Hollow, he notices that Quen's getting desperate with his blind attacks. Despite his older brother still unleashing his techniques, Hollow just went straight for it and ran straight to the wall. He grips Kasumi tightly as he cuts the wall in two, parting it like Moses did with the Red Sea, leaving everybody, most especially Quen, in shock. At that very moment, memories came flooding into Quen's mind, like the day their father told the servants that Hollow's existence would be kept a secret from the world. The servants felt bad for Hollow, but Rigard was strict. Meanwhile, Quen rejoiced in his mind since he believed Hollow deserved it for being useless and a non-magic user. He also remembers the time one of the servants told Hollow that he would be doing his chores by himself. The servant tries to lighten the news, saying it's for Hollow's sake, while Quen snickers from the background. Instead of throwing a tantrum or getting mad, Hollow just smiles and says he'll give it a try. There's also that other time when Mrs. Sarah discovered that Hollow has a talent for swordsmanship, but for Quen, they thought his younger brother was just being praised because he couldn't use magic. Even Arlen praised Hollow's sword skills, but for Quen, he always saw his brother as talentless, defective, and useless. But more importantly, he can't understand the anger welling up inside him. Quen believes he's superior, more worthy, and overall better than Hollow. And yet why is his youngest brother towering over him right now? Back to the present. Hollow has the tip of his sword pointed at Quen's neck. Checkmate. Only their loud pants can be heard as the mud wall crumbles from behind. Now that he thought about it, Hollow realized that this was the first time he and Quen ever bickered. Huh? From behind, Arlen and Mrs. Sarah rush over to them with Rigard trailing not too far behind. At that moment, Quen locks eyes with their father just as Hollow finally lowers his sword, beaming as he says he had fun. Quen couldn't even form an answer and gripped his wand tightly, just as Mrs. Sarah helped him up. Later, Arlen and Mrs. Sarah see Hollow off, with the older Vermilla close to begging to let him accompany our hero, at least until they reach the Imperial capital. But Hollow declines. Besides, he's been by himself for the longest time. Arlen tells him to write letters, while Mrs. Sarah says he should drop by and visit her if he ever finds himself at the Imperial capital. Unlike the two, Rigard remained on the balcony, overlooking their goodbyes. Hollow bids his father farewell and leaves without looking back. Ever since the mark was imprinted on his left hand, Hollow decided that he would fight against this world. With Kasumi tucked neatly on his hip, Hollow walks forward proudly, determined to carve his own path. Finally, the great outdoors. The mere sight of geese flying above makes Kasumi all giddy, whereas Hollow is more concerned if she's not getting tired. She can have it easy and have him carry her as a sword, you know? The silver-haired maiden assures him that she's fine. Besides, she also wants to walk beside Hollow. If anything, shouldn't he be the one getting hotter with his hood on? Hollow keeps his hood on since they're still on Vermillion grounds, and he can't exactly risk exposing himself. They're not too far out from the mansion, but the locals were curious enough about the two of them, making him wonder if travelers are not that common in their land. He can't use the Vermilla name, which is why keeping a low profile is a must. Still, Hollow thought it would have been nice if he had seen other villages around the area. Just then, they saw a carriage in the middle of the road. Hollow wonders if there's a problem with it, and as if on cue, the older man standing right by the carriage carriage side at the problem they have. Hollow and Kasumi approach the older man asking what the problem is, so the man fills them in that their carriage got stuck in the drain. A short-haired girl explains that they can't help with lifting the carriage since she's a fire-type user, while her companion behind her is a water-type user. Hollow goes over the carriage and checks it briefly before suggesting he can help lift it. The short-haired girl beamed. So is he going to help lift it using earth-type or wind-type magic? Hollow flat out tells her that he can't use magic, but he is confident in his own strength. The girl burst out laughing. There's no way Hollow can lift that thing. The other girl was more respectful, asking our hero how much he could actually lift. Their reaction made Kasumi angry. If Hollow says he can do it, then he can do it. They shouldn't be so quick to judge without even seeing what he can do. Unlike her, Hollow's pretty chill about it and suggests they should just show them. The two girls only exchanged looks while Kasumi told them that they should be compensated nicely once they got the carriage out. Hollow gets into position, and after counting to 2, manages to lift the carriage off the anal to the girls and older man's shock. What in the Herculean effort was that? They were left speechless just as the short-haired girl finally let out a loud, "It was all easy peasy for Hollow though," while Kasumi behind her brags about our hero. The older man thanks Hollow though, honestly speaking, even he wasn't sure the young man could lift it. Meanwhile, the short-haired girl still finds it hard to believe since that carriage isn't something a normal human can lift. The older man asks if Hollow and Kasumi are travelers, with the latter confirming and saying they're on their way to Ridwell. As thanks for their efforts, both Hollow and Kasumi are given a ride, with Hollow asking if they're going to Ridwell too. He briefly shares that he lives alone and wants to become an adventurer. The older man tells him that the two girls are actually adventurers, and they're having their cargo transferred. The short-haired girl introduces herself as Karen, while the other is Cheyenne. Both of them recently got promoted to Azure class adventurers. Kasumi echoed the term, so they showed them an Azure tag that indicates they belong to the Azure class. You see, adventurers are categorized into different classes, and there are 8 of them. By order from the start, adventurers go from white and red for beginners, azure and purple for intermediate, rainbow and silver for advanced, gold for eminent, and finally platinum for legendary. Enumerating them like this may seem like there are a lot of adventurers, but in reality there aren't many adventurers above rainbow class. Regardless, Hollow finds both of them amazing, especially Cheyenne, since he has never encountered a water-type magic user before. Cheyenne finds it hard to control though, since water-type magic can be pretty strong. It's one of the reasons why she hesitated in helping with the carriage earlier. Karen explains that their duo specializes in attack magic as well, which is why they couldn't really help out even if they tried. What Hollow did earlier was a real lifesaver. Water and fire-type magic are the basic elements, but these two can be effectively used in battle. Hollow starts rambling about how these two can be used as great defense and support. If anything, he thinks that the magic types that derive from other elements are pretty interesting, like wind or lightning. Kasumi backs away, seeing how Hollow is already in his magic nerd mode. Karen finds it peculiar that someone who is not a magic user can be so passionate about it. Cheyenne scolds her for this, telling Karen that she shouldn't be so tactless. Hollow's pretty fine with her honesty, explaining that he's born with a body that can't handle magic. So to get better at the sword, he decides to become an adventurer. Karen leans closer and with a serious look, asks Hollow if he has ever cut down someone. Hollow didn't expect such a question thrown his way, but before he could reply, Karen tells him that there's more to becoming an adventurer. There will come a time when he'll come across monsters when they're exploring, and he also has to fight people. She points out that it's not something he can do without having the resolve for it. She's not trying to dishearten him or be disrespectful, but Karen wasn't able to finish her sentence as their carriage crashed. What's happening? Karen calls out to the older man, who is actually her father, to see if he's in danger. The older man could only warn them for a brief second as he cried bandits before he was pulled away. Karen and Cheyenne get up, instructing Hollow and Kasumi to stay put, even though our hero wanted to see what was happening outside. Outside, the carriage is surrounded by a group of bandits, and they have taken Karen's father hostage, as they demand to hand over the carriage. Karen took a quick sweep of the group and counted 13 bandits before finally yelling back to make them return her father. Seeing both Karen and Cheyenne, the bandits underestimate them and get excited seeing how gorgeous the two are. Karen and Cheyenne both draw their wands, with the latter pissed off because men always say the same thing once they see them. Karen tells her partner they should show these lowlifes what they're made of. Despite being outnumbered, the ladies didn't back down and brace themselves, unleashing a flurry of their magic. From the carriage, Hollow watches as he finally witnesses a magic battle between many users at once. He quickly notices how the bandits' coordination is pretty strong, so Kasumi suggests they help them out. But wait, Hollow sees how both Karen and Cheyenne can hold their ground. The bandits start to fall one by one against the girls' teamwork. Karen's flames refuse to be put out, burning the bandits. Karen and Cheyenne overpower them despite their number, and it just makes Hollow circle back to the question Karen asked earlier. Until now, all our hero ever did was spar with other people. He's not prepared to cut down someone, unlike Karen and Cheyenne. As much as he hates to, he admits it. It's just like Karen said. Hollow hasn't found his resolve yet. Suddenly a new voice joins the fray, and before long, Cheyenne finds herself trapped in ice. One of the bandits is an ice-type user. Just her luck, huh? 2 more men join the fight, with the younger one pointing his wand at Cheyenne. The older man tells them that they'll play with them for a bit since he's bored, and that's when the two finally recognize his face. It's Oz Quartz. He's a wanted man with an A-class bounty, just as Oz tells them he quite fancies feisty women. Karen attacks him with flame pillar, but it's countered with ice magic. Moreover, Karen's flames are starting to disappear, unlike before. Oz approaches her, commending Karen for being quite the fighter that she is. She tries attacking her again, but this time using astral flame, but it's also countered with ice bullet. She may be fast, but they're faster and way ahead of her. With her dominant arm and wand frozen, Karen can only stand still as Oz zaps her with thunder magic. The older man enjoys the scene, saying she'll be immobilized forever once she's hit by his thunder again. Back at the carriage, Kasumi tells Hollow to decide now if he's going to help or not. By now, Oz has moved even closer to Karen, excited to spend time with her. Just as Kasumi asked our hero what they were there for. Suddenly, something moves so fast it wedged the space between Karen and Oz, as Hollow finally made his entrance. With his blade drawn, he places himself between Karen and the Oz. Thanks to Kasumi's help, Hollow finally made up his mind. It doesn't matter if he cuts anyone or not. The only thing that matters is why he chose to swing his sword. From the back, Karen tells him that Oz is not someone he can defeat, with Cheyenne urging Hollow to run. On the other hand, the bandits aren't too worried over Hollow. He's just some brat after all. He orders everyone to kill Hollow, but our hero sprang high in the air out of harm's way. As soon as he lands, he cuts down multiple enemies at once, so they decide to attack him while he's in midair. Hollow braces himself and cuts through their magic, along with his attackers, before making his way to the ice-type magic user. The latter fires ice bullets multiple times toward Hollow, but he cuts them down each time. Oz keeps his distance and observes Hollow's fighting technique. But more importantly, what did the kid do with his sword? He didn't expect that there would be someone out there who could actually react to their magic this way. Just as Hollow finally takes down the ice magic user and turns his attention to Oz, the older man raises his wand ready to attack. Hollow runs straight to Oz while the latter uses his thunder magic straight on him. The attack makes direct contact with Hollow, with Karen calling out to him and Cheyenne looking away. But just like what he did with Quinn's magic, Hollow cuts right through the attack, leaping high in the air to deliver the finishing blow to Oz. The older man stares horrified, wondering aloud how our hero can, despite suffering a direct hit. But what meets him instead is Hollow's slashes. In mere moments, Hollow took down Oz and his bandits, with Karen's father crying tears of joy upon seeing him unscathed. After tying up Oz, Hollow also applied first aid to the bandits, urging the older man to sit still until they reached Ridwell. And for God's sake, just because they're bandits doesn't mean they shouldn't bathe. They should because they stink. Cheyenne and Karen are totally against this act of kindness, commenting that they should have left the bandits as they are. Karen couldn't believe that there would come a time when adventurers like them would actually treat injured bandits like this. It's absurd. Cheyenne can only remind him to take care, which our hero affirms. Admittedly, he tells them both that they're right about him. He's still naive. But from now on, he will choose to wield his sword so they don't have to worry about him and Kasumi. At least the two ladies feel reassured when he says that. Karen's father tells them that they'll be reaching Ridwell soon. And true enough, a sprawling town comes into view, with an inner city and a towering structure that overlooks the whole area. Kasumi and Hollow excitedly look from the carriage, feeling giddy as they've never seen this many ingredients or people before. They were still marveling at how there were a lot of tradesmen when Karen suggested they head to the guild base. Cheyenne adds that they'll be turning Oz and the bandits over to the guild, so they should come along as well. Verifying the identities of Oz and the bandits didn't take long, as confirmed by one of the appraisers. In all honesty, she didn't expect Oz and his group would be captured alive. But this is what you expect from the works of Karen and Cheyenne. Karen brushes off the compliment and is about to clear things off, but the appraiser hands her their bounty, 60 gold coins for an A-class bounty. Cheyenne happily takes it, saying they'll get 60% while Hollow will get 40% until Karen grabs her by the shoulders. The latter contests that the whole bounty belongs to Hollow, but Cheyenne explains that they'd have to be an adventurer to claim the bounty. Karen stands her ground, and in the end, she hands the whole bounty to Hollow. Our hero is reluctant to accept it, but he still does, thinking this is the first time he has ever earned money. Karen also thanks him for helping them out earlier, because if it wasn't for him, they'd probably be dead by now. Hollow didn't expect the sudden show of gratitude, so all he could do was blush and nod his head. Karen bursts out laughing laughing when she sees his reaction, teasing our hero about how shy he is. Just then, the appraiser cuts in and asks why Karen gave the whole bounty to Hollow. The latter is patting our hero's head as she proudly proclaims that Hollow is the one who single-handedly took down Oz and his bandits. Every adventurer present who heard that widened their eyes in shock as they finally started clamoring over Hollow. Meanwhile, from the other side, another person had just finished enlisting at the adventurer exam and could hear the commotion from where she stood. The person who assisted her explains that it's because the Oz bandits have finally been captured. And speaking of which, does she also want to take part in similar activities like that? The girl curtly says no, and adds that she's a demon hunter. With the Oz bandits in custody, Hollow and the others went their separate ways. Now, our hero roams Ridwell with Kasumi freely. For her, she believes it worked in their favor how they met Karen and the others. Plus, Hollow finally signed up at the Adventurers Guild. The lady at the front desk asked him then if he wouldn't be signing up, especially since this was the last day to do so. Before Hollow could decide, Karen decided for him and promised to take them to a good place where they could. Remembering all this just made them grateful for Karen and the others' help. Now, the Adventurers exam. According to the guild, the exam is about setting up a 3-day camp outside. But based on what Karen and the others told him, this would be held in the dungeon. With that said, he suggests they look for the equipment they will need for the exam. Kasumi heads straight to the nearest shop she sees, urging our hero to follow along. She turns toward him and bumps straight into another girl. Kasumi apologizes profusely, but the girl says it was her fault since she also wasn't paying attention. It was the girl from before. Hollow recognizes her as the girl from the registration counter. After saying their apologies, Kasumi tells Hollow they should go. But before they could take another step, the girl calls out to them. As Hollow and Kasumi turn, the girl holds something up and asks Hollow if it's his. Our hero panics because it is his. He pales at the mere thought of losing it, but the girl seems unfazed. Instead, she asks him how old he is. A curious question, but one he answers anyway. He's 14. This surprises the girl as she asks if he's not aware that the entrance exams in this country are way ahead of other countries. Of course, Sheltered Hollow has no idea about that. But what does that even mean anyway? The girl explains that the previous generation of adventurers produced many historical legends over time. As a result, the demand for competent adventurers in the country is much higher compared to other countries. She states that it's important for the country to become well known. But all that is not for naught because pay and compensation in this country are significantly better than in others. Because the rewards are high, the difficulty of the exam would also increase, and the examinees can even lose their lives in the process. She pushes the item to Hollow, but not before saying that he needs to pull himself together if he really wants to take the adventurer's exam. In her defense, this is just her, looking out for the young. As soon as she's out of earshot, Kasumi can't help but feel the other girls a bit way over her head. She really had the guts to say she's looking out for the young in front of a 600-year-old, no? Hollow, on the other hand, is more concerned about whether he looks incompetent. Karen kind of said the same thing to him too, you know. Kasumi assures him that he doesn't, patting his head as she cheers him on like a stage mom. No use brooding over stuff like that. So the two quickly head to the shop and buy everything they need. Fast forward to the day of the adventurer's exam, Hollow came ready, and check out his new drip. Kasumi is in her sword form as she couldn't help but feel excited about all of this. The examiners called the examinees, and soon they were led to an underground cavern. Hollow notices that there are many examinees of different ages taking note of his surroundings. Before long, they found themselves at the guild base's underground dungeon, where giant plants towered over them with their branches as they blocked out the ceiling. This is the Forest of the Abyss, and the lady from the registration is there too, explaining that their exam will take 3 days. The examiners call the participants one by their number, so Kasumi can't help but ask if they're grouping the examinees. Hollow is participant number 16 and is assigned to the Ignis group. He sees a familiar face, the girl from before, but instead of greeting him, she turns away. The examiners announce each group's assignment. For the Terra group, they need to gather scarlet crystals, while Group Aqua will need to obtain the Forest Keeper's binoculars. Group Ventus will gather deep earth crab eggs, and lastly, Ignis group will gather beast mushrooms. With that, the examiner wrapped up his instruction, adding that he can't answer any of their other questions about the exam. A chorus of shock echoed through the hall as most examinees were left hanging with a lot of questions. The examinees start to air their concerns. What are the requirements to pass? Does acquiring these items mean the team has already passed? What about the time limit? Despite this chorus of concerns, the examiner remains adamant about how he can't answer any of their questions. It's like the Hunter exam all over again. Hollow sees through the exam though. They want to see how the examinees think and act, which also means that it will commence soon. Just then, one of the Ignis group members suggested they introduce themselves. The man who initiates this is Woodwin, cheering for the team to do their best. Hollow introduces himself next, but the third guy on the Ignis group is totally against this team thing. They're rivals for God's sake. Still, even if they're rivals, the scrawny guy introduces himself as Kai, aka the Wind God. The Wind God? The only girl in the group comments that Kai must have given himself that name. How lame. That got Kai all riled up, so Woodwin had to intervene asking the girl's name while he was at it. She finally introduces herself as Cecilia and tells them up front that she has no interest in working together. Upon hearing that, Woodwin reveals that this is actually his 4th time taking the exams, which also means that the exam is no piece of cake. On the bright side, this is his 4th take, so you can say he's familiar with the dungeon. This could work to their advantage, right? He's a great advantage to their party. Woodwin thinks all this self-hype would make the others want to work with him, but he was only met with silence instead. Ouch. After a beat, Cecilia voices that she's better off by herself, though she's willing to buy information off him if he has any. Unlike her, Kai prefers to play by the rules, which is why he refuses to go along with average Joes like them, even though Woodwin still tries to appeal to them. Hollow remains quiet on the side, noticing how each party is thinking of how to deal with the other parties. Then there's his party, which refuses to cooperate. He noted that there should be a chance for 2 binoculars of the forest to exist at the same time, so in the end, Hollow agrees to team up with Woodwin. Hollow points out that they don't know how many monster mushrooms they need, and they also have no idea what other conditions they need to fulfill to pass. Additionally, there's also a high chance that they might encounter people who want to steal their stuff, right? Working together is crucial in the exams, but what's even more important right now is how they deal with others peacefully. Hollow was about to point out another thing, but Kai cut him off, adamant that they were rivals. In the end, Woodwin suggests they just split up for now and wishes the best of luck to his other group members. Hollow is the only one who returned the sentiment while Cecilia and Kai walked off on their own. Now that Hollow is by himself, Kasumi turns to her human form. He marvels at the surroundings since this is his first time in a plant-based cave. We know, Hollow, you were hidden at the Vermilla Castle, remember? Anyway, Hollow comments that the plants look a lot like trees, with Kasumi adding that it could get pretty scary at night. The plant-based cave is a place where trees and plants gather together to form something like a maze, which can confuse unknowing travelers and adventurers. Kasumi raises her lamp higher, wondering aloud how mushrooms can even grow in a dungeon where the sunlight can't permeate. Not to mention that there are also bats, bugs, and other creatures of the sort. Hollow notes that these areas must be connected to the outside world in one way or another. Not to be Captain Obvious, but Hollow points out that it's called the Forest of the Abyss after all. As the name suggests, it should connect to a forest outside somewhere. On that note, Hollow thinks that those mushrooms must be closer to the outside environment and suggests they start looking for sunlight. For hours, Hollow and Kasumi explored the vast underground caves by themselves until the latter was the first to give out. It's no use walking around aimlessly since it's too exhausting. Well, the sun's almost down anyway, so Hollow suggests they head back to the campsite, which Kasumi happily obliges. They walk for a few more meters until they unexpectedly reach the underground lake in the Forest of the Abyss. Hollow's pretty surprised to see there are already a few people there, as seen by their lights, which goes to show that more of them gather here compared to anywhere else. Kasumi says it's because it's a water source, and speaking of water, she trudges over to the edge of the lake and washes her face. She was about to refill their jug of water when Cecilia suddenly appeared and told her to watch out. Hollow and Kasumi both turn at the same time to see a giant fish ready to devour Kasumi, but before the monster could swallow her whole, it was hit by a magic attack. Hollow rushes over to Kasumi as they both see Cecilia had her wand drawn. She just saved Kasumi. Cecilia asks Kasumi if she's okay, and the latter answers that they're fine thanks to her help. Hollow excitedly starts beaming at how Cecilia took down that giant flying fish with a water ball. She turns away, embarrassed at the sudden praise, and points out that those were just the basics. Well, now that she's here, Hollow asks if she wants to help them make dinner tonight since they'll be having that flying fish for supper. This puzzles Cecilia. How are they going to eat that giant thing? Hollow and Kasumi exchange looks and reply. Fast forward to later, the trio already has a fire going, and they also have a few fish skewers being grilled. Cecilia sits with them reluctantly, reminding them that they agreed not to work together. But Kasumi says she shouldn't worry about the small stuff. Cecilia decides to do just that and asks if it's true that Hollow wants to explore dungeons. Our hero affirms, adding quickly how he and Kasumi enter the exam at the same time, so they can go on quests together. In his mind, Kasumi is technically not an examinee, but if others find out, he might get disqualified. Thankfully, Cecilia has no problems with people collaborating with others, nor does she think it's cowardly. This time it's Hollow's turn to comment about her. He knows that Cecilia can read people easily just from a glance, adding that it's a pretty kind characteristic of hers. That sudden comment took the latter by surprise, as Hollow continued that Cecilia helped Kasumi out today. She was pretty harsh on him the first time they met, but Hollow knows she's only looking out for him. Kasumi didn't know. She had no no idea Cecilia was the considerate type at all. Cecilia didn't expect Hollow would read through her like that, so she puts down her food and shares more about herself. She begins by saying she had a little brother, and if he were still alive today, he'd be around the same age as Hollow. As soon as she said that, Cecilia low-key regretted saying something so irrelevant out of the blue. However, Hollow and Kasumi's curiosity is already piqued, so the latter asks if Cecilia lost her brother. That's when Cecilia reveals that when she was 10 years old, her whole village was wiped out by demons save for her. Since she was the sole survivor, she was taken in by an orphanage and lived very deep in the woods. Since she was still a child when she lost her family, socializing became difficult for her. Despite living in an orphanage, Cecilia lived alone, which also led to her becoming self-dependent. Cecilia tells them that she wants to kill demons, and that she'll kill every demon that dares to hurt anyone. She doesn't want anybody else to go through what she did. She doesn't want fame or money. Before she could finish her next sentence, Kasumi finished it for her. She knows Cecilia just wants to help people. This is the reason why Cecilia wants to become an adventurer. Suddenly, something starts to glow in a not too far distance, causing all three of them to look in that direction. They stand and see the whole ceiling start to illuminate thanks to the night stones. Like all the other examinees there, the three of them marvel at the glowing wonder above, which makes Hollow think that everyone present there has their own reasons why they want to become adventurers. But for him, he's just looking for whatever it is that he can do. Later, Hollow wakes from his nap just in time to see that Cecilia is already prepping to leave. He greets her with a good morning but doubles back, asking if it's morning already. She tells him that the light from the night stones is slowly fading, which means that it will be morning soon. Hollow yawns groggily, not noticing that Cecilia is staring at him. After a pause, the latter asks if his relationship with Kasumi is like that, given how the silver-haired maiden clings tightly to Hollow. Our hero has no idea what Cecilia is insinuating, innocently answering that Kasumi has a habit of hugging someone to help her sleep. Finally, Hollow's grogginess wears off as he asks if Cecilia is leaving already, seeing that she already has her bag packed. The latter thanks him for helping her out and asks that he tell that to Kasumi later as well. With that, Hollow sends her off happily, but not before telling her to take extra care while she's out there. A little while later, Kasumi finally wakes up with a yawn, asking Hollow if Cecilia has already left. He hands her a warm cup of water, which the latter takes, just as Hollow tells her they should also do their best today to find the beast mushrooms. Suddenly, they hear cries for help and recognize that it's Cecilia's voice. Something bad must have happened. The two hurry to where her voice was coming from and finally see Cecilia kneeling beside someone unconscious, fervently trying to wake the other person up. As the two move closer, they finally see who it is. It's Kai. The poor dude is unconscious and has large gashes across his chest. Hollow asks what happened, and Cecilia says the wounds Kai has were made by demons. What's even worse is that it's an enraged demon, and it's nearby. Cecilia shakes Kai in an attempt to wake him, but the poor guy is out cold until finally he lets out a guttural cough. That's more than enough reason for Hollow and Cecilia to start scrambling and tend to his wounds. Our hero starts by saying they should stop the blood from Kai's wounds, ordering Kasumi to get his stuff while he instructs Cecilia to send out an emergency flare to call some higher-ups. The two ladies did as they were told, and soon enough, a group from the Adventurers Guild came to take Kai so they could tend to him with proper medical care. One of the responders turned to them, thankful that they were called in early on and urging Hollow and the two to protect themselves during the exam. As the responders left, Hollow commented that they were fortunate enough that no demons showed up, leaving Kasumi puzzled. He had to explain that there was a pile of bones from other creatures, which is probably where the demon eats. Upon hearing that, Cecilia suggests they leave straight away, and if anything, she's mad at these two. How come Hollow and Kasumi have no sense of danger whatsoever? She points out how Kasumi is unarmed while Hollow only has a scabbard with him. At this rate, they're not going to last at a demon's den. Before they can even reply to that, Cecilia decides that all three of them should stick together and form a temporary party for now. Since they're already in the area, they decided to search where they believe Kai fell from. Cecilia agrees, so the three of them split up, looking for clues as to what may have happened to Kai. Just then, Hollow shouts that he has found something, prompting Kasumi to ask if he's referring to traces of the demon. Close, but not exactly. It's Kai's bag. How did it end up in this place? Hollow checks Kai's bags and relates how he didn't know that the latter had other wounds apart from the ones the demon inflicted on him. Based on Hollow's judgment, it looked as if the wounds were something Kai got upon falling, which made our hero wonder if there was something above. So this only means that whoever attacked Kai immediately retreated above. Hollow tries to remember the placement of Kai's injuries when he finally understands it. Just then, Cecilia calls out to them from the other side, making Hollow and Kasumi rush to her side. The former points to some sort of track she found. Hollow leans closer and sees that it looks like the base of some kind of plant. But why was it located in such an unlikely place? Cecilia explains that it's an illumination plant. The light from the lantern above helps the plant grow and take shape. She checks the rocks and notices how moist they are, which explains why mushrooms are already growing there. Furthermore, Cecilia says that such an event only happens in caves that have special monsters in them. Both Hollow and Cecilia's faces light up. They have finally found monster tracks. The two high-five, saying they just need to keep looking since others are bound to be here. But wait a minute, Hollow just realized another thing. The mushrooms just now, it seems like they were recently picked. So does that mean Kai picked them up? But then again, he remembered that there weren't a lot of mushrooms in the latter's bag. This time, it's Kasumi's turn to call out from the other side. Some funky-looking thing covered in thick fur. What in the Chewbacca is that thing? Cecilia confirms that those are indeed more monster tracks, and it's enough for two people to share. The three of them quickly pick their share before Hollow suggested they head back. After all, the demon's nest is just around the area, and they can't spend too much time there. Cecilia agrees, though she just needs to get some water. It'll be quick. Kasumi offered to go with her since she also needed to use the toilet. Though Cecilia called out that Hollow shouldn't have the wrong idea, okay? With that, our hero was left by himself sitting near the lamp when he heard rustling from behind. As he turned to see what or who it was, he was surprised to see that it was Woodwin. The older man approaches Hollow with concern, his arm bleeding, yet still thankful that our hero is okay. Hollow stands and asks if the latter is injured, to which Woodwin affirms. Never mind that though, because Woodwin tells him that they should hurry and get out of there. As he moved closer, Hollow finally noticed that the older man was injured, asking if something had happened to him and Kai. At the mention of Kai, Woodwin turns away, adding that he hasn't seen Kai since they parted ways at the entrance. With more urgency, Woodwin reiterated they should leave since they're at a demon's nest. Instead of following what he said, Hollow points out that demons don't make Woodwin's injuries. They're wounds from wind magic. The older man tried to brush it off, gaslighting Hollow that he was mistaken. He hasn't even seen them fully, so how can he say that? Hollow reasons that he could tell it's from magic because he has a condition where his body reacts against magic. So he asks Woodwin again what happened, but the latter insists that Hollow is mistaken. Until finally Woodwin admits that these wounds were self-inflicted. He slowly draws his wand out of his bag and grabs Hollow by the wrist. Woodwin's calm demeanor made a complete 180-degree turn. Desperate as he ordered Hollow to hand over the monster tracks they found. Hollow tries to pull away, asking the latter if he was really going to fight someone unarmed. Woodwin almost chuckled when he heard that, adding that it's the very reason why he chose Hollow as his target. Kasumi and Cecilia return and see the two with Woodwin still clutching Hollow's arm. Kasumi yells for him to let Hollow go, while Cecilia urges Woodwin to put his wand away. Meanwhile, Hollow only asks him in a quiet voice if he was the one who pushed Kai off the cliff. He adds that he saw traces of wind magic stuck on Kai's back, which would be the odd one out if he had fought a demon. Woodwin starts to panic, explaining that he didn't mean all that to happen. Flashback to what actually happened between the two. Woodwin begs on his knees, eager to negotiate with Kai. He even offered to buy some of Kai's mushrooms, begging on his knees to buy them for 5 gold coins. Kai could only frown. Hadn't Wooddown taken this exam 4 times already? He scolds, saying how the latter couldn't even try harder each time he failed. That's some adventure right there, alright. Anyway, he turns his back on Woodwin, refusing to sell him anything. Before he stepped away, he told Woodwin that he should just go home if he wasn't even going to try in this exam. Woodwin clings desperately to Kai, admitting that he too desperately wishes he could go back, which makes it all the more important for him to become an adventurer. In reply to his pleas, Kai kicked him, appalled at how pathetic the older man was acting. Ultimately, Kai told him outright that he should just give up, and that was his final straw. Woodwin got up slowly and fished the wand out of his bag before pointing to an oblivious Kai who was walking away. Woodwin reasons that he only sent Kai flying because the latter talked down to him. It's not his fault that Kai fell into a cave of monsters. As for the mushrooms, he merely picked them out of Kai's bag. Woodwin continues to crash out, adding that he's a battle-type mage and this is a test, as if those are valid reasons enough to justify his actions. Woodwin finds all of this unfair since it's supposed to be the adventurer's exam, not a mushroom collecting contest. All that yapping, but all Cecilia could hear was how he deliberately left Kai, who fell into a monster's nest all by himself. Not that it would make for a good argument, but Woodwin points out that Kai's mushrooms are fake anyway. He knows Hollow's group found the real ones. Now this time it's Hollow's turn to get shocked. Those mushrooms were fake? From the back, Cecilia drops her lantern and lowers her head. In a quiet voice, he asks Woodwin if he really did all that just for a mushroom. Before he could answer, Cecilia drew her wand, flamboyantly so, and suddenly, it extended and became a staff. Before Kasumi and Hollow could see what had just happened, happens, Cecilia used water jail to trap Woodwin. Suddenly, there was water everywhere thanks to Cecilia's magic. Kasumi tries to calm her down, but the latter orders her to stay back. For Kasumi, her only concern is that Hollow might get caught in the crossfire, or in this case, should we say crosswater. Woodwind manages to break out of water jail by leaping in the air, but Cecilia commands her water jail to go after him, only for Woodwind to cut through it using wind edge. He did manage to cut through and was about to counterattack using aerial broken when the water lunged straight to his stomach and Cecilia finally managed to engulf him. This time she intends to suffocate the living daylights out of Woodwind, the latter gurgling for his life as he remains trapped in Cecilia's water bubble. Hollow stares at Cecilia's water bubble. When he finally realizes Woodwind's still not being released, he shouts to Cecilia that it's enough, but the latter is blinded by rage, so Hollow approaches her, going against the current as he tells her she'll kill Woodwind at this point. Cecilia continues her attack, reasoning that Woodwind is someone who put an injured person at risk. Kasumi worries for Hollow being caught in the middle of it all, but the latter advises her to stand back since she could be hurt in her human form. Finally, Hollow positions himself between Cecilia and the water jail. She tries to tell him to get out of the way, or else he'll get hurt, but Hollow refuses. He calls out to her again, but Cecilia refuses to budge, saying Hollow is standing in her way. But something in him made her stop. Kasumi saw it too, and it's happening again. The mark on Hollow's hand is glowing again with a strange light. Meanwhile, our hero extends his palms out to Cecilia, saying she can't kill Woodwind. He grabs her staff just as she is in awe at how her magic is suddenly disappearing. Hollow reminds her of the promise she made to herself, how she wanted to become someone who saves people's lives. Their face is too close for comfort. The moment was ruined by Woodwind's loud hacking cough, and just as he was about to reach for his wand, Hollow tells him to cut it out. His wind magic was a poor match against Cecilia's, and he also tells him that Kai is still alive. Hollow was about to say something more when he suddenly called out to Woodwind to watch his back. Standing behind Woodwind is a wolf-like demon with multiple eyes, sniffing him curiously. Woodwind can only barely turn his head as he feels the monster behind him until it bares its fangs to sink into the former's body. Woodwind reaches out to them for help, just as Hollow turns to Kasumi, reaching his hand out as she did hers. Just like that, Kasumi turned into a black sword as Hollow called out that they're going to save Woodwind. What just happened? Cecilia couldn't believe her eyes. Did Kasumi just turn into a sword? Hollow, on the other hand, barely managed to save Woodwind as the demon was already ripping through Woodwind's bag. Our hero managed to snatch the older man in time before the demon could bite through him, but the movement almost cost Hollow his footing. The floor is all slippery now because of the water from before. Then he also had to defend against the demon's attacks, which he barely managed to do with the unstable flooring. With the monster's continuous attacks, Hollow can barely stand and defend himself. Now he has to look out for an unconscious Woodwind too, parrying the monster's attack from the older man. Hollow places himself between Woodwind and the monster, shouting for the latter to wake up. At the monster's next attack, Hollow is pushed farther back, leaving Woodwind exposed. This time, Cecilia tells Hollow to keep his distance from Woodwind as she creates a water barrier around the useless guy. She does so to protect him, seeing how the monster's too focused on Woodwind. For the first time since the fight started, Hollow beamed and left her to take care of him, running straight to the monster. This moment just reminded Cecilia that this is her chosen duty, to protect people. Finally, Hollow can move freely as he makes a break for it, and Naruto runs straight to the monster before leaping high in the air. In one fell swoop, Hollow cuts off the monster's head like a cake, with Cecilia instantly jumping for joy. They actually kill the monster. Kasumi transforms into a human, reminding Cecilia that she had a share in taking down the monster. Cecilia was quick to agree, clutching Kasumi tightly when Hollow noticed something. He approached the monster's body and saw that there was something stuck on its back. It was a mushroom. Fast forward to the end of the exam at the guild. They finally found out that those were no ordinary mushrooms. The concierge lady told them that those were actually a popular delicacy called monster mushroom. Hollow's not too keen on eating it because duh, a mushroom grown off a monster's back, not the most hygienic of delicacies. Mushrooms aside, even the lady felt a little bummed out at the turn of events. Even she remembers that Woodwind has taken the exam 4 times already, and in one of them, they even had him take the test for group combat ones that are right up his alley. But because of what recently happened, they decided to bar him from taking the exam, with Cecilia adding that the latter violated the ideals of becoming an adventurer. Well, at least Hollow and Cecilia passed the exam. The concierge lady hands them their adventurer tags, adding that the item will also act as a pass and toll for many things. Since they've just been admitted as part of the guild, their tag is still white, but the lady says they can change it into any color they want as long as they work hard enough for it. With that, she congratulates them both for passing the adventurer's exam. Hollow and Kasumi emerge from the building, arms extended and feeling all giddy from passing the first step. He turns to Cecilia and invites her to come eat together, but the latter seems a bit withdrawn. Hollow quickly noticed this and asked if there was something wrong. She told him outright that he should stop Kasumi